me and Ryan have been officially welcomed to the jungle that is Barstool Sports.
Our white whale, Sidney Crosby.
Shave his head! Shave his head! Shave his head!
Ryan Whitney, Paul Bissonette, R.A., Mike Grinelli, Spittin Chiclets!
What is up, folks, and welcome to episode 532 of the Spittin Chiclets podcast. We have a very, very special show right in store for you guys with Matt Murley joining the show. We interviewed Louie Debrusk back at Edmonton, Tuukka Rask on to talk Team Finland, and we could talk about McDavid, we could talk about the Devils buzzing, the Hurricanes, but first we got to talk about Pink Whitney, guys. Pink Whitney! You can see I have the hoodie on right now, this beautiful Pink Whitney hoodie. This fall and winter, Pink Whitney is the go-to shot for a new generation of drinkers. It's launching its first ever party bucket, the Birdie Buckets as we called it, 20 50 milliliter Pink Whitney bottles. Those are the nips in fun, convenient bucket packaging. Just add ice, we talk about. The Pink Whitney 20-pack shot bucket combines the excitement of shots with the convenience of a multi-pack format, making it the perfect accessory for a fall tailgate and game day. Pink Whitney will also be selecting one grand prize winner and sending them and a few of their friends on a trip to Nashville, Tennessee, honky-tonk, for a weekend of Pink Whitney-filled fun. Pink Whitney will also be selecting 11 contest winners that will receive limited edition Pink Whitney Western merch. All they have to do is follow the prompts online. Sweepstakes and contests will be open now until December 15th. Go to pinkwhitney.com/Nashville to learn more. Take your shot with Pink Whitney and take your shot with Paul Bissonette and Matt Murley back from Sweden. What's going on, fellas?
The big old bottle, Mur.
What's up, boys? Back home in Troy, you can see I got a little different background today over at my parents' house. Found the old jersey hanging up. And Whit, or maybe even G might be too young, but I found this trophy laying around.
Oh,
Whit.
here we go. The hardware's coming out.
Hockey night in Boston leading scorer right there. So that's back from the glory days, scoring champ.
Is that your little shrine, Mur, behind you of all your trophies growing up?
Yeah, these are more like the team trophies. We got the Showdown in Motown, 1992 winners here. That was a team.
That's a sick name for a tournament. It was called the Showdown in Motown.
Showdown in Motown. I think it was Little Caesars that hosted it, but we beat in the championship. We beat Joe Thornton and Brian Campbell. They were on the Southwest Hawks. They were like 60-0 in the spring summer.
Whoa. You're the same age as Joe Thornton?
Yeah, 79s. He's a January 79. I'm a December 79, so he's almost a year older. But
you took down Jumbo Joe?
Yeah. So in the round robin, they beat us 10-2. And the parents are like, get these mini mites off the ice. It's me, Gianta, Conley, my buddy Cantucci. We're little tiny guys. All of a sudden, we find them in the semifinals. We beat them 4-3, and then we went on and won the championship. So.
Did you shadow Jumbo?
Yeah.
No,
Prusty did.
I was fourth line on that team. On the Uncle Sam's. We had a guy, Daniel Kachuk. You remember him? He played a little bit NHL.
6th overall pick back in the day. Yeah. Calgary Flames.
So he was a real superstar too when we were younger. Somehow my dad stole him from Toronto, and he would play on our summer team. And I think he scored all 4 goals for us that game. But,
at that time, was Thornton a phenom? Like, was he talked about amongst all the players and stuff? Kind of like Sid was coming up, McDavid. Was he big too at that time?
I was going to say, I think he was that size that he is now then. Like, for me, at least, I was like 5'2", looking up at him.
Just coming out with the mini mites. He's got a huge bush, just fucking like full-grown beard like he's got now.
I remember the one guy, I think it was like Mike Oliveira. He was an OHL guy. He had like a tank top on in the parking lot, and he had the armpit hair already, and we're all like, what the hell is that?
Oh, yeah. Getting tattooed before the game.
Hey, I was actually talking to Brian Yandel about this, who has 3 kids. Right, I think one's U18, U16, U14, and that might be like off a little bit. But he talks about now how that they don't hit until so much later. I think you're 14 when you start hitting. He says it's a nightmare because if you do hitting at a younger age, which is what we all had growing up, if you did the travel AAA hockey, it was hitting from age 7 or 8. What happens is you kind of learn to take hits, and at that time the kids are Gumby. And the bigger kids aren't that much bigger, but you're introducing hitting now at 14, and there's 170-pound kids and 80-pound kids. He's like, you should see the injuries, and like it's just ridiculous that they've waited and pushed it back this long because it's way harder to learn as you're getting completely manhandled by a bunch of Joe Thornton with hairy armpits and beards.
Well,
so
he was more worried about feeding guys back door and the skill side of the game. I would imagine he wasn't running around, but
you don't think Joe Thornton was running around if he was a mean prick on the ice.
He was probably had the puck on a stick the whole game. Now,
no, true.
Whit, did we have Buchagras on who almost he kind of like I don't want to say contradicted that point, but because his kid came up, he said that the difference at that younger age where you could have the kid who was like 120 pounds as opposed to like 75 could be even more catastrophic. So he actually didn't mind it being bumped back. But I agree with you when you can't move as fast and you're like, you can't be basically like a human rocket running around out there just like torpedoing kids, where it's probably better to do it at that younger age. Like I know we had a contact school in the area where all the kids would sign up for that contact school, and then we would learn the fundamentals of it at a younger age. And I want to say back then it was Pee Wee Minor in which we started contact, which was probably around 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
11 or 12, yeah. So I tend to agree with you, though. I think that backing it all up from this bubble tape mentality and protecting the kids, it's actually maybe having the reverse effect. So still a conversation that a lot of these minor programs are having.
And I do see Buchagras and the other side of it where you may get kids that quit at a very young age because if they're getting crushed at 7 and 8, they're like, this isn't fun. It's intimidating. Just the other side of it is it's really hard to get injured playing hockey when you're 8 and 9 years old. Like Brian Yano's the one who said they're Gumby. Like they just hop up, they get buried. But I could see the side of where like, all right, hey, this monster kid that's bullying everyone on the playground, then's coming to the rink and smashing my head through the boards. I'm going to play soccer. But Brian Yandel had, before we get to Merle's travel escapades, because with two young kids that come from across the pond in Sweden into battle, Brian Yandel,
and into a new house, mind you, right? Did you guys just move into your new place?
It's not built yet, I don't think.
No, it's not built yet.
Oh, okay.
We're working on it.
He's at his parents' ranch still right now, but just a classic coaching move by Brian Yandel this weekend. So he's coaching the Terriers for his youngest son, Liam. Last year, they went to Quebec. They lost to Mid-Fairfield. So at this age group, I believe they're 2011s. I don't know exactly, but they're the top two teams, and they have been for about 5 years coming up. And they lost to Mid-Fairfield in the Quebec tournament. So it was a bummer, right? That's the big thing. It was the semifinals. So they play them this weekend. You know, you want to beat these guys. They ruined your season last year. They're up 2-0. His goalie gets a penalty. The ref skates over. He's like, hey, you got to get someone in the box. He's like, for what? He's like, your goalie just mouthed off to me. And he's like, what? He screams down. There's video of this. I remember, say the kid's name's Anthony. I don't know. He's like, Anthony, you take a penalty, get in the box. And the kid's like, what? And everyone's like, huh? He's like, get in the box. You're going to take a penalty. And you see this goalie. I've never seen it before. Tail between his legs, skating. And then there's pictures. He's a giant, too. Sitting in the penalty box, 10-minute misconduct. The goalie.
So they put the backup in? Did they end up pulling it off?
I don't even know if it's allowed, but because he was so loud, the ref's like, all right. And he puts the backup in. The kid made like 5 huge saves. The guy gets out of the box. They put him back in. They beat him 4-0.
Come on. He goes back in?
He goes, it was my best coaching move of my career. The video was like, you want to take a penalty? Go sit in the box. The kid is just like,
hey, that's how you teach these kids accountability. Fucking rights.
I know.
It was teach a lesson
classic.
at that age and win a hockey game, but he did both. Congratulations, Rink Shrimps.
Maybe I'll throw the video on if he lets me on the YouTube because it makes it even funnier. And then the picture of this giant goalie. I've never seen a goalie in the box with all his equipment on. But Merles, talk to us. Game Notes has been off to an unreal start. You guys have added some new wrinkles this year. You're doing phenomenal, but we love having you on this show. How was the trip home? There's always some sort of disaster.
Oh, it was a disaster. The 1-year-old, he doesn't know to sit still. So it was just 8.5 hours of laps around the, I don't know, what do you call it?
Loser laps.
Terminal?
I call them.
No, like on the plane, like the whole ride. He won't sit still. So I'm just going up and down and around. It's a mess. And then, so we're surviving. We get through this 8.5 hours. I had to put on the ref stripes. A guy tries to jump the line from the back. You know, he's like 2 rows behind me, grabs his bag, and he starts trying to move ahead of me. I'm put the arm out. I'm like, no.
Come
He's like, what do you mean?
Come on.
I'm like,
You
stop
matumboed him right to his face?
yeah, right to his face. I'm like, stop. I'm like, I know exactly what you're doing. He's like, oh, I was just trying to get out of your way. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, I've been here for 8.5 hours. I need to get these kids off this plane immediately. I got a stroller. I got 2 suitcases, 3 backpacks. I'm like, you can wait your turn. And he just kept arguing with me.
Murr.
We almost went to blows. The wife had to settle me down.
So you're basically saying as you exit the plane, you go row by row, and that's your rule. Okay.
Yeah.
I typically, like, even if I'm like roll me now, like, you know, I don't, not to humble brag here, but I get to sit first class. I don't like the pressure of people being on me, so I'll actually let like 4 or 5 rows go, and then I'll start making my way off because I have to wait for my luggage anyway. Mind you, I'm not traveling with kids, right? So I do have that luxury of just having to have me stay patient for at least one thing in my life. So,
But Biz, a question: and I've been in the same situation where I'm not in a rush to get off when you're getting bags, but at the same time, I have one carry-on that's up top, and the seatbelt goes off, and if I'm on the aisle, I stand up, grab it, then I'll even sit back down in my seat, and then it's my turn to go, and I go. What? You're wheeling the flight attendant?
Like so many of these people, they're such in a rush to get off this fucking plane. It's like, just go. I'm not going elbow to elbow with nobody. I'll wait till 3, 4 rows go by. And even some people from the non-first class, I don't care. Have your way. And then where there's a gap, I grab my bag and then I get off. But that must be traveling with kids like that, Mariah. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, and then because the other thing is we have to go through customs, and there's always a long line of customs. So every person that skips ahead for us, we're standing behind them now in customs too. So it's like, buddy, I got 2 kids here. Just wait. We actually had a guy. So we had 3 seats out of the 4 in the middle, and I'm strategic with it. I take both aisles and one of the middle. Some guy picked the middle between us. He showed up and he saw the circus, and he was nice enough. He moved to the back and sat in another row. So we got all 4 seats to ourselves.
It would have been nice to have a video go viral of Merle's having a Donnybrook on a flight to maybe take a little attention away from my breakfast order. But I mean, you can't get it all, right? You can't.
Well, before we get to that breakfast order, just because we're talking flights, I did have a little experience on the way home I wanted to get your guys' opinion on. So I was sitting, it was a JetBlue flight, and I was first row when you walk on. Like to your right, you walk on. I was the aisle seat. Then there's a middle and there's a window. There was a guy sitting at the window already. He was chilling like on his iPad already. And I'm not a big talker on flights. I don't want to talk to you. No offense to anyone. It's like I'm not a huge like conversation throughout the flight with people I don't know. Well, this woman gets on, and I could tell right away. You know when like somebody gets on a plane and you're like, please don't be sitting next to me. Please don't be sitting next to me. And this is not weight related. I'm going to get ahead of that. This is not weight related. Woman was in good shape.
She looked like a chatty Cathy.
She didn't look just like a chatty Cathy. She looked like a lunatic. Like, you know, you see the googly eyes, like this person's a little crazy. Please don't be sitting next to me. Sure as shit. She's like, I'm right next to you. Like very loud, kind of crazy when I heard her voice, just as I knew. And so she sits down, and I have my headphones in, and immediately starts talking. So I take the left headphone out, and I'm very cordial and very nice, but I'm like, all right, she's also wrecked. And I'm like, so we finished, you know, just a quick conversation where she's talking about, you know what she said to me, actually? No, she tapped me on the shoulder because as they were doing the seatbelt and the air coming down and what you do if this thing's going down, she's like, hey, you're not listening. And I was like,
Whoa. To the rules of a flight that you've been on.
Like, but she wasn't like, she wasn't
times?
angry at me. She was like more kind of jokingly, but she was more like, hey, you're not listening. Like, we could be in trouble. You got to pay attention. You're on the aisle, but joking, not rude. And I was like, honestly, like, I don't know. I don't think what they're telling us up there is going to do much if this thing ends up going down. And she's like, don't you say that. Don't you say that. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, no. And but friendly enough. And then I put my headphone in. And then 2 seconds later, she gets me again. So where are you from? What are you doing in Florida? And I'm like, you know, very nice. Put it back in, though. Kind of the international sign of like, nice convo. It's over.
Like me in your car on the way home to the hotel.
Yeah. And she... Yeah, you just do a one-on-one with a buddy. I guess that should really make me feel like shit as I'm saying that. So, and she's buckled. So then another one. She's like, can I buy you a drink? I'm like, no, I'm actually good. I don't drink. So whatever, headphone back in. And the stewardess looks at me because she's loud throughout all of this. And she's standing kind of behind, like back where the flight attendants sit for the flights. And she's like, points at me like, hey, is she like buckled? And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, should I give her a drink? And I was like, because I didn't want to be the one to say, don't give her a drink. And then, like, you know, she sees me somehow. And I was like, kind of gave her I don't know. Like, that's not that's your call. That's your call. Well, the woman, so lucky enough, the row next to me, there's nobody in the aisle. So I went over there right when we were like 10,000 feet. And then the woman comes over, the flight attendant, and asks, like, hey, the woman asked for a drink, the crazy woman. She's like, no, sorry. And she looks over at me.
Oh, no.
Did you tell her I can't have a drink? I'm like, no.
She said that?
Yes, the woman. The woman in the middle. She called me out. She's like, did you tell her I couldn't have a drink? I was like, no, I didn't say anything. And then the flight attendant's like, no, she had my back. But I was like, oh, it was, and you know what? It's kind of a long story that isn't that good, but it just reminded me on the flight of you never know what you get yourself into. And I was like the guy, like I'm doing Pink Whitney ads at the start of the show, and I'm cutting this woman off, but I didn't want to cut her off. I made it clear, like, no, that's not up to me. But Biz, back to you. And the breakfast order from hell, according to Donnie Does, the viral video of you ordering. I have my opinions on it, but why don't you take us through what you thought and how many people agreed with you and disagreed with you online?
I would probably say it was probably about 60-40, like 60% of people didn't agree with me. I probably went with the wrong breakfast. I should have just went like a la carte to start instead of picking whatever the Big Bear breakfast. But it was a diner that I'd never been to, and you looked at it, and like the words were just jumping out at me, and I'm like, and I didn't know. And then I kind of just panicked, and then ended up making about 16 changes on this order. So I'm sure most of you have heard it. But the one thing that, like, the night before, he brought us to this like moody or mellow mushroom place for pizza. And Donnie eats dog food. Like, I'll just straight up say that he
Barstool
doesn't.
Style.
It's most people at Barstool, like they're pretty relaxed with their diet and the way that they pound food. And we went there, so I wasn't necessarily happy about the meals in this Pigeon Forge is a place we went. That's where we went the first night on this hiking excursion that I went with Donnie. And then the next day it was Gatlinburg. And just like I was overwhelmed by the fact that it was hard to get a good meal. Like half the city is owned by Ripley's, believe it or not. There's 20 mini putts, laser tags, like Trump store here. I think it was a ammo store here. We went to micro wrestling, which is a micro as in midget wrestling, but you can't say midget, so it's micro wrestling. So like this was just like it was like a straight up carnival in both these cities. But before we go on the hike, Donnie sent out a tweet like, hey, what are some recommendations? And about half of the messages were about all the pancake and breakfast places. So I'm thinking, great. Every time we go have breakfast, we're going to have the best breakfast that I've ever had. These places are known for their breakfast and pancake houses. So that's why when I went to this place, and yes, I probably should have been aware of the situation when I walked in, like this is a diner and the coffee's going to be coffee. But I was hoping for a little bit of heads up where I say, how's the coffee? Maybe she goes, you know what? It's okay. I like the Americanos better. I don't know. I don't know what type of information the waitress is going to provide. And then I asked for the freshly squeezed orange juice, which is a very common thing in Canada. And I'm
not at little like IHOP shithole diners. Like that was one of the crazier. That was the craziest.
But once again, I'm going in with the mentality this place is known for their breakfast spots. So maybe they have a variety of everything, just like they do at all these other crazy shops around town. I mean, they got 20 types of laser tags. They got 20 different types of fucking mini putts. They can't have 2 different types of OJs. Like, am I that fucking crazy?
Yeah,
that
they're grabbing. They're not grabbing freshly squeezed OJ. It's like you're at a breakfast place where you could get a side of pancakes with like a free ammo cart.
Bro, we're fucking in Canada getting freshly squeezed orange juice. Like we're a state over from Florida here. Like that's where they fucking make the oranges. Like I thought, hey, like shipping ain't that crazy. Like maybe they would have them. And hey, I'll take the L on this for not knowing my environment. The rest of the order obviously went off the rails because I was a little bit scrambled after getting my first 3 drinks. And then all of a sudden, Donnie's in my kitchen. And I think that Donnie was a little bit, He was a little bit wound up because I went pretty hard at his pizza recommendation from the fucking Moody Mushroom. He said that they have incredible pizza, and no disrespect to this pizza place, but if he would have said that to Dave Portnoy and then brought him to this pizza place, I don't think Donnie would have a job at Barstool anymore. Like I'm dead serious because it was not bad. Very good pizza. It was that fucking bad. So I think that the lack of nourishment from the night before really fucked me up in the morning. And considering we'd been to 4 or 5 other breakfast diners in that morning, and each of them was slammed and had a 20, 30-minute wait, we finally ended up at this one. And then the Big Bear breakfast just, it got me no spit, no lube, sandpaper finish. And I just want to say, I really appreciate Chastity, which was our waitress's name at the diner. She was very kind in dealing with my high maintenance order. It was delivered appropriately, and the bill was, I think it was $62. We just tipped 100, or we left 100 flat. So we left about $40 on a $60 tip. Sorry about being high maintenance and asking for freshly squeezed orange juice. Another issue that Donnie had was the fact that I asked for my eggs over medium as opposed to over easy. Like, am I like what fucking planet am I on? Is that high maintenance to ask for over medium as opposed to over easy?
I think
that was fine, but yeah, you could tell right away in the clip he was shaking his head soon as you the first word came out of your mouth.
The minute I asked about how's the coffee,
yeah, he was like,
"Well, you said give freshly squeezed OJ." She's like, "No," and you're like, "Okay, I'll take a regular one." Like
right,
that was
because in Canada, it's all yes we do, but it's $4 more. Sure, no problem. I'd rather the freshly squeezed. A lot of people were like, "Biz, you're not at the Four Seasons in Atlanta anymore, buddy."
That's my thought. That was my thought. Is you got to know your surroundings, and you had just played laser tag, and now you're sweaty grabbing like the Big Bear breakfast.
Another one was the fact that sometimes when you go to those places, they have the shredded hash browns, right? And they just flip them on each side a little bit. And then by the time you have them, they're still cold in the middle. And you almost in some cases have a little bit of frost. So I asked for them to make them a little crispy on both sides. So at least they cook through and they're a little crispy. Who the fuck doesn't like a little bit of crispy hash brown action? No?
I couldn't agree more. And I think the sentiment was your order was good. It was just like how you kind of went about it. If you had just done like order my own things a la carte, I don't think you get chirped. Maybe for the freshly squeezed OJ and how's your coffee, and I'll get either no matter what, if it's shitty or not freshly squeezed. But it's about knowing your surroundings, and it's kind of my biggest thing ended up being you're so polite that it's hard to kind of really chirp you. Like you gave compliments to the chef. I believe maybe the first compliments to the chef at that place that's ever been said.
And I hope it got back to him. I agree with you. That's where I have to take accountability about knowing my surroundings there. And also to the 40% of people who are 60% of people who are not on my side, some of which have probably been servers. So if you've ever dealt with people like me at the restaurants, my apologies for being a pain in the ass. I hope that the tip overcompensated for my my lack of awareness. So from now on, we're gonna have to pre-plan these meals with Donnie does. Like when I say he's a savage when he eats, we went before the hike and got some like canned goods, and then we got like a little fire thing so we could heat it up. No, he just opened the chunky stew and then drank it right from the can. So this is the type. Oh yeah, cold. So this is what I'm dealing with. So we got the extremes of my high maintenance ass and what I want to eat, and as low maintenance as you can imagine what Donnie does. Mind you, we did have about 6 Scooby stacks in us at that point by the time we got to the top of the mountain, which, by the way, we've kind of been long-winded about this meal that I ordered. We're, myself and Donnie, along with Corey from Barstool, we're kind of starting this new series out where we're going on these hiking adventures. So that just ended up being the first on the agenda. We went to the Smoky National Park in Tennessee. We hiked LeConte, which is the highest peak in all of the Smokies, and actually has the widest variety of vegetation of all the national parks. Like given the humidity and just like the elevation and everything that's going on there, they have the vast variety of all these different trees. Like at one point, I felt like I was in China. Like it looked like it was goddamn bamboo trees as we got close to the top. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, as you get to the top of LeConte, they have all these little shacks that have been built out. and they run the supplies up through llamas. So it just so happens we did it on a Friday, so we got to hang out with the llamas. So pretty cool.
People are renting those shacks, or is it first come, first serve?
Yeah, I would say you probably have to reserve them about a year out in advance. Like that's how often. Yeah, like the national parks, like they have a lot of these tags where you can, in some cases, they only want a certain amount of people hiking on certain days. So you have to apply for your license and get your tags. This one was just more like anybody could go do the trek, but they only have about 20, 30 of these cabins where you can rent them out in advance. So you would hike up the 11, I think to the top, it's about, it's about 5.5, 6 miles up of a climb. And then you would stay there overnight. You could eat there. And then the next day, wake up slowly, cook some food, eat some breakfast, and then make the trek back down. So it was a really cool experience. The video is going to be coming out soon. And, we're going to progressively do more and more and visit different national parks. And even maybe down the road, do something like a K2 or a Mount Everest. And I had no idea. I don't know if I talked about it last podcast. I didn't realize how expensive it is to climb Mount Everest. It's cost you about.
Give me a stat about K2 people dying that are attempting it.
Someone messaged me saying that 1 in 6 people that try to reach either the top of Everest or K2 don't survive.
So I'm not down with you maybe going to do that. Like we don't need you going down on a hike to the top of the mountain.
I'm not saying I'm going to do this in the next year. I'm going to say this is going to be a progressive build to maybe eventually get there. And in life, you got to challenge yourself sometimes, and you got to go out on these different journeys to learn a lot about yourself. And this was one of them. I had a blast with those two guys, especially doing some Scooby snacks. And I don't think there's, I guess, anything else. We did see a bear. That was cool.
Okay.
We saw a bear.
Cool.
And I don't really have much else to say. And it was just tough that the fact that breakfast clip came out the day after you guys were just roasting me about all of my, what do you call them? My
ice
your
cream
samples. And
my samples.
You got crushed more for that. And the amount of samples that you think to be acceptable, it's like the whole world disagrees with you on that. So here's where I want to defend myself, where I was trying to take the defensive stand on that one is, once again, I know I'm being a high maintenance pain in the ass. New ice cream place, homemade ice cream. I want to see what they got. If I'm going to Dairy Queen, I know I'm getting my dip cone. I'd never been to this place. It's a new environment. It's kind of throwing me off. I'm a man of routine. So I was just trying to get the different flavors in order to order 3 different scoops of ice cream. So once again, my apologies. I'll know my surroundings. Can I at least do 1 sample per scoop? 3 samples. I think that is the max, but I'm not going to be all over you for that. Merle's doesn't even like that.
Merle's is shaking. Merle's wrote a hate
like
one
any
sample
samples.
is the standard. 1 sample. And if you go 2...
I don't think any samples. Like you live
Merle,
and die
I don't do
with
samples. I don't do samples.
Merle's, you wrote a hate blog about me about the breakfast order. Do you have anything else to say? That might have been your most popular blog.
Yeah, did you read to the bottom though?
No.
I said you're always respectful with them. You always pay the tab and you always overtip.
Okay.
So you're allowed to do it.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, but I just loved how that compounded on that. And at the same time, I had just watched an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where the same thing happened with the ice cream sample.
Oh, yeah. So many people
I had memes
were
he put your face on it for me.
Ugh.
Yeah, the timing of it all was just phenomenal. And you were worse off at the ice cream store. But you know what, Biz? These are the reasons we love you. You have very kind of weird,
I appreciate
little
that.
habits, and it makes you who you are. So
I love you guys
appreciate
too.
that. So Tuukka's joining us this show. He's going to talk about Team Finland. We got Merles for Team Sweden. We'll get into Canada and U.S. next week. But we have a very special video with Tuukka dropping. That's Thursday on the Spittin Chiclets YouTube channel. Biz, I don't know what our subscribers are at, but we're climbing. And I think this sandbagger is going to help. It's Tuukka Rask, Andrew Raycroft at TPC Boston. So while we won't really get to talk to him about that today because we don't want to be spoilers, we'll get to talk to Finland, about Team Finland with him. That's very exciting. G was at Michigan State. G looked pretty cool. Did you enjoy that trip?
Yeah, very cool. I actually I got a signed basketball from Tom Izzo, pretty sick, legendary basketball coach. I actually got to do the tour with Red Savage, who apparently he grew up with Biz playing knee hockey at the Doan's house, doing Christmas with Biz. He said Biz is a big, big fan of the chocolate fondue fountain. He says he's got a funny story about sticking his face in the chocolate fondue fountain at a Christmas party.
Oh, here we go.
Well, it's after he sampled the dark chocolate fountain. Pondu fountain. So it was
yeah, you
like
had a sample 5 or 6 of them
Yes.
before.
Oh,
But we
no.
also got the Iceman in there, Isaac Howard. We got Trey Augustine in there. So it's an awesome video. That'll come out in December. Next week we have Michigan coming out, which will be an awesome video as well.
Wow. Okay, so you're stacked and loaded right now on these videos. Holy shit! You go from dropping the Army one to Michigan, then to Michigan State. Did you plan the back-to-back rivalry? As I would assume Michigan and Michigan State are the biggest rivals in hockey, or no?
Yeah, they're up there. They're huge. They're huge rivals, and they're very, very different videos because Michigan State just underdid a $25 million renovation to their whole hockey facility, so it's very new. And then you have Michigan, who's at historic Yost Arena. We got to go to the big house. There's so many things that Michigan has to offer. There's so many things that Michigan State has to offer. 2 very, very different schools and hockey facilities. So it's there'll be 2 really good videos.
I would say it's a top-notch rivalry. I look at Michigan State, BU, BC as the Kings, and like Biz, you and the puck. Like they all kind of go hand in hand in rivalries and people who just battle. So looking forward to that. We have Merles on here. We sometimes get a little into other sports at the start of the show. Just wanted to bring up Merles Buffalo Bills. I had a tweet, do some numbers that I said, if your team stinks and you're not rooting for the Buffalo Bills, if your team's done and you know this is a waste of a season, right now we got nothing, and you're not rooting for the Bills, you're out of your mind. Now, totally get the side coming at me that the Lions are basically the same thing. They're both great teams. You could argue tortured fan bases. I think the Bills are even a little more tortured because of the 4 Super Bowl trip, 4 losses in a row, where Lions fans are like, no. Like at least they went to the Super Bowl, those 4 in a row. The Bills are so fun to watch. They finally got by the Chiefs. Now, granted, it's a regular season game. Josh Allen's on this MVP run, and it's more about the atmosphere at Ralph Wilson Stadium or whatever it's called now before they build their new giant $1 billion facility in getting the Bills a Super Bowl. I'm all in, Mur.
Thanks, buddy. I love it. I knew it. I told everybody. Everybody was scared, like, oh, Diggs is gone, and I forget the other guy's gone. I'm like, no. They're going to be better because now Allen doesn't have him chirping at him. Get me the ball. He just plays his game, and they're finally letting him run. You see that run that sealed the game? Like, let the big boy run. Just let him play football. He's the best there is. It's awesome being a Bills fan right now.
He is so fluid for being a big guy. He's not small either. What is he, 6'5", 6'6"?
Like 250,
heavy.
Probably 235, 240, and he looks like a gazelle out there.
He's sick. He's got the great mentality too. Like, he loves Buffalo. He's perfect for there. It's really something. But yeah, Detroit is that game yesterday. We were sitting there watching. It's like, yeah, they're just going to keep scoring. You can't stop them.
No.
Sick.
And I think they were up around 30 and went for it on 4th down, like in the other teams. Like, they just, Dan Campbell, 2 awesome storylines. I would do anything for a Bills-Lions Super Bowl.
I was in Buffalo on Thursday for the Sabres game, and it's all anybody was talking about because Taylor Swift was actually in Toronto for 3 shows. Like, they shut down the QEW for her. They don't even. I don't even know if they did that for Trump or Obama or whoever the U.S. I don't think they even do it for the Prime Minister of Canada. Taylor Swift had the QEW shut down, the busiest highway in all of Canada. So she just took over Toronto, as they're calling it, not Toronto, Toronto. And then all of a sudden they had that Sunday game against the Chiefs in Buffalo. So everybody in Buffalo was amped up, and I couldn't be happier for that fan base. Like, that was essentially their half Super Bowl of this season, getting to beat the Chiefs at home with was Taylor there? I would assume she went down to the game, no?
I didn't see her on TV during the game.
Yeah, I didn't see her either, so I'm not sure.
I think that it was interesting at the end of the game. The cameras caught Kelsey walking off the field clapping. It seemed like you could look at it like, hey, clapping, like, great game, you beat us. Good game, you got us tonight. Or it's clapping like, hey, yeah, you got us in the regular season. You haven't been able to do it when it matters.
Yeah,
and way to go. Big win today.
Regular season champions.
We'll see you again. That's probably what it was. But an awesome
it's just
game.
like our hockey teams we talk about, like the Jets and Carolina. Like, oh, great, you guys are winning every game now, but it doesn't matter. You got to do it when it counts.
No, it's very true. And we'll get into some hockey.
I think it would be dumb not to mention one of the stupidest sporting events ever put on. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. Just quickly, like I didn't even watch it. Like you knew that was going to be a joke. A lot of people did. Congratulations to those guys on just creating that much promotion around a big nothing burger. Nice little payday for Mike Tyson, who's probably burnt through hundreds of millions. I would assume he walked away with at least 25, 30 sheets in this one. But boxing like this, like what the why are people spending their money going to this shit?
Well, this one was incredible because it wasn't a pay-per-view buy. It was on Netflix. And what happens? Netflix breaks. Netflix isn't working. Now, it was happening to me. I was watching. I fell asleep before the fight. I did get to witness one of the greatest fights of all time, and those were the two girls prior.
Yeah.
Incredible. It was buffering and not working for that. X'd it out, restarted it, and it was completely fine. But I'm guessing and have read like their servers couldn't handle the amount of people were watching. So to be on Netflix was smart. They already had that many people that have had Netflix subscriptions that could just tune in, and then you're seeing how many viewers you get. I never expected anything. I guess I kind of thought if it was legit, Tyson could go in, even at his age, and hit him with an uppercut and like basically end him. Turned out to not even be the case. There's now reports, these are all rumors, and I don't know what's a fact, that Tyson had payday like round kind of marks he had to hit where his money went up depending on how long the fight went.
If he went past the fourth round, my understanding is he made an extra $5 million.
So, then it's just going to be sitting there. And some boxing analyst was saying that Jake Paul has worked very hard at boxing. He's got better at boxing, but he's not a good boxer. This is just an analyst. I know nothing. And then like he calls out Canelo, and like it's mentioned that Canelo would seriously hurt him, which would be amazing because while I respect the Pauls immensely, like they are true marketing geniuses. They have mastered how to make money, and they're these enormous content creators. But I'd love to see Canelo just buckle Jake Paul. Is that bad of me? I don't know. That's just my feeling.
I would pay to watch that. I'll put it that way, but he won't do it. My assumption is he fights.
But why
a guy
would he
like,
if he's making this much dough? I get it.
My assumption is at some point he's going to fight McGregor. He's going to box McGregor, and each of them will probably make like 150, 200 million dollars. At some point he's got to fight somebody legitimate though. Like that's the frustrating part. He's fighting all these washed up guys, and it's just becoming a sideshow. So the boxing world is in disarray right now, but like you said, true marketing geniuses and getting that many people. Now, I don't know if you saw the fact that Antonio Brown was live in attendance, and on Twitter, or maybe it was Instagram, because of everything going on with Netflix, he started an Instagram live, and over 8 million people were watching his Instagram live because he was filming the Jumbotron, which was basically displaying everything that you would see on Netflix. So fucking genius move by him. I don't know how they didn't take it down at some point, but he was able to stream basically the whole fight on his phone for everybody at home if you caught it.
And if you had a bingo card of the name Antonio Brown and the sentence "genius move by him" being linked together at any point since he's retired, or maybe while playing, you just won.
I think it just fits all in this crazy week, right? I mean, you just put it one big ball.
100%. And Biz, I want to talk Saturday night and the NHL. I guess I'll go through my Saturday first. It was Wyatt's birthday. He turned 4. My father-in-law, I've mentioned on this pod before, he has, I think, 12 of the 41 home games, maybe 16 of the 41 home games right on the glass behind the net. So the net the Bruins shoot on twice, he's got 2 right on the glass and then the 2 directly behind it. You're not blocked out. So against the glass on the side, on the boards, is probably brutal. You cannot see into the far corner. You could see everything here. It's my favorite place to sit because you see the size and the speed of the game. And Wyatt had a blast. Definitely, like, he ended up with the headphones on. He's got the sensory. Like, it's loud. I get that. He's never been a big fan of, like, what?
I said,
if anyone should be wearing them, it's me. If anyone should be wearing them, it's me. Just no, I'm talking about to cover up how big my ears are. But thanks, Mur.
I need them in my household right now. My daughter and kid are going nuts.
So, game is interesting because the Bruins have nothing. They're so lifeless. The crowd was dead quiet. There's chirping and discussion of Montgomery possibly losing his job, I'm like, this roster was built and there's no offensive talent. Very, very little playmaking, offensive talent, the ability to cycle the puck, create chances down low. Like, they don't have anything. Lindholm's chirping himself in the media. Well, kind of all for nothing, because at one point it's 2-2. Braden Shen skates by before a faceoff and kind of did the double take, and he just starts laughing at me. And I'm just laughing like, what's up, buddy? He scores the OT winner directly in front of us. He scores a beauty snipe as he's coming down, a little bit of a 2-on-1 in OT, and then jumps into the glass, back right into my face. Got a real kick out of that. And as we drive home, Wyatt's very, very sad and upset. And I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? He's like, my birthday, you never gave me the Leafs jersey. I said, bud, there might be one more gift at home. And I end up giving him the Squanto 16 Bissonnette jersey. He goes nuts. Our friends had already given him Maple Leaf socks. He was the happiest kid in the world. All his cousins were over. It was an unreal day. And what happens with Biz on the call? Number 16, Mitch Marner, scores the OT winner, and the Leafs win a big one against the Oilers.
What an absolute night.
night.
In the Squanto era. That is, hey, we couldn't have scripted this any better.
It was crazy.
Unbelievable. So he was all jazzed up when he got it. He lit up when he saw it.
Very, very fired up. He hasn't taken it off.
Did he know?
Yeah. He's like, oh, Squanto, that's me. Squanto, why 16? I'm like, Biz wants some of your spirit into number 16 on the Leafs. And then he scores the OT win. It was perfect. It was now, it wasn't perfect for me because the Oilers, they're up 1-0. They're up 2-1. Evan Bouchard, oh my God.
Oh.
But Marner took over that game. You were on the call at Hockey Night in Canada. Crazy hit by Ryan Reeves against Darnell Nurse. Take me through your night.
So, what I know, I sat in for Kevin Bieksa, right? Like sometime, I think his kid had a hockey tournament, so I got to fill in. I love coming up like 2-3 times a year. Great working with Ron McLean, legend, Elliot Friedman, Jen Botterill, and Luke Gazdick, who's been doing it more and more over the last couple of years. But like you said, great game. It was cool because we got to interview McDavid beforehand. He'd reached the 1,000-point milestone. Just incredible. His father was in attendance for that. So, yeah, we got to chat with him. And then, man, Hockey Night in Canada, Saturday night, Leafs at home against the Oilers, probably the two best Canadian teams. I was so fired up. And unfortunately, probably the biggest topic was that Reeves hit. Now, I can't wait to get your thoughts on it. I said what I said on the broadcast. I elaborated a little bit more via a post yesterday. We posted to my Twitter, even Spittin Chiclets Instagrams. Like, here's my thought on the hit. Like, I don't think Reeves is going into that hit with any ill intentions, right? He's trying to get the momentum back. At that point, Edmonton had just made it 2-1 on the power play. We all know when all the special teams are happening, all of a sudden the fourth line sometimes gets out of flow. They get a little cold on the bench. So Berube wants to send them over the boards, get their legs back in it, and get all four lines rolling again halfway through the first period. So Darnell's rounding that net. And I think as a forechecker and a guy that, like, a role that I've played before, you're assuming when Darnell rounds that net, eventually his left shoulder is going to come around and he's going to basically be square to up ice to kind of scan the ice and make a play. And even as he's coming around the net, you would have thought he would have probably put his head up to see if anybody's coming breathing down his neck, especially knowing the fourth line and Revo are on the ice. Like, you have to be expecting that these guys are going to be bringing a heavy forecheck. That's their fucking main job. So the one thing that I don't think a lot of people notice is the fact that Revo, before he actually makes the hit, he goes stick on stick with Darnell. So he never really gets the puck ahead of him. It's always behind him. So as Revo goes to throw the hit, the only shoulder that he can really get is Darnell Nurse's right shoulder. Well, boys, he completely misses it. I don't know if he slightly gets distracted by the fact that maybe he thinks he can get the puck and he goes more towards the right side. And instead of clipping anything of his right shoulder, he gets him right on the button. Now, there's this big argument online about people, like, I had people coming at me from the Edmonton side saying, like, oh, you're victim blaming, because I'm saying that I think from hockey truists right now, what they want is they want a little bit more accountability on the puck carrying players and the vulnerability that they're putting themselves in. Like, man, you have the puck in play, you're in the middle of the ice, and you're coming up the ice. Get your head up and know who's coming. But regardless of him putting himself in that situation, Revo still had the ability to go shoulder to shoulder. He missed him. He got him with the head contact right on the button. Like I said, I don't think Revo was thinking, I'm going to hit this guy in the jaw when he first starts making his strides. He's thinking, I'm going to go separate this guy from the puck. We're going to get it back in the ozone, and we're going to get some fucking momentum back for our team. But it just so happens he gets him on the button. He gets KO'd. He's fucking bleeding. He's out for the count. He loses the game. I thought that he should have at least gotten the gate for that game, okay? I figured, considering he's got past experiences where he has been suspended for certain things, that he was going to get games. And the fact that Darnell Nurse didn't come back, I'm like, okay, for sure he's getting games. I thought 5 was excessive. I did. But you ultimately have to pay the piper if you get the guy right on the button when he's vulnerable and his head's exposed like that. So 5 games it is. Don't think that Revo was malicious in his intent, but you got to pay the piper. But going towards Darnell, if you do that and you leave yourself susceptible by leaving your head exposed, not knowing guys are going to breathe down your neck, this could happen again. And I think that the conversation does need to be had to these players saying, boys, keep yourselves more accountable. This new wave of player, all they're doing is these drills where they're coming around pylons and they're stick handling. And like, boys, this is a contact sport. You got to be fucking ready to get drilled. Keep your fucking head up and know that something's coming. That's what I got to say on it.
It leads into my statement at the beginning of this season that if you're watching the puck, now it's like, I don't really care. Like, you gotta not. Now, this was different, and people came at me about my take, talking about the person getting hit being at fault as well. I don't think this was actually an example of watching your pass. He hadn't even passed the puck. What happened was when he went to pick it up behind the net, his stick hit the boards, or he fumbled it just briefly, picked it up, and did not get his head up. That is 1,000% proof. Watch the video. He just looked down. He didn't take a look. I agree with you. Why would Reeves go in and blatantly try to shoulder him in the head and get kicked out of the game, put his team down, forfeit all the salary, not be able to play 3 to 6 games depending on the suspension? He doesn't mean to. He has to sit out now anyways because it happened, like you said. But you can't tell me that it's become normal in this game or will ever be okay in this game to round the net and not look up one time in probably, 4 strides, 3 strides? It depends. Sometimes defensemen think the team's making a change. You think you got more time than you do. But it's why, and buddy, I was a very, very poor defensive player. Horrible at times. But I was good at keeping my head up, kind of pumping my own tires, and it was all my dad ever said to me when I was little. You have to have your head up. You have to play the game with your head up. You can't play hockey without your head up. Now, of course, you're going to get run over certain times, even if your head's always up. Guys are that big, fast, and strong. They close on you that quick. But if you're just rounding the net right now in the NHL and you're staring down at the puck, it sucks, and the guy deserves the suspension, but it is partly on you. Now, people probably won't like that, and I think the suspension had something to do with, it was vicious looking. He's on the ice. There's blood everywhere. He's cut. He leaves the game. I get the suspension, and I'm not really surprised it was 5 games. But yeah, your point is true.
Do you think 5 was heavy?
I expected 5. Okay. I was totally. If I saw 7, I would have thought what you're thinking about 5. What did you have, Mur?
Well, and Mur,
I think 5's totally fair, and I 100% agree. It's just the players have gotten used to not getting hit. So, yeah, 90% of the players don't finish that hit on Nurse there, and he gets away with his head being down. He got caught by the wrong guy at the wrong time, but it's an epidemic, or whatever you guys say, a pandemic. Of that going on now. And there was a tweet about guys cutting into the middle and creating all the offense, and I brought it up, and I was like, you didn't do that when we played because Scott Stevens was playing defense, so you never cut to the middle like that. And now players are doing that all the time, and eventually somebody's going to start playing like that again, and they're all going to get flattened and knocked out like Army used to do to guys.
Yeah, he was vicious because he would have when the player in the offensive zone would come behind the net, he would drop from his defensive position as the winger on the weak side and just come blow guys up. So that was the Dennis Bomby move too.
Yep.
What did you skate?
Where I think Army actually was going for the head. So just a Western League rat just trying to knock
he was trying
people
to
out.
put you to sleep.
They had
he
the
used to
grainy-
say it. He's like, I'm going to put you to sleep next shift.
And they had the grainy video from like the corner of these AHL barns, so you couldn't even see. It looked like a fucking. It looked like an old school painting. You couldn't even put it together where he made contact. But agreed with you though, Whit. It looked like he bobbled the puck too. It might not have been the stick on stick. So if he ends up coming around and round the net and his shoulder comes around, Revo's probably burying his shoulder into his chest area where at least if you make head contact then and get the chest, you hit him square. So at that point, I don't think there's any supplementary discipline, if that's how you even say it.
One more thing. I think the league takes into account there was no quick move. There was no juke. There was no like sidestep. So for Reeves to get the head directly, it wasn't like something changed very quickly for him to get his head. He had a lot of time, and Darnell did not change his course of like skating and his course of ice to make sure he went shoulder on shoulder. Do you know if a guy cuts back and it's very quick, or the suspension maybe not even would have happened had Darnell very quickly moved his head to get into it. But it was just he wasn't moving, and you get him, and you're getting 5 games now, 3 to 5 games when you do that. So
it was just nice to be able to break this one though down, Whit, because I think that the conversation of the crowd of like, oh, eliminate headshots, and then the hockey truists who were like, when the fuck was there no accountability from these guys just skating with their heads down and thinking nobody's going to hit them? There's a massive divide right now, and I feel like this hit was the epitome of that, and it obviously blew up online because it's Leaf Oilers and everybody's watching in all of Canada. So just a good hockey topic, and maybe it's a center of discussion when they're talking about the new CBA, about maybe how they manipulate the rule, or maybe start talking to the players about having more of that accountability.
Well said, Biz. And Edmonton Oilers, while losing a tough game, an incredible moment this past week. Connor McDavid, 1,000 points. The 4th quickest player in history to get 1,000 points. It's been wild to see. To put McDavid's 1,000 points in 659 games into perspective, Biz. Austin Matthews, your guy, another generational talent. He, at times, we've talked about possibly breaking what will be Ovi's goal-scoring record. Well, Austin Matthews would need 340 points in his next 84 games to match that pace that Connor McDavid is on. That's just over 4 points per game. It's just been wild to see how quickly this has happened.
You could take away Gretzky's 1-point games, 2-point games, and 3-point games, and he would still have 1,000 points. He had 217 games with 4+ points.
Wow. That's
Insane.
fucking remarkable. Holy
Insane.
shit. Well, the one that I had was from Frank Saravelli, and he said it's his favorite Wayne Gretzky stat, which is mind-blowing trivia. Gretzky is the first and second fastest player to score 1,000 points. He went 0 to 1,000 points in 424 games, and then from 1,000 to 2,000 in 433 games. So he was able to reach 1,000 points quicker in both instances than McDavid was able to do it his first time. But nonetheless, goaltenders have gotten better. Defenses have gotten better. It's just a totally different game. And I think that we could agree that they are on the same level and same playing field based on how the games advance and hitting that milestone in that short amount of time.
He would have probably beaten Mike Bossy, who has 656 games, but McDavid has battled injury. You think of his rookie year. But he's going to get 2,000 points. You go back to the very beginning where I think Todd McClellan saw him at rookie camp after he's drafted. He went back home and he's like, I've never seen anything like this. Like it was so evident from the time he was 15 years old. He comes into the league and he took over like nobody could have seen. Like you imagined it, you pictured it, and he's been what I've said the most talented, best hockey player I've ever seen. Yeah, you talk about legacies, unless you're Mike Tyson does not talk about legacies. I don't know if you saw that interview with that girl. He does not like the discussion of legacies. But if you're talking legacies, it's different without the Stanley Cups. But actual skill and speed and how easy he makes the game look, I've never seen anything like it. He's going to continue doing this. And to get to 1,100 points, he needs, I think, 97 or 99 more points this year. Like he'll do that. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get another 99 points this year and finish the season with 1,100.
Yeah.
And at his age and seeing what more he has to give, it's just been such a sick thing to watch as a hockey fan. love the Oilers, hate the Oilers. You can't not appreciate what you get to see. And fans who go to games for the first time, never having seen hockey, at an Oilers game saying, what's 97? Why is it so different? And that is a talent that, you see once every 15, 20 years.
And I think with his dedication, there's no doubt he's going to be the second player ever to hit the 2,000 point mark. I mean, the guy's a freak off the ice. I mean, he's dialed in 12 months a year. And I just had a couple more here. McDavid has led the NHL in scoring, winning the Art Ross Trophy 5 times in his first 8 seasons. Only Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe have won more scoring titles in their entire careers. So there's that one for you. Looking back to the 2021 season, he recorded 105 points in that shortened season of 56 games. Mind you, it was the Canadian division during the pandemic, and that was a 1.88 points per game average, the highest single season mark since Mario Lemieux in 95-96, and 44% of his points have involved Leon Draisaitl. So the fact that he's going to hit that 2,000 mark, after hearing the post-game interview when he hit the 1,000 points, growing up with the Edmonton fan base and growing from a boy into a man, there's kind of no doubt in my mind now that he's going to resign there. You might say, you fucking bozo, he was going to do it anyway once Draisaitl resigned. Draisaitl wouldn't have signed there not knowing that if he wasn't going to. The fact that they're going to continue to play together, he will for sure hit that 2,000 point mark. And maybe Leon will. Like, is there a possibility that Leon gets to that point by the time he's done his career?
So
Another 8 years together?
I think right now Leon is it 850? Let me check quickly. But the interview after, Biz, I'm glad you brought that up because it was definitely a different side of McDavid.
Yes.
He seemed, in media, he just never really seems that happy. Like, he's somebody who's just goes about his business. He's not up there laughing and giggling. And there was some serious emotion. And he said, I got a little emotional. I don't think he's saying he was crying, but he more just took it in and was grateful for getting the chance to, he said, not only make the NHL, but then get 1,000 points and do it with a good friend in Leon. And the fact Leon passed it over to him for his 1,000th point. And Darnell had the other assist. And they were those 3 guys, I think, were they rookies together? If not, 1 year after the other. And the only other player still here is Nugent Hopkins. He's grown up. And it just seemed like he was appreciating it. It's also funny. He said, my dad flew in, so it was happening tonight. I wasn't going to make the trip,
Brian,
not worth it for him. Yeah. So and Leon said, I would have passed, I was not shooting that puck. The defenseman could have just covered McDavid. The goalie could have gone out. I think Leon was going to try to feather it over to him, and he scored on a one-timer goal. So it was a cool moment for the league, I think. And then you see Ovi doing what he's doing, and it's, while being a different start to last year, there's some awesome storylines forming.
Oh, for no doubt. And you mentioned his father, Brian, great dude. And then his mom, I think his mom was a little ill, so she didn't end up going, but might have gone to the game in Toronto. So sucks that they both couldn't be there. But I actually, before the Hockey Night in Canada, I got to talk to him, just asked about his support system. And him and his dad, very close throughout for the growth of his game. And after games, they would talk shop constantly in the car rides and stuff like that. So it would be so fun. I mean, I know, Whit, you got kids, and Murr, your boy's going to be playing, and we got Army, the crazy hockey dad. But to just be able, after the games, to get to talk hockey with your kid and how the game go, I'm sure it means a lot to Connor and of course to Brian to see his kid doing what he's doing. But going back to that post game interview, it finally felt like he could maybe relax and enjoy what he's been able to accomplish, where he's always seems to just be focused on his goals and not really enjoying it for himself. And I tend to use the words, he protects his energy is the way that I would say it. And we maybe haven't seen the personality that Connor has that he would have behind the scenes, like you maybe saw in that Amazon series. But I think that once he finally lifts Lord Stanley, you're going to see him come out of his shell a lot more once these things that he has on his mind that he wants to accomplish get accomplished. So nonetheless, an incredible feat, an unreal ambassador for our game, boys. And like you said, Whit, a lot of other amazing storylines going on in the league as well.
Quickly,
here's a stat for you outside of McDavid's. 18 of the last 24 games head-to-head in regular season, the Toronto Maple Leafs have bested the Edmonton Oilers. So suck on that. We got the Squanto spirit. You're fucked. Leafs are going farther than the Oilers this year, in playoffs.
Kelsey,
Kiss my ass.
I'll give the Kelsey. Congrats on
Okay.
regular season wins. What are
Sure.
you in the last 24 playoff games? Like 9 and 15? I mean,
Bud, we got the same amount of cups.
Congrats.
We got the same amount of cups as you. Congrats on your finals visits. Doesn't mean shit unless you bring the hardware. No regular season championship
but
banners.
if you're trying to say it's the same in like going farther year after year and making it past the first and second round a couple times, that does matter.
It's about finding the right recipe.
Okay, fair. And to wrap up the McDavid discussion and how many points and how easy it is for him to rack up these points, I was mistaking my numbers. Like 2,000 points is Gretzky, 28.57. Nobody else has done that. I didn't even realize. Yager, 19.21 at second. Now, Sidney Crosby, I was thinking of this. Only 4 men have 1,800 points. Ron Francis is 5th all-time in scoring. He was at 1,798. Crosby, to get to 1,800, needs 185 more. I could see that. To become the 5th player ever with 1,800 points. That's another.
When he's playing with McKinnon, he'll get to 2,000.
Well, we talk about Crosby, and it kind of leads us into Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguins, guys.
They're a joke.
Are they?
They're a fucking
They're
joke.
horrible. They're only going to get worse. And is it time to tear it down? Like Murr, I don't know if you saw Kyle Dubas's comments. What's going on and what's going to happen?
I tell you what, I would watch the game the other night against, was it San Jose? They end up blowing the 3-0 lead. I'm like, this is it. It's all over. My brother's like, no, Crosby will take care of him. I watched that overtime. I think he played the last 3 minutes, scoring chances everywhere. This guy's almost 40 years old. He gets to the bench before the shootout, and nobody opens the door for him. This guy just lugged the puck for 3 minutes straight. He's got to come and reach over the bench and do the door himself.
Sign me, Pittsburgh. Sign me. That would never happen on my watch.
That cannot happen. Like, dude, all these plugs that are sitting there, open the door, move out of the way, like hand him the water and the towel. Like,
give him a
what's going
fucking
on
Thai
there?
massage. Take off your fucking skates and give him a Thai massage on the bench, you fucking plugs. There's only a reason you're going to be sniffing a wild card spot, and it's because of 87, goddammit.
When are they going to they're not sniffing any spot.
Well, I mean, the only possibility they have is 87. That's all. That's the only snowball's chance in hell they got. And they just got rid of Lars Eller. And I know that Dubas said that the only guy who's safe is Crosby. But boys, I know I keep beating this drum. You're telling me if this continues for the rest of this year and the rest of next year up until the deadline, he at some point is not going to go want to play to potentially win one more Stanley Cup. You're telling me Crosby is going to ride it out for 3 more years on that deal, putting up with that nonsense. And my understanding is that Dubas was told that the Letang, Malkin, Crosby trio, after the purchase of the team and what they paid for it, had to stay intact because they wanted people in the building. Well, I watched the game the other night, and it was pretty fucking boring in there. There was about half the seats that weren't filled. So that plan ain't working either. So what the fuck are they going to do with this team?
Yeah, I was always like, Crosby will never leave, but watching this year, I'm really starting to doubt it. So I could see him move on. All the greats have moved on. Gretzky played in a few places. Bobby Orr even played in a couple places. You look at the other sports, they've all done it. So I'm starting to lean because that's ugly. He can't be out there like that, alone like that.
There is something.
I'll make you a promise, Whit. If by next year at the deadline, it's still going on like this, I'm going to be picketing outside of Crosby's house for him to go to Colorado. They're going to need to fucking lock me up and put me in the state penitentiary. I will be harassing Sid to go play with his buddy Nate. I am not watching this anymore. He deserves better than this bullshit. Am I wrong?
That is the hockey fan in everyone right now. Like, get him out of there. We can't. No, he's still too good. We can't watch him be like this the next 3 years on this team. Everyone has said close to him, he'll never go anywhere. So that's been out. That's been made clear. Biz, I am with you. I also think there's something like to be said to kind of respect. Like, this guy doesn't want to go anywhere, and as mad as everyone gets,
I don't
and
give
they
a
wish
shit.
they could force him.
It ain't up
you
to him
could try
anymore.
to force him. You could try to force him. There is a chance, you would think, as you're bringing up, if they end up being a bottom 6 team in the league this year, and next year at March, they're a bottom 6 team again, he would finally be like, I just can't do this. I have too much left to give. That's the only chance, is if he somehow switches his mind up. But Merles, as you bring up Gretzky and Orr and Messier, they're all playing for different teams. There are a few who haven't. You got Sakic, you got Yzerman, you got Gordie Howe. Oh, no, Gordie Howe. What the fuck am I talking about? Was he in the WHA, for Christ's sake? Good talk. But there are guys who haven't, Mario being one of them. And maybe he doesn't, and the thing is, like, okay, we don't want to watch you do it. You can win another cup. You're still this so good. He's got 3 cups. He's got everything he's ever done. He's got gold medals. There could be something where it's like, I started here, I'm finishing here. There's good times, there's bad times, but I'm a Pittsburgh Penguin for life. I agree with you. I don't want to watch it. I don't. I beg him. But I could see it happening where he never does it. He never leaves. And everyone's been saying
the one
this.
place, like you say Colorado maybe, but I could see if somehow Montreal can turn it around and say they started competing, I could see him going there just to test the Canadian, see what it's like to be in a Canadian market. And I think he grew up a huge Habs fan.
Isn't his father a big Habs fan?
I think so. So that's the one spot I could see him jump to if they can somehow turn it around, but that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon.
I can't believe he's able to handle it now. Imagine how frustrated he is. And you got, like you watch Carlson. I mean, I didn't bring up Bouchard. Like, you see some effort out there from certain Penguins defensemen. You're like, oh my God, this is a gong show. And then you hear, like, will Mike Sullivan be fired? Seems crazy. Like, who's gonna coach the team? Who's a better coach? How quickly would he be hired? Teams would probably fire someone immediately if Mike Sullivan got fired to then try to hire him. There's going to have to be something that happens, though, because you can't just continue to get blown out and play like this before something drastic goes down. And Lars Eller isn't that crazy, right, Biz? That's not like
that's a little move. And kind of, you talk about like one domino falling and then maybe other. We could kind of go one or two ways with this. I think we could probably quickly jump into the rumor mills on the coaches, because there hasn't been a coach can yet this year. And usually around this time every year, one domino falls and then maybe a few others. And like you just mentioned Sullivan's name coming up, where I don't know, from my understanding is I don't think he's saying much to Letang and Carlson given their play. I don't know if it's a situation where, I don't want to use the word checked out, but just kind of like, hey man, these are the moves that were made that were out of my control. This is what I have to work with. The only way that we are going to win or make playoffs if these top players are playing at the top of their game. So I'm not going to stress myself out by fucking yelling and trying to change a Norris, 3-time Norris winning defenseman ways. Like, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So, and I also don't know if maybe his time in Pittsburgh is coming to an end and he knows that and he wants to look to a fresh start somewhere else. But Sullivan's name keeps coming up. You mentioned Monty's name keeps coming up. Like, obviously we've been talking about that situation, but it's coming from other places as well. I don't know about you guys. I've heard Lalonde's name come up a few times. Like, I feel like there's another guy who really doesn't have much to work with outside that top D pairing and that top line, where I think the game we had the other night, they'd scored 34 goals at that point, 17 of which had been done by the top line. So half of their offense is coming from their top line, where the other 50%, they're just not getting anyone else pulling the rope offensively. Are there any other names that you've heard of? Because we keep talking about Coach Q being available and or potentially this coach carousel, where if you're saying Sully gets fired, maybe he moves over to Boston. Didn't he already coach in Boston? Isn't he familiar with that area? Seems like whatever message Monty's getting, but you're also saying, look at the personnel they have to work with. No wonder they're not putting the puck in the back of the net. They're having the same issues as Detroit. They got a few playmakers and the rest are just knuckle draggers up and down with no creativity. Is there any other names that you're hearing out there that might get changed?
I don't know if it's like out there as in terms of some insiders have heard he could be fired, but I'm hearing early rumblings that Cronin is absolutely despised by the Ducks players.
I'm hearing that too.
And I think at times he's making life like living hell for these guys. Some of the young guys, like just old school way, where I dealt with Michel Therrien and everyone has dealt with a coach who is not your friend and is like 1980s giving it to you every single day. And it doesn't work like it used to. I think Greg Cronin's been around the game long enough where you talk about teaching an old dog new tricks is probably hard. He's coached a certain way. Anaheim's not good, and the guys are miserable. Let's just say that. So, but Pat Verbeek could be somebody's like, I don't give a fuck. He seems a little old school himself. Figure it out.
My thing is, if you're going to stay stubborn and keeping that coach hired, when I've heard the same thing, Whit, I think that it's been kind of like a mutiny where a lot of the players in that locker room have tuned him out, and you're not going to get the best of these young players' ability and the growth that you're hoping to see out of these prospects with this guy in the seat. So by your evaluation of these players and maybe potentially moving on from them, you would have never known what the ceiling is for these players if the end game isn't going to be this coach anyway. So why stay stubborn in what your decision was to bring this guy in if none of the players are responding to him? Nobody likes his coaching methods. We all know that. Listen, I'm not saying that it should all be players, coaches, and tummy sticks and no accountability and never getting yelled at and sometimes having tough love. But when it's just constant tough love, and the players are tuning you out, you might end up moving on from some of these guys and making a dumb decision based on a stubborn decision to keep the guy that's already in the seat. Also, I don't talk to any of these players from Anaheim. This isn't coming from their mouths. My understanding is a lot of them in their post-season meetings last year were like, this guy's not the answer. We need somebody different in this seat to teach us the pro game, and not just screaming at us, but actually breaking down this video to the point where I'm hearing that it's one of the most dysfunctional locker rooms in the National Hockey League based on the situation at hand. I'm not blaming Verbeek. I don't know Cronin. I've never been in a locker room with him. I'm just going based on what I've heard. So regarding all these coaches and a potential domino to fall, that is another name that came up. Merle, what else do you got?
Yeah, that's what I think somebody needs to get fired. Like, say Pittsburgh fires Sullivan. Boom. Bruins fire Monty. Sullivan goes to Boston. Then the Ducks can fire Cronin. The Ducks can bring Monty over. He'd be great with all those young guys. But yeah, I think mine is Detroit. I think that's the one that's going to drop first. I feel bad. I love that guy, Lalonde, good guy. But they expect more from that team. I think he's going to go, and I'm going to throw out a name that's going to probably shock you that's going to be in the running for that. It's Sergei Fedorov. Yzerman's old teammate. He was coaching in the KHL for a long time, so I could see him getting a look at some point over here. Hey.
Murr, have you gotten any
fresh
DMs
from the
about
KHL
this?
right to the NHL?
Yeah, it's Sergei Fedorov.
I know, but it's Yzerman's like it's easily the biggest hire the Red Wings have had in 20 years, 15, 20. It's like this next one can't be a fuck up because then the Yzer plan's getting looked at. But I mean,
I just think that could be
sick.
a perfect fit. But with the other coaches, something's got to drop. But I feel like they're all waiting because they want the other guy that might go.
Yeah, it's weird to see how many guys have been let go in the past few years, and right now with teams off to some serious slow starts and have nothing happen yet. You don't want to see guys lose their job. I don't care how much I hear a player hates a guy. Like, you're not coaching me. If you were coaching me, I might say I hope you get fired. But we're just chatting. But it's going to happen, and you got to kind of.
The Bruins one's hilarious because they were supposed to be horrible. This roster, they lost everybody. They're supposed to be horrible. Monty made them good. So now all these lunatic Bruins fans think they have to win the Stanley Cup every game. Like he doesn't have the roster. Zadorov is, I don't know if he should play in the NHL anymore. And Monty's getting blamed for that. So I don't know.
Zadorov is getting the fan base in Boston is kind of like what kind of player is he? Like I think you see a big signing and the size of him, and you're thinking that you're maybe getting something that you might not. And I think that he just kind of seems to be just trying to do too much. It's like a tale as old as time, like big defenseman, buddy. Just like yesterday, he's carrying the puck out. They're killing a 4-on-3. He's got the puck, and Coyle kind of takes off. Like if he gives it to him, I don't want to say a breakaway, but he's going to get a chance, and he just holds on to it, gets his pocket picked. They swing back in quick, like 2-on-1. It's just little things where the whole team, and like I mentioned, Lindholm is saying, like, I am not playing good. I am not doing anything on the ice right now.
Which
he doesn't
one?
look like
the D-man or the forward?
This is Elias. Hampus Lindholm got hurt, So he's out a couple weeks. But Elias, like, what is he, 7.7? You know, that's looking at your top line center, and he's not producing points. He's not holding the puck a lot. He's not getting a lot of shots. It's like, those are two big free agent signings that aren't
He's
playing.
also a hard guy to evaluate because he was playing with Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau for all those years, which are going to amplify your point production. He moves over to Vancouver last year, halfway through the year. I would say that he played well the first few games, struggled a little bit. Then he was fairly solid come playoff time. Like the whole group was playing decent. They go to Game 7 against the Oilers, and then boom, he gets the big deal in Boston, where I get sometimes it takes you a little bit of time to get acclimated, but I also think that from a Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk point, they were helping drive that line offensively. So I don't really know what you got there with them. And like you said, now you're locked in.
In Vancouver, it was 26 games. He had 12 points in the regular season. He had 10 in 13 playoff games. But the regular season production in Vancouver is similar, like 9 points in 19 games right now at the Bruins. Like, you wonder, like, is this going to be a 40 to 50 point guy? And we signed him to be a 70 point guy. That's a huge difference. Well, speaking of Elias Lindholm, we're starting to talk about the Four Nations tourney, boys. And we got some news this week that there were 2 of the 4 teams that lobbied the NHL to have the rosters expand to 25 players, which is what you can do in international play in the Olympics and World Championships. From the 23, that is what the NHL is doing for this tournament. They were rejected. And you wonder about who the 2 teams were. I think everyone has a pretty good guess. And maybe naming some guys at the original press conference for the tournament that you regret doing now. Piz, is that kind of what you think this is all about?
Yeah. I mean, I think in order to garner buzz, each team had to announce six players. Yeah. And just after hearing how teams wanted that expanded roster, it just kind of got me thinking a little bit. And listen, like, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Like, Karlsson has obviously struggled at the start of this year. I think that in some cases effort has stuck out and defensive play and lack thereof of it. That I think anybody with half a brain would say that based on the Swedish defensemen that are available to select for that roster, that he would probably find himself on the outside looking in if he hadn't already been announced to the team. Listen, maybe based on respect and what he's achieved for his nation and with, you know, with what he's brought the hockey world throughout the course of his career, maybe he would be like a healthy scratch on the roster. But I just got thinking, like, I would have assumed that it would have been Team Sweden and then also Team Canada asking that, because you look at another guy, no disrespect to Brad Marchand and what he's done, right? He's been unbelievable. He went through 3 surgeries in the offseason, has not got off to the start that probably he was expecting. And we knew that it would take him a little bit to get going. But would you not agree that if maybe Canada and Sweden could have a redo, they would not have named those 2 players to their rosters, given without what else is out there and the impact that other players could make to be the top 6 named early on? Like, you're telling me that there couldn't be someone other than Brad Marchand for Team Canada that would be named as a guarantee? And would you have Brad Marchand on your Team Canada roster based on what you've seen right now compared to other Canadians that have had hot starts?
I took it when I was saying I think we all know who the teams are. I thought it was Sweden and Finland just based on the Euro way of doing things. And I thought Karlsson and Sweden. I hadn't had a player in mind for Finland who's sucked or hasn't played well that was named. But I guess that's a pretty good point that maybe Canada's looking. Now, I think Marchand, like, as the year goes on, he's going to get better. But once you get around him with those players and, like, the history that he has, he's not, like, liability-wise as Karlsson is right now. Like, he's not playing that poorly. So, possible scenario there for you that you are bringing up. But I just figured it was the European team because that's what they're used to doing. The naming of Marchand, maybe you don't do it as the original 6 looking back now, and you could still possibly pick him as the 13th forward. But it's not like I'm panicking if I'm Team Canada that he's going to be there.
Fair enough. But looking at each team and the 6 players they chose, the fact that 2 teams had reached out about expanding the roster, that was just kind of my thinking, was like, okay, well, they're probably hoping for 2 more players that they can add in case that these players, don't pick it up and maybe aren't playing at that level where at least they have a few free redos. And from Canada's sake too, like Hyman is playing nowhere near where he was last year. Now the argument is well, McDavid and him have such good chemistry and he knows where to go, and McDavid's the driver. You just need a guy to go to the net front for those tap-ins. Is he automatically on the roster? And if you're able to get those 2 extras from 25 to 23, you might take him as that kind of extra guy, whereas maybe McDavid's playing with someone early on in the tournament, it's not working out. It's like, well, just get him back with his regular line mate. And the same goes for, are you going to take Adam Lowry? Are you going to take a Tom Wilson? Like, who are you taking on Canada outside of those normal juggernaut players that might add a little bit of spice and add a different element to your bottom lines that could maybe even get bumped up? Like another thing is, my understanding is McDavid and McKinnon and Crosby don't necessarily play well on a line together, right? In some cases, there might be too much delegation. Is Crosby going to play the wing? Is he comfortable playing the wing? So there's so many question marks that Canada have as far as how they're going to pair their lines, to which led me to believe they were the team that asked for the 25-man Olympic roster. So I know we were just spitballing there, and that it was interesting to hear that 2 teams did that. But with Murs on the call, I'd like to get your thoughts on who you have for the Swedish team and who your prediction is.
Let me put on my Swedish hat then to get going on this. Doesn't really fit my head, but the 3 Kronas.
Great
I actually like this team a lot in a tournament like this. They're plus 370 to win the tournament, 3rd favorite. So pretty good long shot there. But did you guys talk about it? Forsberg, Mika, and Nylander were the 3 forwards that were named. So I got them on there. I got Kempe, Pettersson, and Raymond would be a nice looking second line. I have Jesper Bratt, Pasha's guy, with Eriksson Ek, great third line shutdown guy. And I got Lindholm on the right wing there. I feel like if he plays right wing, it's going to be better for him, where he's playing center in Boston. It doesn't look like he's doing well there with that. 4th line, I put Leo Carlsson on the left wing. Young guy that you want for the future. This is teams like Sweden, they think about the future down the line, the Olympics coming up in other years. So you hide him there in the 4th line left wing with Wild Bill Carlson. And I put Raquel on the right wing there. He still can score. He's still got some game in him. And I got the extra forward as Backlund out of Calgary. 1,000 games. He just has 1,000 games. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. As the tournament goes on, different matchups, you'll put him in different spots.
The 4th line playing like a 4th line, and when you're building these teams of like creating some identity within the roster, that Hoglander running around killing people, I could see him on that team. I could see him playing a good 4th line role there.
Yeah, I like him as
a You move out Raquel and you put a guy like that in. I like that move.
I compare him to a poor man's Barbashev. He's built like a cigarette machine. Maybe not as high offensively talented. He did score 24 goals last year. He's great on the forecheck. You know that he's good with like a 200-foot game in a sense of back pressure and knowing responsibilities because he's out there playing with Tocchet. So I think that's a great ad, Whit. I agree with you on that, especially as a 3rd, 4th line player.
In a quick tournament where you got so much energy every night, like you'd see him buzzing around playing solid, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes. Forward wise as well, an original name, one of the 6 names, Mika. I don't know. Maybe that's why Sweden, they're like, oh, we got 2 guys right now, and Mika's going to be a big part of this team. He doesn't look good. He does not look like, and you saw it in the playoffs. Like I don't know if his feet have never been the quickest, and it's maybe a guy that Biz talks about takes a little bit to get going. That's not, like, you look at Philippe Forsberg and then Mika Zibanejad right now, that's 2 different planets of players. Philippe Forsberg is a stud. I cannot get enough of watching that guy play, and when you look at that roster and, like, him and then Mika, you're like, I don't know. There's more to be had for his game right now for the Rangers. And I think a lot of guys in the Rangers would say that.
We're going back to the Carlson conversation. Their back end is pretty deep. Like, they got some unbelievable guys back there. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who just played in his 1,000th game. I think he's a shoo-in. Forsling, who's an incredible shutdown defender who also has offensive upside. Brodin, from Minnesota. I would assume that Broberg is going to be healthy by then. And that's another young player. You talked about like Leo Carlson, having a guy like Broberg coming in, getting that experience where before he got hurt, I would have said that he deserved to be on that roster. Lindholm from Boston on that back end. Like, how many other guys do you have ahead of Carlson?
Yeah, they got plenty of guys. I got Forsling, Brodin as the second pairing. Hedman, Carlson, obviously number one. I got Ekholm and Anderson as the third pairing.
Yeah,
you need to have, you need a righty, get the righty D. And then the interesting one, I didn't know what to do with Dahlin. I feel like you need him on that team. He's a future guy for you.
I watched him in Buffalo the other night. He's incredible. Yes.
Yeah. Was he looking sick in that game?
Yeah, he's their best player, hands down. Not even close.
So you put him out, and you're going to have to scratch Carlson, I guess. On my roster, I would have to.
But
do
I
that,
have Carlson as my 8th to 9th defenseman based on the players available. Like we hadn't even mentioned Ekholm yet. I mean, like we're talking about like guys who can defend the Canadians and America. You need people playing defense. Those teams.
All right, let's say this. Let's say this, Biz. The 5 best defensemen on Sweden are Forsling, Hedman, Dahlin, Ekholm, and that Rasmus Anderson, right?
And then Brodin, who
you got to say Brodin. If you remember the Billy G conversation, he talked about how his footwork is able to, like, that's how they shut down McKinnon and McDavid.
So
He's the only guy that can play
with one
them.
righty. That could be your 6. Carlson isn't playing a lot, or I don't know.
I think that what you probably do in the round robin in the first game is he's in the lineup based on just respect and everything, and you see how he does. Maybe by then, boys, we see a completely different Carlson. Maybe he's battling something we don't know about, but all we can go on is based on the hockey we've watched so far. And you talked about the goal against Carolina. I could probably go back to 15 goals so far that the Pittsburgh Penguins have allowed this year, and you could probably just point him out as being like, that's his guy or that's his mistake. And that's not the case for any of these other defensemen that you're mentioning on their roster. So they are locked and loaded. Who in net though, Mur?
Yeah, they're loaded there too. I got Markstrom, Gustafsson, and Ullmark. So pick who you want out of that. And if
not
you remember,
Ullmark right now.
You talked about when we talked to Luongo there, he talked about those Olympic experiences where he wasn't the starter and then he got in there. So in these small tournaments, they might need all 3 of these guys. But I think Markstrom, the way he's been playing, I think he starts, right? He'll be their number 1.
That would be my assumption. And I mean, I know we've talked a little bit of Ottawa the last couple pods. Ullmark's been struggling, man. He let in another brutal one. The other night, they dominated Philadelphia, outshot them 2-1. They give up that 2-goal lead in the third period. And I don't know if I can't really blame him for the one where the original shot was off the 2-on-1, bad pinch, rebound, boom, almost like a pass off the pad style goal. But the one in overtime for Michkov was goal line goal. And then
he started to turn it. It looked like he was going to turn it around because the games before that, I think he had a shutout one of the 2 games and then just lays an egg in that Philly game.
Jekyll and Hyde, and they go back to Forsberg in net the next game. And that was my issue is like, I used the example on Hockey Night in Canada. So we had signed Mike Smith after Brizgalov took off. And, I think he'd played in Tampa and Dallas before that and struggled and lost the starting position. So we got him back. He was going to work with Sean Burke. Tippett had some familiarity with him in Dallas. Well, we go into the Shark Tank first game of the season and he gets lit up, like as everybody did in that first 10 minutes. And Smitty, being the good teammate, was like, I don't deserve to play. LaBarba should get the net for game 2. And Sean Burke was like, listen, totally respect your opinion and where you're coming from, but we didn't sign you to become the backup or to share the net. We signed you to become the starter. And if you want to work through this and jump over this mental hurdle, you have the opportunity if you want that net. So they had a good chat. Smitty played that next game. I want to say it was against the Nashville Predators. He played solid. Then we played, I think, in LA. He played great. And then that was the season he went on to have an incredible run, was one of the best goalies in the league. I don't know if he was nominated top 3 in Vezina, but we upset Chicago in the first round. We dominate Nashville. We end up losing in the Western Conference Finals. But if you trade for a guy like that, then you sign him and give him that 8.25 for 4 more years, let him go work through that. Enough with this fucking back and forth. And like, then
they got to win games though. Work on it in practice.
Whit, I think
you got to win games. Like
I know, but buddy, you're beyond that, and you're at the point in the season where you can do that. So I know they start Forsberg that next game against Carolina, and that's a tough one. He had a great start to the game, but then he lets in a fucking goal line goal, just like Allmark did. And I don't know if you watched that game, and I mean, we're going to get to Carolina later because they deserve a massive tire pump on what they've been doing. Best shot differential, like always, to start the season. They're 10-plus shots every game. They're just dominating teams, out-shooting them 2-1. But in my opinion, you got to go back to Allmark after he gives up that softie against Philadelphia. He has to get over this mental hurdle. This team needs to figure it out. They need the goaltending. You've signed the guy. You've guaranteed that he's your goalie of the future. You fucking ride him and you let him work it out. That's what I got to say about that.
Came up with one more idea for this Swedish roster because we're trying to hide Carlson or use him, right? I might move him up to my fourth line right wing.
Merle's always talks about moving D up. Merle's been saying Nurse should be a forward. This is his move.
Let's put him up there. Carlson. That's the fourth line. And
That'd
then
be
he
cool.
drops back to D for the power play. That's the move.
He kind of plays as a midfielder anyway, so I actually don't mind him as a forward. I wonder if in the future we'll ever see like a new system generated where there's a few defensemen who play like that, where it's a completely
Didn't Sweden have the torpedo that did that? There wasn't it like two guys flying and then there was a rover?
They did have some weird like system that team would play.
Okay.
That might have been, was that when they lost to, who'd they lose to? Belarus in 2010, and then Canada got to play Belarus in the semifinals.
I was just going to say, I usually chirp all these NHL people for the scheduling. Phenomenal job. Sweden versus Finland. They're playing it at 1 p.m. So that way, everybody in Europe, that'll be 6 and 7 o'clock for Sweden and Finland, the prime time for them. So I usually chirp about the schedule. Great job on the schedule.
I can't wait for this tournament. And we got to talk about the other Scandinavian team. Is Finland considered part of Scandinavia? Okay.
No.
I apologize. Another team from Europe in Finland, and that's why we're bringing in Tuukka Rask right now, the legend. Before we go any further, guys, need to talk to you about Game Time. Barstool Sports is so lucky to work with Game Time. The Winter Classic is coming up at Wrigley Field on New Year's Eve. We cannot wait to get out there. Plus, right now, hockey fans can save on tickets with a Game Time exclusive 25% off when using zone deals with Game Time. This deal is only available until December 2nd. So fire up the Game Time app and get your Winter Classic tickets right now. With Game Time zone deals, you choose your zone and Game Time chooses your specific seats. And you get peace of mind with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. So easy to use. GameTime.co. That's GameTime.co. And if it's your first time buying with Game Time, you can enter the code Chiclets for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. There's nothing like seeing a Winter Classic live. Get 25% off with zone deals on Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. What time is it? Game Time. GameTime.co. We're lucky now to be joined by a former Finnish national team goaltender, Biz. World Juniors, World Championship, Under 18, Olympic Games.
No World Championship, but it's okay.
What? Two.
No World Championships, Olympics and World Cup, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Fair enough.
Hey,
Fair enough.
don't
You're
let,
always in the playoffs. You're always in the
don't let
playoffs.
facts get in the way of a good story.
No, that's
Tuukka.
true. That's
Come
true.
on.
My bad. What's up, guys?
Not much, dude. We're very excited for this Four Nations tournament. We wanted to go to a Finnish man, a guy who's represented his country, and talk about Finland's team for this year's tournament.
You called the right guy. I barely, I had to actually do some research on this fucking team. Because I have no
you
idea
don't do research. You don't do any research.
Not usually, but today I had to. What do you got? I mean, they're looking pretty solid.
They're very solid, and I guess like we'd love to maybe hear if you have a little roster, if you have some ideas of maybe some sleeper picks of guys who could be on, and then as of now, who you going with as your goaltender?
Yeah, I think we start there, Tuukka. Like, who would you start in net based on who's playing the best? And usually Finland has some pretty good net miners around the league.
Yeah, I don't think goaltending has ever been an issue for them in any single tournament ever. I think it's not going to be an issue this year either. But I mean, Saros has to be the guy. He's, solid superstar in the league. I mean, their team's kind of, up and down, but he's their backbone. He's been their backbone for years now. But after that, I think Kevin Lankinen from Vancouver has had a pretty decent start of the year. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen from Buffalo, he's solid. I mean, they have some options, but I think Saros is a clear number one for sure.
Would you say Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is probably the number 2? And probably going back to last year, halfway through the year, he was one of the better netminders in the league.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. He's definitely, 1B or, just a backup because, I mean, the problem is like his stats, I haven't checked, but they're probably not top 5, top 10 because he plays in Buffalo. Like that's always the defense there has been pretty suspect, but he's a great goalie. If team plays defense, he's technically sound, big guy, big competitor. So I think, either him or Saros is going to give him a chance to win. But what my question mark, I think, for Team Finland would be is the defense. I mean, they have
right side of the defense too.
Right. I mean, after Heiskanen, who's going to carry the puck and make the plays? I mean, they have the shutdown guys who are going to cross-check the shit out of the guys in front of the net, block the shots. But I don't know. I mean, that's probably the biggest question mark because then you look at the forwards. I think their centers could pretty much fit into any other team in the tournament. What do you got? Aho, Barkov, Hentz.
Forward, they're loaded. It's the defensive side where like Heiskanen will play 30 minutes. He's that good, but you see possible rosters. It's like they have Oli Mata playing with them. You got Joe Kaharju. Like there's guys. I like Esa Lindell. Like he can move the puck. He could be really solid defensively. But yeah, that could be a weakness for them where they're kind of getting. I mean what's the kid who's in Utah now, Biz? That was in. Is it Välimäki?
Välimäki.
He's solid, but like you're saying, like you're not looking at it like Team Sweden's defense.
I know, but sometimes it could be a good thing too that kind of like the expectations are not that high. I think it's just a matter of like the coaching staff, what type of hockey do they want to play? You have to kind of have the D core and the forwards be on the same page, right? You can't have like defense breaking the puck out, skating and dangling guys. You have to kind of be meat and potatoes, I think, because you play with what you got. But hey, that's up to them to decide. I'm just an ambassador.
Tuukka, when you were playing international competition for Finland, like what was typically the system? Because I think when we talk about European players coming over, it's usually Finland and Sweden mentioned as the most North American style of play, where they're always responsible also on the defensive side of the puck, and kind of alluding to what you said, where maybe a lot of these defense we're talking about are not household names, but typically these Finnish players buy into a team structure. It's more about the team, more so the individual, especially when you look at Team Sweden and Team Finland.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think that's always been the strength of Team Finland in any tournament. Obviously times have changed now. Everybody plays in the NHL, playing a big role. So they're really adapting to the North American style of hockey. So that's not an issue. I think, you go back 10, 15, 20 years, you kind of had to like modify your game plan and really, change the style of coaching philosophy, I guess to say, when you're playing in North America. But Finnish and European structure has always been team building and the team effort. I don't think that's going to change. We take playing for our country really seriously and we take huge pride in that. So that's always there. And I think that's going to kind of carry them over whichever hurdles there might be, kind of tactically. You have that heart and passion for your country, and that's gonna kind of give you an extra boost to say.
And Biz talks about like playing defensive hockey and while also being so talented. Like that is what I see with their forwards, like Barkov, Aho. You end up seeing Rantanen. You don't even say him first, is crazy. But so you see this high end talent. All three of those guys great on both sides of the puck. Then you look at like their depth lines where you brought up Hintz. He can skate like the wind. Like Lundell from Florida. He's so good offensively, but he's like a third line shutdown guy with the Panthers. Teuvo Teravainen, like they are up front. There's no issues at all. Lehkonen, we were already talking about him earlier this episode. So I think the team ends up being, defensively, can you block enough shots? Like, can Saros steal a tournament? I think he easily could. And so I don't think that while you look at the roster, and especially defensively, it being weaker than the other three teams, it's like Finland could win. I could easily see Finland winning. It's based on like low scoring games and just a team that makes it so difficult to score against.
Yeah, you get a hot goalie, he can steal you the tournament. It's like a playoff series basically. But then, yeah, like you said, where it's like you shut teams down, you kind of frustrate them because you look at like US or Canada, whatever, like they get so much talent that their issue could be like, how can we build this team and have like a guy who's playing first line somewhere play fourth line in this tournament and like not get frustrated, right? Finland doesn't have that issue because their guys accept the roles always, and they're very trustworthy team first guys to begin with. So it's easier for them to just kind of like, hey, listen, you're going to be, fourth line center playing 8 minutes, block a couple shots, kill penalties. Fine, I'll do that, for the good benefit of the whole team. And I think that's, like I said, that's always been the kind of like the advantage that the European and the Finns have.
Since you're the goalie expert and they'll probably have to rely so much on goaltending in order to win this tournament, is there like a certain style that Finnish goalies typically play? Like, are they more stand-up style? We always talk about this reverse VH stuff. Like, are they bought into that? Like, how did you learn and come up? And was everyone kind of try to, like, goalie-wise, bred to play the same way?
Well, when I was growing up, it was like the start of the butterfly trend. But this is 30 years ago. I think that the goaltending has evolved so much. Things, all these goalies are so athletic now that you can just tell them to do a thing and they'll do it. They'll learn it in 10 minutes. But I mean, you look at Saros, he's like way below average with his size, but it doesn't really affect his numbers because he's so athletic and he's so quick. But I think for Team Finland, European goalies in general, it's always been what's benefited them has been the goaltending coaching, ever since they started playing. So you get that individual coaching, you start years 5 and 6, 7 years old. That plays a huge part in it. And then I think all of us, I can probably speak to all of us, like we've been playing different sports, so we're very athletic to begin with. And then you've been taught to catch the puck, not just to block the puck. And you look at Saros, like that's one of the biggest reasons probably why he is so successful, because he's so athletic, even though he's not big. He's quick and he catches the puck and he uses his hands.
Is that why we saw Pekka Rinne always, even if it went to the blocker side, like he would catch the puck?
Well, he's an extreme. He's an extreme example of that because, he had a Finnish baseball background, I think. Pekka does. So he would just use his glove hand, whichever way he could. And I mean, hey, worked out pretty good.
Is there like a famous Finnish goalie coach that has developed a lot of the goalies over there and helped make them into star NHL players? Yeah,
there have been. I think I want to say the most famous one probably is Jussi Parkkila, who's in Colorado now. He's been there maybe 6-7 years. He was my goalie coach in juniors. Then he went to Russia. A bunch of the Finnish goalie coach actually went to Russia. I would say 3 or 4 guys 15 years ago. And they, now you see Vasilevsky, Varlamov, Sorokin, all these guys.
No shit.
If not all of them, at least a good bunch of them have been coached by a Finnish goalie coach in Russia. And that kind of shows you that where the Finnish goaltending coaching, is and has been.
As the goaltending landscape has changed, and so rare do you see guys playing 65 games and they don't play back-to-backs. In a tournament like this, is it different where if you're the guy and they're running with you, you're fine? Like, could you see guys getting tired if you're playing 5 games and or is it more the momentum and kind of just the excitement of representing your country, or you'd be fine to run each game in this series?
You got to think these young guys are softer than puppy shit, the fact that they can't play 65 games, Tuukka. They're mentally
I think it's all
weak.
It's all stat based. It's like,
Fuck
I think the
stats,
guys
right,
want
Tuukka?
to.
Fuck the stats is right. That is
okay.
true.
Yeah!
All right. Wayne Gretzky and Tuukka Rask. Stats are for nerds.
That is true. Unfortunately, that runs the show nowadays, but whatever. I think, if I was preparing for the tournament, I would look at it like a playoff series, just 5 games, 6, 7 games, whatever. You can grind that out. No problem. And you look at Saros, he's one of the guys, he's one of the few guys who are like an actual workhorse. He'll play probably 60 plus games. So it's not a problem for him. And, he's probably considered old now too, but the other guys, they're younger. And if you can't play 5-game tournament, I don't think you should play in the NHL.
What is there else that we need to know about Team Finland? Like, is there like a special tradition that maybe Team Finland does before the start of the tournament, maybe to pay homage to the people who laid the foundation before him? Do you guys have like a certain chant that's different than your national anthem?
They
maybe
play Metallica and drink. That's their.
I was gonna say, if I were to guess, I would say they have a little sauna night, have a couple of beers, bring the team together, and then go for it. But there's nothing more than
Biz,
that.
you know Finns?
Yeah, Finns love it. They love
hard rock, metal music, and boozing.
The whole world is now talking about all this biohacking and making sure you do enough sauna, where you guys must be like looking at the rest of the world like, we've been fucking doing this for 100 years, you dummies.
No shit. I have one in the backyard. I did 5 days last week. And I was talking to my buddy. I'm like, the fact that this is not blown up is mind blowing because it's great. Not a cold tub.
It took North America way too long to figure it out, and there's still people who really chirp like the new age, people over here that are doing hot tub, cold tub. They're like, all right, buddy, sick. You're gonna live an extra 7 weeks. Vasilevsky becomes the fastest ever to 300 wins. Incredible career, has dominated for so long in this league. I'm guessing you're not surprised at all to see him, accomplish this feat faster than anyone else.
Not one bit. In fact, I'd be surprised that it happened now. I thought he would already have 300, but
the injury, maybe his back and everything.
Yeah, and then like COVID seasons and stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say he's probably best of the best. I mean, there's other good goalies too, but he's been the guy there for who knows how many years now, 10 plus years probably some.
Do you remember seeing him for the first time? And like, you could, we talk about seeing McDavid or Crosby. Like, can you see a goalie right on the ice and his movements and be like, holy shit, that's something special, especially if you're looking at a 20-year-old?
First time I saw him, they were playing in the final. I think, didn't they lose to Chicago in the finals? That's when he got thrown in there. And, he was young and obviously not ready for that moment yet, but that's pretty decent experience when you just kind of like nothing to lose and you get to play the finals. But you could see how athletic and how big and how well moving he is already back then. And then, obviously we played in the same division and he was one of those guys. Like I remember like you play against Canadians and Pricers in the net. Like, if you let in more than 2 goals, you're probably going to lose the game. So that was kind of the case with Vasilevsky too. And obviously he's, like I said, he's been the front runner of the goalie of the year every single year he's been in the league.
The starting goaltender position can be such a mental grind. Was there anything you did throughout the course of your career, like having to play all those games to sharpen your mental strength? Like you talk about the on ice stuff and like technique and this and that. Was there anything that you specifically did to like get yourself to that Vezina elite level of goaltending? I mean, like you're eligible for the Hall of Fame, I think, starting next year. And I think a lot of people would consider you to be a Hall of Fame goalie with the tracker record you had over a sustained amount of time. Like, how do you get your mind to that level?
I think for me, it was like meditation and just like relaxing. But that was just, I want to say maybe last 5-6 seasons in my career, I realized that like you're so amped up the whole, you play 60 games plus playoffs, whatever, like the whole season, it just drains on you, like, and then the more you kind of try to amp yourself up for the games and kind of stay sharp, it doesn't benefit you. So I started practicing meditation, before my naps and stuff like that, just to quiet my mind. That helped. That was like best seasons I played was during that time. And, if there's anything I would tell myself, it would be that start doing it earlier. But yeah, for me, it was just kind of like quiet the mind and meditate and try to be as relaxed as possible and get some rest. Because, you play 60 games for playoffs, your body and your mind are just on overload at all times. So it's not easy.
Tuukka, it is incredible. 3rd all time you are, 921 save percentage for goaltending records. fourth all time or fifth all time in goals against average at 2.28. So without putting you on the spot, have you thought at all like, wow, I am eligible for the Hall of Fame? Like, I wonder if I ever get in. Did you ever imagine it, or do you not even really think about it?
I don't really think about it. It's out of my. It's kind of like the athlete talking. It you can't influence those things yourself, so it doesn't matter. But that's why I retired. I didn't want my numbers to get any lower, so that's why I retired. Before I started getting lit up.
Oh, I guess it's a bad time to ask you to join the Big Deal Selects.
He's a strangler. He's a strangler. Sorry to tell you now, Biz. Yeah,
no. Fuck. One of the hot controversial topics so far this year has been the goaltender interference stuff. You're doing like a simulcast with Razor, and I don't know if you guys have had an opportunity on that to discuss it at all, what your thoughts on it are. Are you a little bit confused by maybe the inconsistency? I've talked to other goalies like Luongo who said, no, each different one is case by case, and I think they've been doing a good job. So where do you sit on it?
We've only done one of those things yet, and there was no controversial calls in that game. We're actually doing another one tonight, so maybe we can discuss it. But I had so many situations when I was playing that I'm like, what the F is going on here? Because I get it. It's tough for whoever's like making those calls in the whatever war room you call it. If there's no former goalie who actually understands and knows how to look at those things, it's really hard to get it right. And look, there's a lot of times it's a thing. It's a little thing that only you know, or a person who played goalie knows that it actually affected the outcome of the play. It's not the ones that you get bumped or, shoved or whatever. And those are pretty easy and you can recover from those. But it's the ones if your stick bangs your glove out of the way, or somebody jams your pad, moves your stick, the little subtle place that you really are tough to see. Those are the ones to make the calls on. But I don't know if it's changed, to be honest with you. I haven't seen too many plays that this year that I could have a legit opinion on it. But I remember from my playing days, it was always kind of it got to a point that it was tough for coaches to challenge those plays because they had no idea what's going to happen. And I don't know, you might know better than I do if it's changed or not, but the inconsistency was that what I was worried about when I was playing.
Well, Connor Hellebuck's father took to Twitter to bitch about one of them, and I think he was right. And also it came out that Connor Hellebuck a few years ago did a PowerPoint presentation and sent it into the league. I don't know if it ever hit Gary's desk or whoever about
probably would guess no, but
to try to fix the problem or at least have some input. And you're saying they should have a goalie in the war room. I think it would be unbelievable television to get a 500 goal scorer and a former Vezina Hall of Fame type goalie arguing about the goalie interference live on the broadcast to decide who gets the goal, and maybe get an arbitrator up there.
That would be. There we go. We got a TV show. Sign me up.
Because if you just have a goalie, Biz, the goalie every time's no goal. They'll say no goal.
It's like Saros's commercials. No goal.
No, you actually don't even need a score, Biz. You don't need a 500 goal score. You need Holmstrom. You need one or Hornquist from. Right? You need one of those guys that was the guy causing it, and then they can bow Perry when he retires. Get him in there.
Oh my God, yeah. Absolutely. But I remember at least 2 goals. One was Yager. I think Yager scored. It was one of these milestone goals when he was in Florida. He parked his ass in front of the net, and then he was freaking rubbing his ass, which is fine. But then turned and put his stick between my legs, open up the 5-hole. I couldn't move. Somebody shoots it in, looks like an awful goal. I'm trying to yell at the ref, you can see that? And no, that's a clear goal. Shit like that happens is annoying.
So are you saying that some of the ones that I've complained about this year, you don't see much, it's very little, but what you're kind of saying is, even to somebody like me who never played goalie, or to somebody like me who doesn't know, it could have been that little thing that looked like nothing that really affected the goalie?
Absolutely. Because it's not
right.
the more you have like contact, it's easier to kind of brace yourself or like see it. But if it's that little like somebody nicks your glove at the moment of like a shot, there's you have a split second to react to the shot anyways. So if your hand goes like this, you can't bring it back up. Like stuff like that.
Yeah, my thought is that some of the ones this year, it seems something's happened, whether it's small or big, that I've been like, the goalie had plenty of time to reset there. And so I never know, like, how much time do you need? Once you get nicked, like, is it 1 full second and then it goes in? It should be, that's a good goal. Like, you had enough time to reset everything.
I think in order to eliminate the gray area, they should just make goalies open season, even whether they're in the crease or not. You should be able to just run right them over.
There you go.
Just fucking truck them. Kind of like lacrosse, but open season in the crease.
Yeah, perfect. Well, then, as long as we can just like start jamming blockers at your face too, that's fine.
That's a fair trade-off.
Hockey needs more of that, anyways, because like you need some tough guys there who can beat you. Nowadays, like people can do whatever they want. Nobody's
Tuukka,
like.
Who's the guy you hated the most? Like, who's the most that you want the blocker in the face during your playing days?
Not really. I mean, I blockered people in the face, so it's like it's not like I didn't do that. But I don't think we had a pretty solid decor, so they had my back. I didn't have to really worry about that. If Big Z's standing in there, I don't think people are fucking around too much. So we had that going, but no, there's always, and it's like I think it just kind of credits the goalie if they start trying to get under your skin. It just means you're doing good because you're not letting goals in. So they're just trying to kind of steer away you from your game and kind of throw you off a little bit. And I try to stay cool, but then it's one of those like when people are falling on you and like kind of, unintentionally but intentionally trying to kind of like fall on your knees and stuff. That's where I lost my mind. I'm like,
yeah, with Big Z, you had RoboCop, so you're not a fair guy to ask. Before we let you go, our friend Brian Yandel, his goalie, got a 10-minute misconduct recently this weekend, and he made him serve the penalty. Have you ever seen a goalie in the penalty box serving a penalty?
Is that even allowed?
I don't think it was, but it's just so classic that I was curious if you ever skated to the box and sat there.
Well, you got to explain the situation.
Is this a beer league game or is this like an actual?
No. This is like U14, two of the top teams in the country, and the ref comes over, 10-minute misconduct. You got to get someone in the box. Like, for what? The goalie just mouthed off to me. Your goalie told me to go fuck off. And he snapped and started screaming at the goalie. He goes, "You're going to get a penalty. You serve it." And the ref let it happen, and the goalie sat in there for 10 minutes.
And he had a shutout going, correct? They were up 2-0?
I think it's awesome. I can tell you that there are multiple times that I wish I could have gotten a penalty box. Multiple times I tried to get kicked out of the game, but the referees just wouldn't allow that. But I wouldn't mind that being a rule. Would it be only for like 10-minute majors or whatever, or like?
That's the thing. So I think it did end up being allowed because you weren't going to change on the fly when the penalty ended anyways, with it being a 10. You got to wait for the whistle. And maybe now moving forward, we see maybe Yandel, maybe he changed the game. 10-minute misconduct by a goal, you're in the box.
We call it the Yandel rule. I love it.
Well, Tuukka, thank you so much. And Biz, Thursday, you can get more Tuukka. Thursday at noon.
Well, this guy's a media sensation, so we're
going to talk about your show, buddy.
Yeah, we're going to have the topic before you let you go about. We were talking about Rick Tocchet and Brindamore. Like, they were such good players, and they're kind of on the cusp to get into the Hall of Fame, where all of a sudden now they have these second careers as coaches, and they're having so much success there. So why not add and combine categories in order to get players into the Hall of Fame? So you obviously won a Vezina, you had the career numbers that you did, and now you're going to be a media mogul with the show you got going. So why don't you describe what the simulcast is, who you got going with, and what you look to achieve in the back half of or the second career in your hockey career?
I love it. Thanks for the setup. Yeah, so we started doing unobstructed views with Andrew Raycroft, who's a media sensation himself. He's doing a great job for Nesson, actually.
Yeah,
and our good friend Patrice Bergeron. So what we do is once a month we take a Bruins home game. We watch it kind of like people probably have seen Manny Cast on ESPN. So we do the same kind of situation in the studio. We break down plays and talk shit about our careers and whatever comes to mind. So We did one episode a month ago, and we're going to do another one tonight, actually, against Bruins against Columbus Blue Jacket. It's fun. I mean, I really haven't set any goals for myself, what I want to accomplish out of this media, tour career I'm starting, but it's been fun. And this is a good way to start because it's kind of like it's unscripted. We can, wear whatever we want. There's no student tie. There's no real script. So it's kind of a soft landing for this TV gig. We'll see where it takes.
Is Patrice coming back out of retirement?
You know what I heard? I don't know if Whit heard in Boston, but the radio station said last week the Monty's going to get fired and Bergie's going to be the coach.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So that's where we at. I think, yeah. So I told him that.
That's like a Chiclets take.
I mean, dude, are these people for real? Like, what the fuck?
Well, we are those people.
He started laughing. He's like, yeah.
Can you tell Don Sweeney we said hello on behalf of Whit?
Yeah, sure. I sure did.
Just make sure he gets the word. Is it hard opening up Patrice Bergeron on TV because he always seemed very reserved and such a classy guy, and with the state of the Bruins and how much they fucking stink and how they're a 500 team who has no offense, is it hard for you guys not to be too critical?
Yes and no. Bergie's he's a classy guy. It doesn't matter what he does. He can sleep and be classy. That's just how he is. He's not going to chirp anybody or make anybody look bad anyways. But, we're trying to give our honest opinion. Like the first game we watched was against the Dallas Stars. I think they lost 6-2 or something. So there's that. But what are you going to do? You're not going to roast every single player out there. But, we played obviously we played recently. So we kind of still have a fresh memory of what the game should look like. And, we give our honest opinion. And, I saw Pasta and McAvoy the other week. They know we're doing it. And I told them listen, I'm not going to hold back. If I can see something, I'm going to chirp you. They're like, yeah, you should. But it's, we're friends. So I think it's more fun if it comes from us instead of Jack Edwards, or not Jack Edwards anymore, but whoever, because we're friends, So yeah, I mean, it's good. And I think people like it. They seem to like it the first time. And we're looking to improve every month.
I think it's funny at the fact that it's you and Razor, who he's media polished now, right? He's been doing it for quite some time, and you guys actually got dealt for each other. I didn't know that until Whit mentioned it at the Sandbagger. So that's got to be kind of a silly thing you must poke fun at each other about.
Not really. We had an interview before the first episode last month, and that was one of the questions. I think people outside of us put more emphasis on that than we actually do. It's just funny how we are doing this thing together now, and you look back, 18 years ago when the trade happened, and how kind of the circle is kind of closed on that.
Forever linked.
Yeah. But it's one of those things. You never know what life throws at you. And, we're here now, and, we're good buddies and doing this thing together. So it's just it's fun and it's funny, but we don't talk about it.
Biz, thanks for the credit, but I actually had forgotten that you were the one who brought it up on the Sandbagger, and that is going to be Thursday at noon. Spittin Chiclets YouTube. It's awesome episode. We talk a bunch of old hockey stories, so everyone tune in there for some more Tuukka and Raycroft. And last thing before we go, a buddy of mine skated with Tuukka. I think they have a Friday skate or a Thursday skate.
Was it last Friday?
Yes, and Tuukka
Let's
plays
talk about
out.
my goal.
Tuukka plays out. I was told he got it in front of the net, between the legs shelf, with a big celebration after, and he said he can dangle. Tuukka has some mitts on him.
Because to be honest with you, I've seen you play hockey. I don't think you could pull that move off. I blacked out for a second. Between the legs, like you used to skate, then shake and bake, between the legs, top cheese.
All right, Hey, we got a little competition brewing on Thursday for the Sandbagger, 12 o'clock
tune in, people.
Eastern time, noon. People could watch that, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you guys go from being traded for each other to now being teammates on TV and in the Sandbagger to take on me and Whit. After that releases, I'll take you up on that, buddy. I'll go head-to-head, mono-e-mono. I'll be there for Boston playing men's league. You better wear a full fucking cage, brother. I'm going to give you a fucking blocker sandwich. Don't you worry, buddy.
Let the chirping begin.
Before we continue, I need to talk to you about Yeti. We are so lucky to be sponsored by Yeti. They sent me over 3 different cups. They got coolers, they got cups. The big dog, the little fat wide one, the normal one, and the big old Big Daddy. All Oilers logos. Beautiful, beautiful print. Keeps the drink cold, keeps it warm. Doesn't matter, whatever you want. And Yeti's got the Camino carry-all tote bag. It's durable. You can carry skates, gloves, jersey, helmet. It's not just a cooler. It's tough inside and out. It's made with waterproof and ultra-durable material. Easy to clean. Use it for any dirty work and simply hose this thing off after the clean. Comes in 3 sizes, 20, 35, and 50. G, you have some stuff you could show off to the YouTube watchers, correct?
Oh, yeah. Luckily for me, I got all the Bruins gear. So they sent me all Yeti merch with all the Yeti stuff with the Bruins logos on it. I also have the tote bag you talked about, which is so clutch. You got the nice the Skyline in Hoboken. I like to, pack some beers, pack a little Pink Whitney in this Camino Yeti bag, bring it down to the water in Hoboken, look at the Skyline, and it's all because of our great friends at Yeti.
So you can yourself own one of these tote bags. Shop the Yeti's Camino carry-all tote bag today. Thank you so much to Tuukka Rask. Unbelievable person. Great guy. And once again, Thursday, November 21st at noon Eastern, me and Biz try to get back on the right side of the game, the winning side, against Tuukka and Andrew Raycroft. So we're on to the quick hits now. Pasha is going to be a nightmare this year, boys, because the New Jersey Devils are a wagon. Everyone saw this coming. I believe in our previews, we kind of ranted and raved about, first off, getting guys back healthy. Second off, getting a new coach, a coach who I think did a really good job in Toronto. And they get Markstrom, and now it's like, even with Markstrom not playing his best, they got Jake Allen. Jack Hughes has kind of reached a different level where I don't know his last 6 or 7 game split, but they look phenomenal. They're fast. They whooped the Panthers 2 nights in a row, or 2 games in a row. I think 1 day off in between, both in Florida. What do you see, Biz? What do you like?
Well, those 2 games, the Gadjevich, the scrapper. Oh my God! The fact that he went
fight
back
with Dylan was crazy.
That was insane. I think Buccigross counted 66 punches thrown, 36 by Gadjevich, who had a jersey over his head majority of that fight. So unreal job by him and Dylan. And then McDermott the next night, or 2 nights later, when they ended up playing in that back-to-back. So just awesome. Jesper Bratt, I think, is probably the one guy outside of Jack Hughes we have to talk about here. There's only 2 players in the league with more points than Jesper Bratt in the month of November. Do you know who those players are?
I'm going to go with Kirill Kaprizov, and I'm going to go with Cale Makar.
No, Nathan McKinnon. You had it there, Mur.
We had it there. Teamed up together.
Hey, we're a team, Mur. We're a team.
So just an incredible run by him right now. And after signing that big ticket a couple years ago, I don't want to say last year was like an off year, but I think the whole team had an off year. And he's right back to his old ways. So much speed out there, and everything just seems to be clicking right now. And I think you just have to go back to the start of the year. Jack Hughes coming off those injuries. He's finally looking like himself again. He's finally ready to win that bet for Pasha, the jock-sniffing Devils fan who I would imagine we have to bring on to talk about the fact that he got hosed on one of his bets. So
he didn't get hosed. He didn't get hosed, Biz.
Let's roll the disclaimer.
Warning, the following statements are about to be made by a deranged Devils fan. The views expressed are his and his only. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt because, remember, he is a deranged Devils fan.
And let's hear everything he has to say about all the underlying numbers for his New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, I did get hosed with. I did get hosed. G Fish and I went to that Devils-Panthers game, the game 1 of the little two-game series. And I threw a little parlay down. I went Hughes anytime scorer, Reinhart anytime scorer, obviously, because, 2 best players in the league, with Devils money line. And what do you know? Jesper Bratt with arguably the pass of the year, cross backhand sauce to Jack, one-timer, early in the game. Second period, Sam gets his goal. Devils cruise to a win. So $100 paid $2,000. All was peachy and rosy in Pasha land. Flash forward to game 2. I'm like, you know what? That bet won the first time. Let's run it back.
Run it
Reinhart,
back, baby.
Anytime score. Jack Hughes, Devils money line. And what do you know? Jack scores. Bit of a greasy one. Puck was kind of in the crease. A lot of bodies, but you know what? They credit him. Perfect.
Reinhart scores. Devils cruise to a win. Another 100, paid $2,000. So I'm all happy. And Merle's called me out. I made the mistake of sending in the group chat. There was like 5 minutes left in the game. Devils were up a bunch of goals. So like, I'm like, all right, this bet's over. I kind of come in. I'm like, hey, what's better than winning this parlay? Winning this parlay twice. And then what do you know? 10 minutes later, notification, goal change to Dawson Mercer. It like barely skimmed off his shin.
I watched it 50 times. I don't know how you could tell that it hit Mercer. Like,
yeah, I'm still hoping
there's thousands of Rangers fans listening to this right now celebrating the fact that you didn't get that $2,000.
Yes.
They are celebrating.
He already cashed out to his bank account, so he owes them $2,000 now. I believe.
Pasha's on the run.
Literally. Yep. I knew it was a greasy one, so I as soon as the cash hit my account, I hit withdraw, try and get it out of there, but they clawed it back. It said my account balance was negative there for a few minutes, but complete debacle. But like you said, the Devils are on the other side of the spectrum, not a debacle. They're a wagon. The Devils have the deepest decor in the NHL, if not top 2, top 3. Their decor is a joke. I mean, your third pairing is Brett Pesce and Luke Hughes. Like, give me a break. And everyone's sleeping on Siegenthaler, Kovacevic because they're not big household names. They are, I believe, top 3 in the whole league in like under the hood defensive metrics. They have been absolute rocks. Name a team with a better decor than New Jersey, and I'll wait.
Vegas is there.
Vegas?
Yep, Vegas. Yeah, I'll say Vegas is the only one that I'll accept with no fight.
Dallas is good. Dallas is very good.
Toronto.
They lost Tanev.
Fuck you.
Hey,
what are you
Pasha,
laughing at, bitch?
Pasha,
Carolina's is good.
Carolina's D are nice.
Yep, I agree. Carolina. But it's a short list.
Pasha, they look awesome. I'm not gonna say I'm happy for you because I'm not, but they're a fun. They're a fun team to watch too. Like you're seeing like back and forth, sick hockey. Well, when I talk about the Bruins, like just slogging through the game with no creativity, it's the exact opposite with the Devils. Yep. But I think Hughes has 22 points in 21 games, so not like completely lighting up like he was to start last year. It's Mercer, it's Cotter, it's like guys.
Nason, 9 goals, Nason.
We talked about that sign, and they from Carolina they grabbed him and they grabbed Pesce. Now Carolina's D's nice, but it's the depth guys that I think have the Devils looking this good, because there will be nights Bratt and Hughes win games for you, but if you're getting scoring from these other guys, and you'll always regret the Paul Cotter take. You were disgusted with the Paul Cotter Holtz trade, and it's looked to be, as of right now, very early in a trade, especially with a young guy in Vegas, a win for you.
Yeah, definitely. Paul Cotter's fitting like a glove. And I did say at the time of the trade, I said, I don't think I've watched 1 second of Cotter, so I had no idea what to expect, but he has exceeded any and all expectations. Yeah, he's been great. Devils are a wagon.
We've given Fitzy a few double barrels since the start of the season, but those off-season moves have paid massive dividends. You got to be happy with Dylan also providing a little, like him fighting and going against guys like Gadjevich. Like that is so.
It turned that game around.
There you go.
The Devils had no life. They were getting completely dominated. That fight happens. The Devils turn the game around. Timo Meier scores, and it's little things like that Dylan brings. Like, yeah, he's been amazing.
So Nason, and then you talked about Cotter and Markstrom. Maybe up until those Florida games, I think fans were maybe a little disappointed about the quality starts that he'd had. But did he play in both of those games?
No, Allen played the second one. But
his one game was great, right? It was in Florida where he played.
Yeah.
So are you happy with where his game's trending?
Definitely where it's trending. Yeah, I think going back to under the hood, my favorite place to look. I think before the Florida series, I think he was the 5th or 6th worst goalie and goals saved below expected. So definitely wanted more out of him out of the gate, but definitely trending in the right direction as well.
Well, there you go, folks. Little double wrister for your new dream.
But there is actually one more thing I'd like to address, if I may. I had to check to see if my Twitter was broken, because my mentions are divided mainly into 2 things. Scumbag fans, mainly Rangers fans, chirping me every time the Devils lose. They haven't been losing a lot, so that's quieted down. But then the fans that every time JT Miller gets a secondary assist, I get 1,000 mentions. Miller.
He's coming.
This is a player who got benched last night, second half of the game, played 11 minutes. When the Devils came to town a few weeks ago and rinsed them 6-0, got taken off the power play. If you don't count empty net goals, he has 0 goals in his last 10 games. And listen, I don't want to pile on Miller. My problem is with the Canucks fans and hypocrisy. They wanted to drive Pettersson out of town. They were chirping him so hard when he struggled. But now when Miller's struggling, there's no fans are still chanting his name. There's no accountability. Pettersson's turned it around. So I don't like that double-edged sword where they're ready to drive Pettersson to the airport themselves. But now that Miller's been brutal,
I think we've seen enough. Thanks so much for hopping on.
You know what? I respect he comes on and he gives it, but we've had enough of him. I do think Pettersson has kind of quickly turned a little bit of a corner.
Yes, he has.
And remember we talked about Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts mentioning that he kind of had heard there was a possibility of him really like reading comments and listening to outside noise. And then he said the other night, no more social media.
Yeah.
So it's obviously something's changed. His play's changed. Quickly before we get to the next quick hit, Florida Panthers got worked by the Devils at home twice. They pounded the Jets. They were pissed off in that game. Took them down 5-0.
First time Maurice beat Winnipeg, and that was their 5th attempt. He had not beaten Winnipeg since he left there. He was 0-4. And just going back to that to Pettersson, I agree. Like, looks way more engaged. Like, he's been throwing those reverse hits again, so being even more physically engaged. And Tocchet ended up putting Kiefer Sherwood on his line. This Kiefer Sherwood forechecks his dick off. He is like the Kunitz to the Crosby for Pettersson. He goes in there. He doesn't stop moving his feet. He is relentless, and he's able to go get the puck so Petey can play with it. So I like that. I like that dynamic. And another thing too is this Sherwood, like, he was originally, I want to say, signed by by Anaheim. And he was playing in San Diego where he was a first-line player. He didn't really forecheck and have all those intangibles because he hadn't yet added those to his bag, where obviously he's figured out, well, if I want to get to that next level, I got to do this type of shit.
I'm not going to be the skill guy.
But then yet again now, the fact that he's on a top line with Petey, it's not like it's uncharted territory for him. He knows what he needs to do in order to be successful on that line, but the puck won't go to him to die. He could still make plays. But the fact that Petey has a guy like that in his line, and then you have another line to follow it up with Garland, who's also a fort-checking minion, who's just like constantly relentless coming at you, who bugs the shit out of other players on other teams. So the game the other night they had on Hockey Night in Canada against Chicago, and I know it's Chicago, the second, third period, their forecheck took over, and Chicago had no fucking answer. So I like that dynamic between Sherwood and Petey, and I think it's going to help him get him going. And love how he deleted social media if he's getting wrapped up in all the comments.
Taylor Hall was actually healthy scratched in that game. It's a tough time in Chicago, but Bedard doesn't look great. I think you're lying if you say otherwise. He doesn't look bad, but he doesn't look like the world beater super prospect. We'll see what ends up happening there.
Elliott, let's talk about Elliott's like, man, like who does he have to play with? And I agree with that. I also think that players that were talked about like him, like the McDavids, the Crosbys, the Matthews, and the list goes on, in their second year could probably drive their own line. I think what's happening now is you're seeing maybe the lack of speed, the lack of strength, the fact that he has to play center. Boys, since he's entered the league, he's the second worst person in the faceoff dot in the whole entire league.
I could see him being an amazing winger. Barstool Chief was talking about it. Like, let him not worry about so much responsibility defensively on a bad team. At least, dude, you're going to run wild and create way more as a wing than a center on the Blackhawks. Because no matter how good you are, and yes, there are guys who can drive their own line, like, you're in your zone a ton. And if you're battling defensively, just trying to get out of the zone against these teams that are overrunning you with depth, then when you get your chances offensively, you don't have that same jump. And I could see that. It makes sense to me.
And it was pretty hard. Like, I don't know if you saw when he coughed it up on the empty net goal in Vancouver, like on the bench
cameras
after.
on him.
Yeah, cameras on him. He had to do after hours afterward with Scott Oak. So that couldn't have felt good. But the problem is, though, if you look at their projected lines on Daily Faceoff, like, I would say their best centerman would be a third line center at best on any other team in the league. So it's like, well, who else are you going to put there if you put him on the wing, and who the fuck he's going to play with? I thought they did a better job this season of surrounding him with more talent and better veterans, but they're going to have to look themselves in the mirror and go out there and try to find a centerman and other players to make him more surrounded, or I don't know what the fucking answer is moving forward. And if this continues, based on what you've seen from him, I would assume the expectation is he's going to be on the last year of his entry-level deal as of July 1st, right? That's when the opportunity to re-up him. Is this a guy you give the 8x9, 8x10 to if this continues the rest of the season?
Like he's getting minimum of that. Minimum.
He's definitely getting that.
I understand,
Minimum,
but
Biz.
So
they have to. They have to.
Yeah.
They have to. They don't have to, literally, but they have to.
So, all right, well, there. I guess the
one
conversation.
easy fix is you can keep him at center, but somebody else can take the draws.
Well,
he
that has
doesn't have
happened
to
a little
take the
bit.
draws. Yeah.
Second time this season, he's went 0-8 in the faceoff circle. He did so the other night against Vancouver. So they were starting to throw guys in because now all of a sudden your first line center can't take draws. That you can't put your first line out there because you can't start him off in your own end because he can't win draws. And then all of a sudden you're losing him in the O-zone. So then you're going right back to play defense the other way. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. And like the average hockey fan probably doesn't understand how important faceoffs are. When you're chasing the puck every time, you waste your whole shift chasing the puck and then you change. Even the neutral zone ones. Draws are so important.
And it goes back to another point that Elliott made. Like, he uses like a 70-75 flex, and he uses a long stick. So you don't have much leverage going in on that dot. And that goes back to he's more of a shooting centerman and not as much of a puck distributor. So that's why the conversation for the wing makes a little more sense. And then going back to, I think it was last year, where Adam Oates is very open and opinionated on guys' stick lies and what they're using and how it can benefit their game, where he seems to think he's playing with too long of a stick. And when you're playing the center ice position, you have to be a little bit more low center of gravity to the ice to play low and battle and work through checks in order to get back up ice, where if you're playing with a long stick, you're a little bit more straight-legged, so you're not exactly having that leverage. So there's a lot of things that are playing into the Connor Bedard discussion, but one thing that does have to happen and he'll continue to wake up every day, go to the rink, work his fucking dick off, and try to be that player that he wants to be, because he's all in, all invested on being the best player in the world. So it sucks. We don't want to see the stars of our game struggling like this, especially early on, but I just thought it was a good conversation to have on here, considering we had it on Hockey Night in Canada too.
Another guy that didn't come into the league blazing hot, but he is now my guy, number 29, McKinnon. Nate Dogg is on fire, on pace for 125 assists or something ridiculous like that.
It's crazy. They're getting guys back too. And him and Makar and Rantanen, they carried him. They just put the entire team on their back. They got through it. Now they've won 4 of the last 6. Nichushkin came back. He was -3 against the Capitals. The Capitals actually won. You got to give him a little bit of time. But just the fact Wood's back, like Drew, they're coming together, and then they're having another ridiculous season from McKinnon. Like, this is who he is. The dog. He's dominating. It's like McDavid, McKinnon, McDavid. Kucherov, I know. Yes, we're talking Western Conference here. And now to see Colorado get guys back, it's exciting for that fan base because they could go on a run.
They're my favorite team to watch. McKinnon is just an animal. Rantanen, anything that he touches seems to go into the net right now. And the one guy you didn't talk about that's back is my guy Lehkonen.
I was
the
blowing him
shot
up on the fucking TNT broadcast. One of the best puck hounds in the league. You know what he got traded for, boys? Barron and a second rounder. Barron and a second rounder for Lehkonen over at the deadline the one year they won the Stanley Cup. Talking about a trade paying dividends. Makar, easily the first, second, and third nomination right now for the Norris. Like, hands down the best defenseman on the planet. No one's even a close second. We have to start having the conversation over the last year and a half that McKinnon is the best player in the world, right? Like, are we there?
I think it's been quite evident that he's in the top 3 discussion. Yeah, he's right there. That's why I said McKinnon, McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov. Those 3, they do things that no others can do. I know Matthews at times with the goal scoring, but those 3 to me are just different level.
Well, you know, when you watch the Kentucky Derby and they got the horses neck and neck and one guy's passing the other, like right now over the last 18 months, you have to have McKinnon in the league. I'm okay with everybody saying McDavid's the best player on the planet based on what we've seen so far over the course of his 8 years and the 1,000-point mark, and he's the next Gretzky. But as far as top end level right now, McKinnon is the dog. Going back to the other night, you mentioned Rantanen. A weird thing that happened in that game. Did you guys see the game winner that was scored against the LA Kings? Rantanen ended up getting the hat trick, right? He scored the hat trick on the empty netter, but the game was 2-2 late in the third. Lehkonen was supposed to go on the ice, and there was a battle going on along the wall, and McKinnon's in the battle, and one of their players, the F3, goes to change, and Lehkonen was supposed to be the guy hopping on the ice. Without Bednar saying a word, like he didn't tell them to do this, Lehkonen goes, Rantanen, you go. And
to get him the third.
But well, at that point, it was the game winner, and it was the second goal, but I'm like, Lehkonen's an unreal player. He'd already scored in the game. He's a machine on offense when playing with those type of players. But just the fact that he was like, no, you go, and
I've never heard of that. Never.
I've never heard of that unless the coach is like, what? It was said to me every other time I was supposed to go out there, hey, Biz, you hold up if we're in an offensive zone cycle right now to send a guy who would actually put the puck in the back of the net. And as soon as Rantanen came on the ice, McKinnon saw him. He pokes the puck out. It goes right to him in that F3 position. He walks around. I think it was Laferriere who was cheating a little bit and the defenseman who was creeping into the battle. And then, boom, scores the winner on, I forget who, it was Kemper was in net and Rittich had to go in because he like pulled his groin or something.
At the very end of the game, too.
At the very end of the game. But so we interviewed Rantanen at the end of the game, and he goes, I got to give a shout out to Lehkonen for letting me take his shift there. And I'm like, whoa. Like, as in Bednar, like, told you to go? And he goes, no, he just, like, goes, go for me. So I never fucking heard of that. I thought it was unbelievable.
I love that move, though. Get the horse out there.
And I wish
I've done that during Chiclets Cup because I'm so tired and hungover. So I'm like, you go.
I wish I would have had the balls, and I was going to say it, but I didn't want to stir it back up. I go, do you think that was him extending an arm for his old man chirping you last year about being out of shape? But I didn't have the balls to say it on the broadcast.
Very quick to think of that right then. That would have been funny.
I didn't have the balls to say it.
No, that's unlike you. That would have been a great. I'm disappointed in you.
I know.
Fuck Biz.
I know. I'm a loser.
Yeah, the Merles, I'm with you. One of the most fun teams to watch. Shout out the Caps, right? Oof. They go in, they beat the Avs, and then they go to Vegas, where apparently they had never won a regular season game. Now, they raised the cup in that building, so who cares? But they'd never beat them in the regular season in that building. And Ovi gets a hat trick, finishes off with an empty netter, 29 to go for the record. Biz, your dream of next season to try to compete with big NFL games is done. I made Chiclets.
It's 29, or I thought it was 28. Did I read wrong?
29 more. Break the record. 28 to tie it.
Okay, 28 to tie it. My apologies.
But buddy, he saved the goal as well. Barbashev has a tap, and I think it was 3-2 Washington. Back checks, saves a goal, wide open net, gets 3 of his own. One of them a 6 snipe. I saw a hilarious meme on Twitter of like 2 faces cut in the middle. It's Backstrom's left side of his face, and then Dylan Strome is the other side. Like, he's just come in and been the man who dishes Ovi and finds him everywhere. And Ovi's back. He's tied for the lead league in goals, boys. He's 39. What the hell is going on?
I don't even know if Backstrom had done this, but Stromer had assisted on 10 consecutive goals by Ovi. Like, just remarkable that they go out there and find that guy to replace what Backstrom was able to do setting him up. And if you look to the first probably 2-3 games, maybe even 4 games of the season, I was like, oh God, this might be one of those ones that it takes like till the end of next year and him like crawling over the finish line to get it. And then all of a sudden he had that one game where he popped off. And right now it seems like he's running on pure adrenaline. And the fact that the team is in it, they got the mojo.
They're not just in it. They're good.
They're good, man. And they got this, is it McMichael? I always call him McMillan. McMichael, kind of like Laferriere out in LA. Like, just I think the organization really thought at the end of last year he was turning the corner and he was going to be the player that he is now. So to have some of these young guys playing the way that they're playing, mixed in with some of these veterans, like Carlson looks great. He was paired up with Chikrin. Chikrin looks awesome. All these moves they made in the offseason, like fucking rights, man. And if he does do it, I just hope he does it game 82 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Crosby's there, his Malkin, of course, his fellow countryman, and to solidify maybe winning the division would be just a nice icing on the cake. And otherwise, if it doesn't happen, 15 games in the next season.
Okay.
I got a little nugget / trivia for you two guys.
Woo!
So he scored on Samsonov, however you want to pronounce his name. It was his 177th goalie he scored on. The record is 178. Do you know who has that?
Yager?
Yager.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be Yager.
I mean, the Ovi thing is unreal, but what's crazier to me is as we talked about the sad state of the Pittsburgh Penguins, not too long ago, would you have said, oh man, like Ovi and that chase is all the Capitals have? Like, I definitely am on record of saying, like, this is going to be
about him.
This is going to be pathetic. It's just going to be Ovi goal chase, horrible team, and holy fuck, did they turn that around? Spencer Carberry, the post-game speeches, dude. This guy, it just seems like this group, we talk about the Anaheim locker room and relationship with the coach. Now, winning and losing changes everything, but Carberry and that team, they look to be such a tight unit that it's a cool story. It really is.
Elliot brought it up on the I think it was like post game. Like, you look at these teams who tear it all the way to the ground, and now you start noticing, okay, there's a reason some of these teams, they just retool as opposed to doing the full rebuild. Because when you strip it to the ground, man, sometimes it could take you 8 to 10 years to become any bit of relevant again. And
Edmonton Oilers.
That's a prime example of Washington, where a few years ago, knowing that, Oshie was kind of going to be on the way out, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, I mean, Carlson's obviously getting a little bit older. You would have thought that at a certain point they would have stripped it to the ground, but good on them for just sticking with it and retooling and being where they're at right now. Kind of same thing with Nashville. Mind you, they seem to be heading in a different direction right now, but the retool as opposed to the rebuild is the new way.
Before we continue, I need to talk to you about Body Armor, the best drink in the world. As you can see, mine's finished right here. I crush these things all day long. The big bottle. Body Armor offers real hydration, real ingredients, packed with electrolytes, vitamins, and nothing artificial. Body Armor sports drink has great tasting flavors like strawberry banana and orange mango. My favorite thing is the wide mouth bottle. The taste of this water, it's perfect. I'm lucky enough to get them delivered. They go quick. People come over. They're snagging my Body Armor. You can get yours today at Walmart or a local grocery store near you. And this episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. So go to Walmart, go to your local grocery store, and get your own Body Armor now. There was news out of the Hall of Fame this week, and that was Lanny McDonald announced Jarome Iginla and Eddie Olczyk were appointed to the Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Edzo was on TNT and discussed it. He kind of roasted you a little bit, Biz. Gave you a little bit. And
the clown. I'm getting nominated as a clown thanks to Henrik Lundqvist. We got a new category, the clown category.
The clown show. Yeah, you would be driven in like with circus noise, and then you wouldn't even be able to speak. You'd just be able to be up there. People throw like tomatoes at you and stuff, and then you're in the Hall of Fame.
I would place a breakfast order as my induction speech, which would last 45 minutes, and that would be that.
They just bring in new ice cream samples nonstop, and then everyone goes home. All right, sweet night.
Well, I mean, you talk about guys with the credibility to be nominated to even do that. I mean, obviously Jarome Iginla with what he's done. And then Eddie Olczyk, like I don't think anybody's watching more hockey than Eddie Olczyk, right? Especially over the course of the last few decades. So he's just been involved in so many different eras where you need these older guys to maybe understand the impacts that certain players made, because there was certain years where like 80 points was the max, right? And maybe the way that certain centermen were playing defensively, although only getting 60, 65 points, they were the best to do it at that time and had a lot of hardware in order to back that up. So pretty cool for those guys to get the nod. And one of the conversations that came up is like, and I think we mentioned it even during the Tuukka interview, is like a guy like Rick Tocchet, right? Having produced as much as he did as a player, he fought in a very tough era, did it all, and won a Stanley Cup as a player, retired as a player, became an assistant coach, a head coach and assistant coach, won 2 as an assistant, and then now has a Jack Adams to back that up, to where at what point do you take a guy's full body of work in the hockey world and induct him maybe on a few different categories, not only as a player, but also maybe a builder? So I thought he had a very interesting reply in saying that I think that there should be a lot of consideration moving forward where a guy like Tocchet and Brind'Amour get added as Hall of Fame members. If they're not going to be just as players, they should be based on everything they've done. Like Rob Brind'Amour has been a coach in the NHL for 10, 12 years, always winning records, has created an unbelievable culture in Carolina. Probably hasn't won a Jack Adams because of the expectations coming in every year for their team, and they always end up meeting them. But it was just a fascinating convo and something that probably should be evaluated moving forward to get those guys in.
It's almost like, why don't you just get in the Hall of Fame and that's it? Like, why does it have to be as a player or a builder? Because you could still let in builders, but you're just in the Hall of Fame, where it probably hurts guys that it's like one or the other. And then if there's like, they don't look at it like coaching and playing, but if you've done both things that well, you could just get into the Hall of Fame. Like you're not in a category. So I don't really understand why they need that, because it could just be based on like, all right, your playing career was right on the cusp, probably not enough to ever get in, but then you were that good at coaching that you're a Hall of Famer in the history of the NHL.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like getting in as a player, sometimes now they're emphasizing a lot of the personal league awards. So Brind'Amour did win a Selke. I want to say one Selke.
He also did win a Jack Adams, Biz. So
he did. Okay,
he did.
My apologies. So he's got a Jack Adams, he's got a Selke, he's got a Stanley Cup, and he's done everything. Did he play 1,500 games?
Fuck, I gotta look. He played.
You got to think at a certain point he should just be getting in as a player, even. So that's pretty much just what I wanted to bring up. And what do we got? So he's close to 1,500 games. Like, this is a guy who probably should be in as a player, but I just thought it should be brought up at the fact that I thought that him and Tocchet were two of those guys where were good examples of what they've done on the coaching side. And now with Tocchet adding the Jack Adams to his trophy case, is probably a guy from a collective body of work, maybe not having done and played the amount of games that Brind'Amour has, and maybe not the amount of points, but should be a guy who's considered based on both.
Tocchet's career, though, 452 goals, 0.8 points per game, 1,184 points in 84 games. So, not necessarily Hall of Fame numbers, but I understand your argument. But it leads us into another topic around this league is Brind'Amour and myself being a dummy and thinking that the Canes this year weren't going to be what they've been in the regular season, the past few seasons, and we look like fools. I look like a fool again. Martin Necas is on another level, 30 points now. The next guy on Carolina has 16 points. I mean, he sat down. Elliott talked about him sitting down with Brind'Amour and them going over like what he expected, what Necas wanted, what Brind'Amour expected, and it's been exactly what Necas thought and knew he could do, and that's him dominating. So, like, you've seen the Canes, and they seem to find kind of diamonds in the rough, right? Like, they got this Eric Robinson. Like, I don't know if you've watched this kid play, Biz, but he has 12 points in 15 games. He's with Columbus for 4 years. Then he's over in Buffalo last year, and boom, they find him, and he's playing on the second line. He's a big body. He could skate. It's a Brind'Amour-style player on the forecheck, relentless on the puck, and he's just breaking out right now, as it seems other guys have as well. Pasha talked about their D, how good it is. It is a worry that Anderson's injured. You don't know with his history if he'll be able to play, but the team itself has continued to just be on the exact same trajectory as they have the past few years. Yes, Merle's chirped their playoffs. We've all chirped their playoffs, but every regular season, you got nothing against them. They just swarm you. They don't let you get anything going. They're unreal at home. They have a great crowd, and I thought it would slow down this season, and it hasn't.
Yeah, I guess like we talk about the league turning into a speed game, and certain players are able to just like generate so much power in their stride, and that's just going into Saturday night. I think it was McKinnon who'd had the most speed bursts above 20 miles per hour, or even like maybe 23 miles per hour. Timmy Stützle, I want to say, was second, and Martin Necas was third. So he's able to not only have those, but control the puck at that speed, right? That's the key, is oftentimes it's like, yeah, the guy's got speed, but his hands and brains don't match that. Well, it's not the case here. And he's having a breakout year after having conversations internally with the organization where maybe he felt like he wasn't getting those first line touches and being able to be that guy. Well, he's been able with the ice time that he's gotten. You've talked about it in the past, maybe him butting heads with Brindamore about the style of play and the defensive side of the puck. And it seems like they've bridged the gap there and they found their guy. And the fact that they got him still another year after this one on a pretty fair market value, they're laughing with what they've done. And as far as the rest of the team's considered, just well coached, well oiled machine. They play with such pace. I did mention it earlier. They're leading the league in shot differential every game, as they do every year. They're plus 10, right? Every game they're out shooting teams 35-25, 30-20. And when you're dominating and keeping the puck in the ozone that long, it's just going to rack up more wins in the win column. So goaltending a little bit of an issue, but hopefully that can round out and they can eventually maybe get over the hump here at some point. But we definitely deserve that they needed to. They deserve to be mentioned. And they're one of the hottest teams in the league, especially after starting out 500 after 4 games.
8th in the power play, 6th on the PK. Usually when you're top 10 in both, you're looking good. I think that when they bring in, like they brought in Carrier, so they got this Stahl third line with Martinook and Carrier. And like Stahl hasn't really slowed down. Like he's just so big and he's not an 80-point guy, but he's shutting other top players down. And like it's I don't know if this is a playoff team that could get over the hump. It seems like they never have enough. And last year it looked like they had more, but you got to respect how good they are every regular season. Even the kid Jackson Blake, who was at North Dakota last year, he's playing on like the 4th line with Jack Drury, Tyson Jost, but he's on the first power play. So guys play up and down the lineup. I think I feel like Brindamore's always been like that.
Did you see the game that they lost in Utah where Drury went over to Carcone when he hit somebody, one of his teammates along the wall, and Drury kind of asked him, and Carcone didn't look at him, and as soon as like Drury was like, okay, maybe he doesn't want one, Carcone dropped his gloves and just started fucking piss pumping him.
What do you think of that
Drury was
move?
losing his mind.
What do you think of that move? If you ask somebody and they're like, they give you like the no by not looking and then bury you, you think that's bullshit?
I think that's gutless. I think you should square off if you actually want to go. And some people might say, well, if you're asking somebody, you better keep your distance and be ready. But he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then Carcone's getting the crowd going after, lifting his hands up like, let's fucking go. And then Drury's face went from redder to redder. It was
redder to redder.
What, is that stupid? That sounds stupid?
No, it's just funny. It's true. He went from red to more red.
He is he's got that pale complexion, so he was fucking.
You know who has a red face right now? From possibly being like
stressed,
maybe up there for the heavyweight king. Is this Olivier in Columbus, dude? I mean, first off, he's got 5 goals. He flies around. He'll go anyone. He fought Arbor Jackeye this past weekend. He hit him with
twice.
He buckled him twice. Jackeye stayed up, like he took him. But they were like, oh, my God, that connected. Oh, that also connected. And it seems like he's standing in there with anyone. He's producing offensively. He's running around, and he's willing to go anyone. And right now, I think there's a lot of guys probably scared of him.
But like I said on the broadcast, like you have to at least consider him top 3, if not the heavyweight of the league. And people are going to say, whoa, you roll on Revo. And like, I love Revo. And I think that I would, in a fight between those two guys, I would probably pick Revo going in. But right now, Olivier is the most active. He's willing to do it. Same with that Gadjevich. Like it goes back to the UFC. Some of these guys, like they're like, oh, I want to be the top dog, but I don't want to get in the ring. It's like, nah, bro. If you want to be considered a top dog, you better be going at least once every 6-7 games. And Olivier has no problem obliging anybody who gives him the tap on the shin pads. And the fact that he's effective in scoring some goals this year to start, good for him, man. Yeah. That's an effective fighter, and he's a nail gun, and he's old school. He doesn't do the jersey jabs. He's fucking throwing bombs. So talk about entertaining, can play a little bit, and has been active enough in my mind to right now be considered the top dog in the league. I'm going to go with that. He is the number 1 heavyweight in the National Hockey League. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's what, like, you've kind of been bringing it up, and then you consistently see him, like, willing to go anyone, doing it as often as anyone, if not more, and buckling people. So he had 2 years ago, he had 5 goals in 66 games. Last year, he had 5 goals in 54 games. He's got 5 already in 17 games. Shout out to him, dude. Good for him.
If not right now, the most effective heavyweight, I want to see him go Gadjevich, and I want to see him go McDermott. I want to see those fights on the, and then when Revo comes back from injury, or excuse me, from suspension, I'd like to see him be a little bit more active. I don't even know if he's had a scrap so far this year yet.
But he's definitely asked. So
he's asked other players, or he's been asked?
I'm saying he's definitely asked other players.
Okay,
and that's just me. I haven't. No, I don't have like proof
I think
of that.
I think Wi-Fi
him,
asked him game 1 of the season. He didn't go him, and then one other time since, I think he's been asked by somebody else. I think it was Rempe asked him when they played against the Rangers early on in the season, and they didn't fight. So I'd like to see a more active heavyweight division, which we had all these expectations coming into the season because we feel like it'd been revived. Maybe that was just me beating the drum and trying to get it revived, and I'm the dummy with the expectations coming in. But Olivier,
you manifesting. You were manifesting this.
Hey, Gadjevich, McDermott, Delorier, and Olivier are on board. The other guys need to wake the fuck up, and let's go heavyweight division revived.
Jack Guy's on board.
Oh yeah, Jack Guy as well. My apologies.
Leading us right into Louie Debrusk. We're talking brawlers right now.
Oh, yeah.
We sat down with Louie Debrusk. This was back in Edmonton during the Cup Finals. Awesome guy. His son Jake's in Vancouver. We chat about him. This guy, he's such a good person. When he was working media and I was on the Oilers, it was one of those guys that come to you after practice. You'd love sitting down and shooting the shit for 10 minutes. So long overdue we had him on, but we're going to go to Louie Debrusk right now.
All right, time for our next guest. This left wing and tough customer was taken by the Rangers in the 3rd round of the 1989 NHL draft. His rights were traded here to Edmonton, where he spent the first 6 of his 11 NHL seasons before making stops in Tampa, Phoenix, and Chicago. It's a great pleasure to welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Louie Debrusk.
Louie!
Long time coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure's all mine.
All right, you've been buzzing with these intros this trip. He's been buzzing, eh?
I was wondering, is he the first father-son combo? I know we didn't have the same time, but we had your boy on a couple years ago.
Oh, we had the Kachuk.
We had those 3 off the
That's a triplet.
That's your like family already.
Gretzky's.
I think we're okay. We all had them at the same time. But anyways, it's great to have you on. How's things going?
Everything's going great. You know what? Taking in this playoffs and just watching this ride that the Oilers on, obviously being from Edmonton, living here, covering the team. Florida, obviously, I know a lot about them with them dismantling my son's team 2 years in a row. So they're a good team. They're a real solid, good team. So I'm expecting a better series here. I know they're up 2-0, but obviously I think that Edmonton's going to dig in and make this a series, and I hope they do.
How frustrating and intense do you get? I mean, we've seen a few shots of you in the crowd.
I gotta talk to my guys, right? Our director and producers. They don't come to me when I'm, dropping F-bombs and mad and flexing. And that's not me all the time. Okay, maybe
you had the baby Gap black shirt on. Yeah. The guns were looking great.
I had so many people. Like PJ Stock text me, goes, "Hey, you've been working the guns or what?" I'm like, "Hey,
just before the game, I do push-ups.
Just do curls
before they pan you. You're doing the dips off the bench."
But yeah, I'm intense. I'm not gonna lie, Biz. I am. It hasn't changed since when I was, when he was a little kid. When I watch my kid, I want their team to win. I want them to do well. I'm not gonna lie about that. So
even after games, you're texting him stuff, hey, or even talking to him, hey, would have liked to see you do this a little bit more.
No. I've never been that way. Truthfully, like with him, I mean, he's got more skill in his left pinky than I ever had. So, honest to God, I'm not gonna tell him to shoot or pass in a play. He's gonna figure that out himself. For me. And he'll tell you the same. It's always been about work ethic. It's always been about go out there, leave it on the ice, go out there and work hard, play the right way, and good things will happen, right? And I think, I'm really proud of him that way. I think that he's done that throughout his career, especially in a Boston uniform. I mean, if you don't play that way, you don't play. You just don't play on that team. They get rid of you. So he's been there 8 years in the organization, and rightfully so, because he plays the right way to play for that team.
And was he like 5 and 6? You were still playing, probably right around then. When they might really remember stuff, and you just want to do what Dad did.
It's incredible, Matthew and Brady, obviously Brady was younger, but Matthew is only a year younger than Jake. And in Phoenix, you talk about, I think there's now, we counted it up with Shane Doan's son playing this year. It's 5 or 6 players off that team, that one team.
Wow, that's
that I
wild.
played with the Coyotes that are now playing the NHL. Amazing, just incredible. But they would battle each other in between. But I think when you're around that world right from an early age, I really do believe that has an impact on it. It's like anything else. My dad was an electrician. I naturally picked up some of that just because he was an electrician.
Helping him out.
Yeah, I'd watch him do stuff in the toolbox. I'd say, hey, what's this? And I'd pick it up. And, I could fiddle with that. I still call him today just to make sure that I'm not electrocuting myself. And don't anybody do that on your own. Go get an electrician. But yeah, I think it's just natural for people that are around the world being in that dressing room. And it's funny because I remember when Jake asked for his first autograph, it was Jerome McGinley. Jerome McGinley was tearing up the league, right? Fighting guys, scoring 50 goals, winning the Rocket Richard, and he was skating here in Edmonton. And so Jake came down for the Perry Pern 3-on-3 in the summertime. It still goes on today. As guys will come and skate in it. And he sees all these other kids after get autographs from Jerome McGinley. And so we're driving home after the skate, and he's like, hey, do you think Jerome would give me an autograph? And I kind of looked at him like, do you want an autograph? Like, yeah, like you 100%. All you get something you want him signed tomorrow when we go down to the rink, just go up to him and say, Mr. Gimlet, can I get an autograph? And oh man, it was so funny because he just was, he just
so nervous,
but he never looked at the game that way, right? He kind of was around the world, so he's seen all these guys around him that he wasn't enamored, but he's still a huge fan of players, right? He would always ride that hot player or hot team. Kopitar was one of his guys in 12 and 14 when LA was winning the cups, and Patrick Kane was his guy when Chicago was winning the cup. Like all kids, we do it. We jump on that bandwagon, right? But it was funny because my father-in-law, who's no longer with us, brought him to an exhibition game. I was away from the team at that time, and it was Calgary versus Edmonton. And he says to him, he goes, look at Jerome remembers me from me getting that autograph. Like, that's just what goes through kids' heads, right? Like, you're like, are you serious? But I love that. I love that, like how genuine that is for kids. And yeah, he was no different. I think the Kachucks would say they're the same way. They're around it. This wasn't something that I think, I've never talked to Keith about it. We've talked a little bit, but I would suggest that those kids and any kids coming up through, especially with a father like Keith, who was a big time player, 50 goal scorer, 200 penalty minute guy, like, they just expected to make it. It wasn't like I don't think Jake ever expected to make it, but in his heart of hearts, I think he thought he was going to.
Well, it's like my dad did it. I can do it. It just probably helps a little bit.
It's natural, right? It's kind of natural. But yeah, you're in the world. That's kind of what you grew up seeing every day. It becomes natural.
So an Ontario kid, like, who was your guy growing up? Like, were you in love with the game from a young age?
I got to tell you, I was a complete opposite. I was an anomaly that way, whiwhich is weird.
That's like Keith Yandel.
Ed Jovanovski, started him, and I started at 11 years old. So I didn't start till late.
No shit.
Yeah, and it was just Mark Fournier, who's now at West here. Actually, it's funny, good friend of mine, and he's relocated out here to move out here years ago. But we grew up together in a small town called Port Elgin. I was calling around a Saturday morning. That was when the old rotary phones. I know kids wouldn't understand what that is.
I know what that is. We had one in our place. Yeah,
but
the curly cord.
Where is everybody? Everybody's playing hockey. So I said to my dad, I go, hey, you think I could play hockey? Kind of, again, looked at me like...
He never played.
Yeah, he never played. He played rec. He played goalie. He loved the game, loved sports. And he said, you want to play hockey? Because he knew that I hated skating, because I guess I tried skating when I was 5 or 6, fell down a couple times and threw the skates away, so I'm never doing that again. And that's probably why I was never a great skater. But I... started playing, and next thing you know, I picked it up fast because I think I was a little hungrier than the kids that had been in it for a while, and I had a lot of catching up to do. I really believe that. Like, I walked in there totally green, so there was no expectations for me, and I just kind of took off right away because I was big, strong, and
you love the physical aspect of it.
I clicked right away for me.
Yeah.
So that was how I kind of came up. But yeah, it's interesting. It happened pretty fast for me. But Jake was the kid right from a early age. He was, he got a stick from a good family friend. One of those little Nerf sticks, and I used to have to take it away from him. Like, he would drag this thing around like Linus, on the Peanuts with his blanket. It was like he couldn't get this thing out of his hand.
When did the fighting come in? Were you getting in scraps at
Good
school
question.
and stuff?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I was pretty. I was a decent player. I was a centerman, and then right around that 15 years of age, I started to play up. I started to get called up at 14 and 15 to the junior C team at Port Elgin for the Bears. And I was still, in my opinion, an offensive player. Hard worker, but an offensive player. I used to hit. I was a good hitter. And then, we had a summer camp, and it was kind of Get Seen Camp in Toronto. It was like Tournament of the Champions or something was called, but they'd make teams from all the little suburbs and places. They'd bring them to Toronto, and it was a real good opportunity for scouts to see, because back then, unlike today, you could really fall through the cracks.
Oh, yeah.
You could be
From
unseen.
a small town.
Right? You could be unseen. And I was, town of Port Elgin at the time was 6,500 or something, but you just wouldn't get seen. People weren't understanding there was good players all over the place. Nowadays, that doesn't happen as much. I think that nowadays you're going to get recognized and the word gets out because of so many different reasons. But back then, it was kind of an opportunity for kids that maybe got overlooked, to haven't been seen, to get seen by different people. And the general manager for the Stratford Culledons was there. And he saw me. I fought a couple times. But during that summer, I had a coach that was like, you're going to need to fight. You're a big guy.
Because of your size.
Yeah, you're going to need to grab onto guys. People are going to come and want to test you. It was the way the game was.
Were you rattled to hear that?
I was. The first time when he told me, it was funny. Paul Matier was his last name, and it's eluding me his first name, and I apologize. But he tried sending me out after a 20-year-old, and I was like 15, I think. Like, and I'm like, and I looked back at him like he had 3 heads. I'm like, not a chance, man. I'm not going out there. And he goes, okay. He was good about it. He goes, okay. He goes, you're not ready for that, but you're going to have to do that. By the end of the game, I fought the 20-year-old.
No shit.
And I remember, I did okay. I did okay in the fight, the adrenaline rush you get. When you friggin' get into a scrap, the adrenaline is just massive. And I remember the whole ride home, which was about, 45 minutes an hour going home, I was just bouncing off the walls. I was just so fired up after, right? This is incredible. And that rush, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
It was
it made you think, I can do this, I think.
For me, it was the first time I felt like I stepped in a locker room, especially at that level, where my teammates were like, fucking right. So that validation for my teammates and that adrenaline you're talking about made me instantly hooked.
Yes.
It was like a drug.
Yeah, instant validation though. And I noticed it from that point forward. Everybody wants tough guys in their locker room. Yeah. I'm a tough guy, and when I had another tough guy in the room with me, or a couple of them, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was like your pack just got stronger. It's like you got a bunch of alphas in here you're in trouble now. Right? I had a couple teams, like the team in Tampa I played on, that was a tough team. And my line mates were Sandy McCarthy and Darcy Tucker.
Oh my God.
You're kidding me? I fought Sandy, I think 6 times. And I walked up to him and almost gave him a hug when he walked in the room. I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have to fight you anymore, because that guy owned me. It was just bad, right? But yeah, so that's where I started training, hitting a heavy bag, watching hours and hours and hours of fight tapes on VHS. I remember, that era was like the 70s, 80s. So, you're talking the Broad Street Bullies, but all of those guys from that era are the guys that I cut my teeth on watching, the Ben Wilsons, Nystrom. I love the Bruins too. They had a multitude of guys, Stan Jonathan, Wensink, O'Reilly, the Tasmanian Devil. Yeah. I couldn't believe how big he was when I first met him too.
So you were studying that stuff.
Oh yeah, I would study it. I'd put jerseys on heavy bags, like the heavy, what do you call them?
The dummies.
The dummies, right? I actually bought a dummy. I actually bought one so the punching bags that you could get, you could actually make it was in the form of a human.
That's when you know you're a meat.
That's when you know. Yeah, that's what. Oh God, Jake sent me a wicked video of a kid he played with down in Providence his rookie year. Oh, what was his name? Really tough kid too.
Bobby Robbins?
No, it was he never got any games up in the show, I don't think. But he was tough, and he sent Jake a funny video of him hitting this damn thing in the summertime, and I'm like, man, I pity the fool that drops the gloves with this guy first time, because he's so revved up. But that's kind of the stuff you had to do, because when you're going up against super heavyweights, if you're not ready for it, you can be hurt pretty bad.
Was it Tyler Randell? Is that his name?
That's it.
Oh,
that's that guy.
Yeah, because I played
Tyler Randell. Yeah.
He hurt a couple guys that I played.
I mean that. I pull up his hockey DB. You look at him. That's a tough dude.
If you guys can ever find that video, I'll try and get Jake to send it to you guys, because it's like he is just beating this thing to a pulp.
My last year in Manchester with the Monarchs, he was on the Providence Bruins. I believe.
Yes, Jake played with him his rookie year, right?
Yeah, he was a nail gun.
Loved having him there, right? That was a guy that you knew, like, if something happened, this guy was taking care of business.
So when you were you drafted by the London Knights?
I was, yeah. And again, it was that era where I had no idea or no knowledge of whether or not I was going to be drafted, right? So for me, it was funny. And because I started late, like I said, every league that I played in was like the best league in the world. I was like, this is unbelievable.
Because it was better than the one prior.
Absolutely.
You didn't know.
I just went junior C to junior B, drafted by the Knights to major junior, was drafted to the New York Rangers a year after London. Like, it happened really fast. Probably too fast, if I'm being honest. But
really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being 20 years old, 19-year-old year, I was the last cut from the Rangers camp. Joey Kosher had a hand injury, but he was okay to start the season. They had already told my coach back in London they were going to keep me up for
How
the
many
start.
fights in camp that year? Like five or six? That's back when the camps, not the exhibition games,
Dude,
the camp games.
I had 2 fights in my
You're doing a bench
first shift
press
in my
test
first
and you're
training
going
camp.
total.
Shift in 2 fights.
So get this, Tony Granato. So we're in Rye, right? We're in Rye, the practice facility. So I know this is the thing again. I was pretty naive and oblivious to the league. The Rangers drafted me. I knew more about the Oilers, who everybody did back in the 80s and early 90s, than I did about the New York Rangers. And so I go into camp there, and I don't even know who Brian Leach is. I'm expecting a 6'5" defenseman that was the rookie of the year. Tony Granato was runner-up for rookie of the year with 34 goals, I think, his rookie year. So I'm literally I have no knowledge of who anybody is. Leachy, a great dude, by the way, one of the best guys in the game. But Tony Granato, he was a little shit out there on the ice, right? Like there's no question about it. And we've talked about this, but he dumps me off the face-off my first shift. Boom, right on my back. Okay.
You're fuming.
So now I'm mad. But I get up and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, is this guy like a Ty Domi kind of tough guy? Because Ty was in the Rangers uniform too, right? So we played together there, and I was like, is this guy like a tough guy that I don't know about? Because we didn't have Hockey DB
or Hockey Fights.
or hockeyfights.com to go and look at fights, right? So we didn't have that ability to see what guys did. So I chase him down the ice. I come back. We're in the offensive zone. I kind of cross-check him in the corner. He dumps me again. I wasn't great on my skates to begin with. I needed to work on that. Puts me on the ice again. Goes down the ice, proceeds to score a goal. When he's coming back around the boards, I'm now just coming back into the zone, and I go right after him. Now I'm fuming. Now I'm mad, right? So I just, boom, cross-check him. He punches me once with the glove on. I drop the glove. Boom. Down he goes. Okay? I'm thinking, whatever, this is what I do, no big deal.
He's a stud.
Ron Greshner, who's like 45 at that time, comes up to me and goes, what are you doing? I go, what do you mean, what am I doing? That guy just dumped me twice off the face-off, right? I turn to go back to the bench, and all I hear is, get him, Joe. Joe Patterson jumped off the boards, over the boards from the other bench and came in, and I ended up fighting him too. That was my first shift in NHL training. I'm like,
welcome to the NHL.
I'm like, send me back to junior right now. Just a different time, right?
Holy shit. Did you have to go like Kosar or Domi in camp?
No, we didn't fight in camp. We had, oh God, did we ever dress some tough teams in exhibition games? But I'll tell you, the other team was tough too.
Like every team had
every
5
team
guys.
in exhibition at that time would have 5, 6, 7 guys loaded up, and it was like, you're going in there and you're getting ready to go. I remember the first exhibition game that I remember was against the Washington Capitals, and my first shift I dropped the gloves with Alan May. Now we never ended up. We squared off forever, right? But then the linesman came in and broke us up. But there had to be 4 or 5 fights that game, just within the first half of the game. But we had at that time, Mark Janssens was a guy that was a really good player but could fight. Ty Domi was in that lineup. Denny Viel was in that lineup. Peter Fiorentino was another one. We had Rudy Postchek, myself. It was, I'm telling you, it was like, Joey wasn't even in the lineup then. It was just, it was a different time where there was typically a few guys that you had to be worried about. But yeah, it's amazing now how the game has changed, and changed for the better. I will say that. I'm an old school guy. I love to see a good tilt, and I love to see physical hockey, but the game's in a better place.
What did the fighting do to you? Were you a guy where you knew you were going into a game knowing you might have a few dust-ups where it wouldn't affect you pre-game nap?
No.
I was personally a nervous wreck game
Are you
days.
kidding me? I had cold sweats for the whole afternoon before the game. I used to go down to the rink 3 hours before the game just to get out of bed.
Yeah, just because you weren't taking a nap.
The sheets would be wet. Honest to God, I'm not joking. Now, as it went on, it's funny. There would be different times where it wasn't as big of a deal for whatever reason.
Where you felt like you were fighting better, or it wasn't even that?
It's a real confidence thing, right? When you get into a groove, it's like anything else. You know how goal scorers will talk about how they have these just streaks, where goal scorers are streaky. When they're hot, they're hot. Everything's going in for them. They can shoot from anywhere. It seems to find the back of the net. It's the same with tough guys. It's the same. I found it was the same with me. If I was in the rhythm and fighting well, I was dangerous. It was like, you don't want to fight me right now because I feel really good. Other times, I felt like I couldn't fight my way out of a wet paper bag.
It was crazy.
It was like, oh man, I'm really struggling right now, and so you're thinking about it a little bit much. As a profession now, I'm an analytical person, so I used to analyze everything probably a little bit too much, but. Yeah, I would think about it. That was the hardest part for me, Biz, and I'm sure you say the same thing. I used to think that other guys didn't feel that. So I would think Ty Domi is a guy that I thought would never feel that. This guy, I didn't think he was ever afraid or ever nervous. But it even got to him in the end of his career. You know, that was a guy like those guys. Eventually, you were going to get to a point where you start to second guess.
Well, it's
am
the
I
young
going to
bucks
survive
coming.
it? Yeah, am
and
I going to
that's the
survive
thing.
this?
It's like
right?
they're younger and they're bigger and they want me because I'm the champ. So I get that.
Yep.
Was there any guys that were like you could never beat because of the styles, or a guy that you always had your way with because of just certain styles?
It's funny, if I fought smaller guys, I was strong and I was a technical fighter, so I could always typically manhandle them. I would be able to pick them apart because I could throw both hands. Like a guy like Vandenbush, for instance. I mean, I was really nervous about that guy. He's a great guy too, right? Yeah. But I was nervous. I was nervous about that guy for the whole time because he wanted to go toe to toe. He wanted to get inside track. Remember that fight with him and Cal Frederick?
The one with
he's had a few. I think one with Dennis Bombi.
Right in front of my face.
God.
The best fight I've ever seen.
I was on the bench for that one. Was that one when he's in Norfolk?
I think Hershey Bears.
Okay, they fought a bunch of times, right?
Yeah.
But
punching contest.
But I knew I was Dom. Yeah, unbelievable. It really was. You know, like, and I honestly wasn't that kind of a fighter. I wasn't junior until Kelly Chase grabbed me. We were actually doing a hockey camp together in the summer before my first year junior, and he's the one that showed me how to tie up. You know, Kelly, for his size, was pound for pound. I mean, that guy could fight anybody.
Yeah.
And he showed me how to tie up. He goes, hey, listen, big boy. He goes, you go in there and start going toe-to-toe with the Proberts of the world, Tony Twist of the world,
lasting.
You're going to have a short career. So I was like, okay, cool. And that's how I fought. I was a cowboy back then. But I started to learn that with my size and strength, I could kind of pick guys apart a little bit if I got a good hold of them and twisted them around and put them where I wanted them. The big guys, though, to answer your question, the bigger guys, like the most vulnerable I ever was Zdeno Chara.
That's like,
I mean, like, it was ridiculous. That was the one where I was like, man, I might be over here. Like, my life might end here. And I know
what's my pension at?
Yeah,
all right, I think you can hang him up.
And I know Milbury sent him out after me. I fought Gino earlier in the game, so Gino was with the Islanders at that time. Yeah.
Oh my
and him
God.
and I had a history from, you know, and he was tough, bless his soul. He was a tough dude, man. He was wiry and through. And you know, when I'm sitting there at the face-off and the game's over, there's only like 7 minutes left in the game or something. All of a sudden, I feel this bump, and I look and I see this giant beside me.
like,
Right?
I've already fought today.
Yeah. And I'm like, and his gloves are off, and he's standing there with his gloves off, and I'm like, I didn't even know this guy fought. I didn't even know that this is really early in his career, right? Like, I'm like, I don't know if I didn't know this guy was a tough guy. And he grabbed me, and I've never been immobilized more by a guy in my life because I'm fairly strong. He stretched me out.
It was like McCabe when he had McCabe.
It was unbelievable. That's what he was. And his dad was a Greco-Romanian wrestler, right? Like a coach, and he, you know, he had that balance point. And as he got later in his career, he would have broke my face. Like, he had me in a position that at that time, and we talked on the dad's trip. That's the funniest part. When I went on the dad's trip, the first dad's trip, we were talking, the boys loved it. We were talking about our fight, and they're looking, going, Z played with Jake's dad against Jake's dad. Like, are you kidding me? How old is this guy, right?
I actually always thought he would give people, like, he could have murdered people, and he didn't.
I don't think he was a super mean person.
No.
You know? So, and I think
he was like nice in beating you up.
Absolutely.
It could have
That's
been
a
way
good way of
worse.
putting it. If he was mad, though, oh boy. I mean, I saw him like he was at Ivanins or Kochi that he blew up the one
Kochi
night.
blew up when he was on Chicago.
Ivanins, I think he put him down from his knee. Like, he hit him with a right hand from his knee and put him down. It was like, you know, that's still to have that power in that position. Like, he's just a freak of a specimen of a human being. He's running marathons every week, it seems.
Yeah, it's
in
nuts.
Austin.
I follow him on the gram too. He's just a machine, man. It's
Who's
like,
that?
No, Chara. It's like I follow him on the Instagram.
Yeah.
It's like, buddy, just
It's
like
unbelievable.
go on a trip or something. Have a couple pops.
This
man.
guy's doing stages of the Tour de France.
I think
At
it's
6'9", I guess he's got bikes all over the place. He speaks about 11 languages now or whatever. I think it's 5 or 6 languages he speaks.
I think
It's
he ran
incredible.
2 marathons in like a week or a week and a
Yeah.
half or something crazy.
He did Boston and then he
London, I
left
think.
and went
Very
somewhere else.
unique
Bananas.
individual, and I'm so happy that my kid got to experience that for a bunch of years because he was an amazing leader and just a guy that you had to respect him with how he did things.
In looking at your career, so drafted by the Rangers and then ended up being traded to the Oilers before you played a game for New York, and it was part of the Messier deal.
Yep.
So I'm assuming you got to say I got traded for Mess.
That's pretty
I heard
sick.
you guys have him on later on tonight.
We do.
One of my greatest memories in all of hockey was we did a charity event up in Slave Lake, and Mess came up there, and I got to play on his team. We sat beside each other in the dressing room, and I got a picture of us two together. And I'm like, this is the first time I've ever had a picture with Mark Messier, the guy that I got traded for all those years ago. And I was oblivious, you know. At that time, you know how good a player is and how much of a leader is. He won 5 Stanley Cups with Edmonton, last one in '90, and then he won his 6 with the Rangers after that trade. But when I got traded, I was just a young guy, 20 years old, trying to make a team. truthfully, I didn't really understand how big that deal was until years later, where the guy started chirping me like I was the last guy standing in the deal 6 years later.
This is who we got for.
Yeah, you're 1 for 1 for Messier. Yeah, those are big shoes to fill. I got to tell you, those are really big shoes. But
hey, better than the Hall one.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, so it was pretty cool. But it was coming into Edmonton. It was a fresh start for me. I was sad to leave the Rangers, though. You know, when you put time into a training camp like that, you guys know you're learning the team, you're learning the coaches, you're learning the train. You're comfortable.
You know the guys a little.
Yeah, you start to get comfortable in that environment. And 2 years in a row is the last cut in training camp. And my last year, I went down to Binghamton and was down there for 1 day and got traded to Edmonton. Didn't even play a game for bingo. But I was excited to go to Edmonton because Glenn Sather called me right away, and Glenn was really good for me in my career. And he just said, "Listen, you're a big part of this deal. You're not just a throw-in."
Thank you.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but he goes, "You're coming right into Edmonton, and you're going to play right away." So I was excited that I was going to play my first game.
Yeah,
I was like, "Hey, I'm going to get a game in the NHL."
So it went from you being a player to them telling you had to fight, and then all of a sudden your last year junior, you had a pretty good year. I think you had over 30 goals, over 60 points. And then you end up going to pro and more so the NHL level. Was it hard, like not being able to be that guy where you're touching the ice on a consistent basis?
It was. It really was. And don't get me wrong, I did it. And I kind of beat myself up a lot about it afterwards in my career for a while. It took me a while to kind of pat myself in the back and say, hey, you survived a long time in the NHL fighting some really tough guys. But I always consider myself a fairly decent player when I was coming up. I know you played D and you could play forward, which is an amazing skill. I find that fascinating. But it was the negative part of the role that I don't think people understood. Like I talked about, you're having those nervous sweats before the game. You're going in there not knowing when it's going to happen. Like if you're training in the MMA now, and I'm a big fan of MMA and boxing, always have been the fight game. These guys are training for months for that one fight. They know exactly when that fight is. It's coming up. You're training for that specific moment. Let's go. I could do that because we had to do it on a nightly basis, but we didn't know when it was going to come. We didn't know if it was going to be tonight or tomorrow or a week down the road and who it was going to be, right? But I did have a hard time with that. Sometimes you started to question your worth on the team. I know that years later, and now I'm 53 years old, but years later, when I was, is that my phone?
Oh, yeah.
Blowing up the podcast?
That's all right.
It's better than me.
I think it's Char.
My bad, sorry.
Shit talking.
Char is going, hey, I heard you've been talking bad about me. I'm going to beat you up again. So I'm going to ragdoll you again.
The Edmonton Marathon.
He's not much younger than me.
Bar.
But yeah, I think that, when you go back to that, you just have to understand. I remember years later when I started doing the TV in Edmonton, and even when I was doing the radio, I had a long talk with George Larac one night when I was doing the Coyotes radio my first 3 years. I started to really try and not preach, but tell those guys, like, listen, I know you're only playing a couple minutes a night. Or Steve McIntyre, who's a good friend of mine, and I'm like, hey, like we would hunt together here around the city. We were bow hunters, and we'd be sitting in the stand, and I'd say, listen, like you're important to this team. So, and sometimes you can lose that when you're in a lineup. And I think people forget that when you're a healthy scratch, as much as I was, like I should have probably played around 800-900 games in my career. I played 400, it took me 12 years to get 400, got the pension, but it takes a while. But I think you sometimes lose that confidence and you start to question your worth on the team. And it's really important not to do that. It's hard, but it's important.
What I think would be tough is that because you were scoring at junior, it's almost like, all right, I'll do this at the beginning and I'll work my way up to third liner. And then it doesn't happen. You're like, oh, this is who I am. Yeah. That I imagine is like, fuck, like I'm never really going to get the chance to be maybe a third or second liner and be tough.
And early on, it actually kind of was happening that way for me. Ted Green, the late Ted Green, who I had a ton of respect for and was, ex-Bruin too. I mean, he was, terrible Ted, right? But the one thing Ted Green for me, I had so much respect for him. I mean, when he wanted me to fight sometimes, he wanted to jump over the boards himself. So he would grab me by the back of the jersey and literally throw me over the boards. He would just grab me and go, boom. He'd chuck me over the boards and say, go play right wing. I'm a left winger. So I'd look up, I'd see Craig Berube over on the left side. I'm like, I guess I'm fighting.
Here we go.
I'm fighting Berube right now, right? So but I totally respected it. I was like, you know what? I'll go through a wall for this guy because if he could, Ted would have jumped over the boards and fought that guy right now. Like no questions asked. At that time, he was 50. When I first came to 50, 52 or whatever he was. he would have jumped over the boards and gone and fought that guy.
As opposed to a coach who never fought, telling guys to fight. I always was kind of
I had a hard time with that. I'm not going to name names. I had a couple coaches like that, and it was tough for me. It was
so you didn't do this.
Yeah,
Whereas
it was a little more difficult for me. Guy that I really liked though was Jacques Demare, in Tampa Bay. So I had played 6 years in Edmonton, went to Tampa, got hurt in training camp, went down to the minors, and I had Jeff Brubaker as a coach. You guys ever hear about Jeff Brubaker?
Brubaker, is that from like Major League?
Oh no, he is he's a beauty, man. He's awesome. But he got me back to the NHL. This guy was I played for the San Antonio Dragons in the IHL. And he had me on power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5.
Oh, you loved him.
He pulled me in there, but he was a big, tough guy, right, back in the day. And he just said to me, he goes, listen, I want your name in the paper every day. I don't care how you get it there. I want your name in the paper every single day. So, like, my first game, and this is before I had this conversation with him, I go out there, I had a goal and assist, and then I think I had a fight. And then at the end of the game, I cross-checked a guy in the face.
What a game.
Just a little cherry on top, eh?
Goal, assist, fight, suspension.
Just in case the newspaper guy was sleeping.
I was agitated being down there in the first place, but it was in the old IHL. I love that league. But this guy was chirping me. And I didn't know who he was, right? I'm looking at him. He kind of gave me the stick to my face like this.
McCracken?
The McCracken. He gave me the McCracken. And I'm like, and I looked at him, I said, are you serious? Like, you just did that to me? So it was a face-off where I took the shot. I'm a left winger on the inside. I took the one-time shot. He's coming out to go to his point, and he's coming right at me. And as I followed through, I went, wham. And I just caught him right in the face. He's playing for Chicago. I think Rob Brown was on that team potentially at that time, maybe. But anyway, I get kicked out, and I'm thinking, oh, great job, Lou. Probably going to get suspended your first game, right? Nothing. Not even a call from the. Not even a call from.
They don't even have a replay.
Not a call from the league. No video evidence to be found. It just somehow vanished in that old rink. And then Brew came in, and he was super excited. I was like, I thought he was going to ream me, right? Like I'm going to get in trouble here for being undisciplined and stupid. And he was like, that's what I'm talking about. So I knew right away. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be
free reign here.
Crazy, right? But he was good for me. And then that's how I got back up there, right? And back into the NHL. But that's, for me, I wasn't used to being down there, but I played a lot. You kind of get that confidence back and you get back into the mix.
And, go ahead.
No, it was a little off topic. I don't mean to pry, but you mentioned you don't drink. Have you never drank? Or
No, I used to drink.
And you just kind of realized...
Kind of didn't suit me.
Okay.
Yeah, I got myself in a lot of trouble.
Okay.
And it took me a long time to figure it out, to be honest.
Good for you, though.
Bar scrapping and shit, like crazy stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I told you years ago I can't really come on the show and elaborate on a lot of those stories.
No, of course not.
But it was something that I had to deal with and something that was, and it started when I was in Edmonton. That's where Glenn Sather was instrumental in that.
That's huge.
And I started, so when I was 20 years old, so 33 years ago, was the first time that I tried to stop drinking. Okay, and it's pretty difficult when you're first starting to play in the NHL and you're trying to stop drinking. But it just didn't suit me. It just wasn't something that was good for me, right? It just didn't. It was no different. And I know we use the analogy all the time, like a diabetic. It's just something that it's part of your life. It's something that doesn't suit you. Right. So you need to be diligent in not doing it. And it took me 20 years to figure it out, but I finally did figure it out.
Only thing in the world.
13.
Only thing in the world, the more you do, the worse you get at it. So it's like...
You start to get pickled, right?
Yeah, that leads me to a question, though, because you're around the team now, Oilers all the time, on the plane, on the road. What's the biggest difference you see from them to our era back in the day, doing all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, it is different. And I think they still have their fun. Don't get me wrong. And they should, right? They should have their fun. They work really hard. You got to let off some steam every once in a while. I love seeing it when it's with the group, with the guys. And I know that still happens, and that's awesome. Yeah, it's just, I really think, number one, they can't go anywhere now without 1,000 cameras, people that are going to talk. So naturally, just that in itself changes the way you go about doing things. And that's for the better, I would say. But I think that they're just so in tune with their conditioning now. They're so in tune with what they have to do. And the level of play now has gone up. I feel like in the last 7 years around there, 5 to 7 years, it seems like every single season it gets faster and more intense earlier. And we're seeing it again this year. Look at the playoffs. I mean, they are tight, hard-fought games. So I just don't think that they have the opportunity to do it as much because it'll hurt them more.
You'll be gone.
It'll hurt them more.
We could play hung. You could get...
we played guilty, right?
Yeah.
There's no question, right? But it was like...
Not now.
You can't do it. You will be noticed and you will be called out, and it'll have an effect on you. And it's probably a hard thing, a hard kind of balance to have for guys, because you want to go and have a good time. But at the same time, I think for the most part, guys just understand. It's just too hard of a game to do that if you're doing that to yourself.
You seem very like non-judgmental where you're saying it doesn't suit you, right?
Yeah.
For maybe the people who are listening, and we talk about addiction all the time on here.
Yeah.
And for those of people who are listening who might have struggled with trying to stop, what was it that helped you that finally nailed it down?
Good question, Biz. You know what? Obviously, trial and error. You know, you go through it a few times, and quite frankly, just really getting yourself in some deep water. And I got in some trouble when I was 40 in Vancouver and had to look my kids in the eye and understand that they were old enough to understand that, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And it was just a real eye opener for me. I've always had a great support staff. My wife Cindy's been incredible. I'm open with my kids. I'm never a guy that's ever not going to talk about this. And I think that is really important. If you should never be ashamed of it. You should never be worried about what people think about it. So that's what I would say. I would say, listen, if you have friends that you're willing to open up to and family members you're willing to open up to and be honest about it, do it. Because until you do that, you're always going to have, you're never really going to accept the fact that you have a problem. You have to own the fact that you have a problem and be very willing to talk about it. I heard a comment a little while ago that really stuck home with me, and it was, I watch podcasts and watch stuff, and it was someone that had been an addict for a long time. And when somebody would offer him drink, and I did the same thing. I'd go into the bar at 20 years old, I'd be drinking soda or whatever. They didn't have great non-alcoholic beer, which they do now. They're awesome, by the way. It's a great market.
Those athlete ones are incredible.
Like, I just love
growing beer market.
And I love the taste of a non-alcoholic beer. Like when I'm eating wings or I'm having a steak, I like the taste of a beer. I drink them all the time. 2 or 3, they're great. Can't drink any more than that because they're, after that, it's like no more. But what I would say is when someone would offer me a drink, I'd say, no, I'm trying to stop drinking, right? And this gentleman said the same thing. I'm trying to stop doing whatever I'm doing. I'm trying not to do that. Until you get to a point where the answer is, I don't drink. That's my answer.
Then
now.
it's leaving it open with the other answer.
Yeah, like I'm not going to say you which. If you go, hey, would you like a beer? I'm trying not to drink anymore. That was my answer for the first 10, 15 years. Now it's like, I don't drink.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. So
that's very true.
Take that for however you want to take it, but that's an amazing difference when you say, I'm not trying to drink anymore. I don't drink anymore.
No, I appreciate you opening up. Like we fuck around a lot on the podcast. We like to sling the stories, but this type of stuff matters because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening.
And honestly, it can get a hold of you, right? It can get a hold of you pretty quickly, and it can take a downward spiral fast. And the quicker you can get that in check is the better. And listen, there is a lot of people out there that will help you, and the more people you can have in your corner, the better.
This might be a tough transition. The Phoenix days with JR.
Yeah.
Hold on, Vince. Before Phoenix, I got one question.
Sorry.
98, 99. Las Vegas Thunder, Long Beach Ice Dogs, Springfield Falcons, Phoenix Coyotes.
I don't know.
That's a wild season.
Sorry.
Sorry, they were getting them ready for JR and Kachuk. That was the training, the gauntlet they had to put them through.
I will tell you, that was a rodeo, man. That was a rodeo year. So here's the thing. I'll say this. So
those 4 cities. And then Springfield, you're like, what the fuck?
No, he went to the.
I will go into a little bit of a story here because it's like it kind of sums it up. But
perfect.
I had been 6 years in Edmonton. I go to Tampa Bay. I get sent down. I told you I go to Brew. He was wonderful for me. He was awesome. He got me back to the NHL fast, and I never came back after I went up that year. Jacques Demare was what I was trying to lead into with that. He was a guy that wasn't a physical guy, wasn't a guy that ever fought. But every time I dropped the gloves, every single time, he would come down the bench and tap me on the shoulder and say, good job. And I'm telling you, that's all I needed. That was all I needed.
As opposed to getting to the bench, he doesn't say a word. You're like,
And I remember Jamie Hushcroft and I, we took a couple undisciplined penalties one night. He had Proby and Kosher in Detroit. Jock did. So he brings us in the office the next day and he's like, I love you guys. And he talked about the Kosher Probert days and I love, in Detroit and all this. But he goes, you can't do that. Like, you cannot do that. That's the one thing for me. If you're going to be undisciplined and take bad penalties, you can't play for me. So don't do that. And we're like, okay, no problem. Boom. Perfect. Cleared up, done. We won't be undisciplined and stupid from that point on. But so we're talking about the year that I played for 4 teams. Well, so I go, so Phil Esposito, who was my GM in Tampa, right? 4 times that year, he'd come up to me and said, hey, I had an optional deal. I had a 2-way first year, optional second year, 1-way money, which is a big deal for people that don't know that, right?
Yes.
Up and down. If you're on a 2-way, they can yo-yo. I was up and down 9 or 10 times that year. So I had worked my way into a 1-way. I get traded for Craig Janney to Phoenix. Yeah, I got traded for Messi and Gianni. Think about that.
That's nice.
Are you kidding me? But anyway, so I go to Phoenix, and now they pull that optional contract off the table and offer me a two-way. I didn't think they could do that. I thought I was an unrestricted free agent if they would have taken that off the table. I was misinformed, rightfully so. I don't want to go into those details of it. And I thought, holy geez, you know what? I got to fight arbitration for a contract here with Phoenix, who I don't know. I don't know anybody. Bobby Smith was the general manager. So I go in there, and they tell us after they've read the reports, the arbitrator, which I think arbitration's a joke, by the way.
We'll get into that after.
Jake almost went to arbitration. I told him, I said, you're not going. I said, if you do go to salary arbitration with the league, I said, have your agent go and represent you.
You don't even want to listen to
Don't even step foot in the room. Why would you?
All you're doing is getting carved.
They're not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Right? We had these dossiers about, if this is for you, Biz, this is a point where the tough guy role is a designated role, but it's an important role. Okay? And you are a specialist in the league, no different than a backup goaltender, no different than a defensive-minded defenseman, checking forward who's a great penalty killer. You are a designated role at that time. I had 20 fighting majors that year. So I was top 10 in fighting majors. So I'm sitting there going, hey, I had a great year. In my eyes, for what I do, that's an awesome year. I think it was 57 games or 54 games. I'm like, that's pretty good, right? They looked at it like it's not even a stat, like whatever. It's not. They looked at me as, they were just looking at my ice time and this and that. And I'm like,
that ain't fair.
That's as much as I'm going to go into that. So this arbitrator tells us that we already know the contract we're going to give you. I'm like, how the hell could you know what contract you're going to give me when you haven't even heard me speak or battle my case in there? So my agent at the time, didn't want me to go into the room. But I said, the old Braveheart line, I had a suit on and everything in Toronto. I'm like, didn't get dressed up for nothing. Braveheart? When the big guy says, hey, might as well go pick a fight, right? Yeah. I'm like, okay, let's go pick a fight. We didn't pick a fight. I ended up settling with Bobby, who I almost got into an altercation with in that negotiation. And, ended up being a really good relationship down the road. I will say that. But I went into that season, again, it was, training camp, knew it right away. You're on a two-way. We had Jimmy Cummins, a bunch of tough guys there. It was a strong team. I get sent down. So I go down to Vegas, playing for the Vegas Thunder, right? In the International Hockey League. Loved it down there. I knew Vegas was going to be a great city. I knew it was going to be a great talent and a great team. I knew it because I'd played there before, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's a great place to play.
They loved it then?
I loved it then. It was awesome. But anyway, Bob Bourne was the coach down there, one of the nicest humans on earth.
The old Islander?
Yep. One of the nicest humans on earth. And we had a gong show of a team, man. You go look at that team.
Vegas.
We were tough. We weren't good, but we were tough. So I get sent down there, and I'm fighting a lot. I'm fighting, battling. I've got 150 penalty minutes and 16 games or 20, whatever I got. I don't even know. And I'm just trying to get myself back to the NHL. And Bob Strum was the general manager. So he comes in after 2 periods against the Houston Aeros, who ended up winning the what was the Turner Cup?
Turner Cup, yeah.
Turner Cup that year in the IHL. And he starts tearing a strip off the whole team. And he stands in front of me and absolutely lambastes me. Now, this was not a great thing for me to do, but I snapped.
You were fuming.
I snapped because I was already pissed off that I was there in the first place. I was already pissed off that I'm in the IHL and have no idea what's going to happen. And I freaked out. Chased him down the hallway.
No shit.
Ripped an assistant captain off my jersey and chucked it at him.
Were guys holding you back?
Oh, yeah. Brad Miller was on the team. Dean Yoon was on the team. They held me back and said, don't do it, right? I apologized to Strummer, and I've talked to him many times since. He was just trying to get a rise out of the team. So go after the big guy. And if you go after the big guy, you can go after anybody, right? And I was like, you just had to give me a heads up. You caught me at a bad time here. I'm kind of already stressed out as it is. I'm just trying to do my job. Long story longer, I ended up getting sent to Springfield after that. They pulled their affiliation with Las Vegas. I get sent to Springfield for, I think, 4 or 5 games. Then I go to Long Beach and play for the Ice Dogs. Great team.
What's your wife saying?
John Van Bach. She's young with 2 little, we're young with 2 little kids. And dragging her, she's a trooper, man. You know how, she was awesome, right? She's the best. But I'm just trying to manage. And eventually I ended up getting back up to Phoenix at the end of the year. But I remember for John Van Boxmeer was the GM and coach in Long Beach. Loved it there. Great organization. He was awesome for me. And so I got called up 9 different times. And 6 of those times, one was Christmas Eve, and like I'm standing on the ramp in Los Angeles, the old Forum in LA, waiting for the taxi to come and take me back to the airport to fly back to Vegas as, the team's taking off on the bus. I get called up and I wouldn't play. It was like a provisional. Like it was almost like come up just in case this guy can't play. And like 5 times it happened, I didn't play. And I finally snapped and almost fought Bobby Smith again for a second time and said, hey, like, I don't want this.
Stop bringing me up.
I'm now 8 years in the league here. Like, bring up a young guy that'll be happy to be yo-yoed all over the place. I got 2 young kids. I'll play my year out in Long Beach. I love it. They're a great team. We had a really good team too. And I'll just take my chances in free agency next year. I don't need this. Trade me for a bag of pucks. So they called me up, and Taylor Burke Jr., who is the owner's son, who is an assistant general manager, called me up a couple weeks later and said, we want to bring you up to Phoenix. And I was like, I'm not coming. Yeah, I said, I'm not going. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I told you. I said, trade me. I said, I'm not coming up anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And it was so funny. John Van Boxmeer finds us out. He says, come down to the rink. Because I lived a block and a half from the rink down in Long Beach. So I go in there and he goes, you got to go. I go, why do I have to go? I can just pretend like I got a knee injury here. I'll miss a couple days practice and I'll play on Friday. No big deal. He goes, Louie, this is not personal. This is just the way this is. Like, it's just business right up and down. I said, well, it doesn't feel like business when you're involved.
When you're the meat
right?
that's
when you're
getting
the guy
moved
that's
around.
getting thrown around. But anyway, so he convinces me to go. I get sent down again. I have a big meeting with Jim Schoenfeld, who's the coach at the time.
They're like afraid to send him down.
Yeah. So, and I said, that's it. I'm definitely not going back now, right? And I came back down and playing cards at the back of the bus, and I feel terrible. I can't remember his name. He got into the coaching too. Old, grizzled, veteran guy that had been in kind of a journeyman defenseman. Purvis. I said, well, I'm done in Phoenix. I guarantee you there's no way after what I said that I'm going to get called back up again. And he goes, I don't know about that. Let's just see what happens, right? He just kind of said, sometimes you got to make a stand and let them know you want some. I was called up 2 weeks later, never came back, signed a 2-year deal with Phoenix that I negotiated myself with Bobby Smith.
Well, the best part of that is, Biz, you played 6 playoff games, 2 goals.
Yeah.
That year.
Yeah. So you never, it's a crazy journey. You don't know, right? Like, it's like, what's going to happen? And everybody has that story of a different journey. Some guys,
2-year one-way too?
Yep, 2-year one.
Fuck, those
so
are the best.
That's wild.
So I had gotten rid of my agent after what happened with the arbitration thing, and I didn't have representation at the time. And Bobby Smith came down and said, hey, listen, I want to talk to you after the practice today about, I thought he was sending me down. He goes, no, I'm not sending you down. Don't worry. He goes, come up and talk to me after. I want to talk to you about maybe extending you. And I was like, whoa, seriously? Like that
You're
turned
like, I've tried fighting you twice.
Yeah, that turned 180 pretty fast. And we ended up having a great relationship, and it was just weird. It's like you got to fight for yourself at the same time. I probably would recommend nobody to go after their general manager and chase him down the hallway like I did, because that can look pretty bad.
Berkey might have loved it, but not many others.
Berkey might have just thrown a right hand.
At this time in your career, because you've become such a great analyst, like you're awesome at what you do post-playing career, did you have any idea that this would be part of post-playing?
No.
Really?
That was kind of the start of it, though, in Arizona, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The people that you got to meet there. You worked with Bob Heathouse.
Yeah.
That's your guy, right?
Man, eh?
Oh,
salt of the earth.
Well, think of how many
One of my favorite humans on the planet.
I texted him today. I'm hoping he gets obviously a job with the new Utah team.
I do too. Yeah.
I talked to Smith. I said, hey, this guy, he's helped nurture so many guys. Tyson Nash, him, myself.
Like, did you start on radio?
I couldn't have had a better partner. Obviously you've worked with him. I mean, has zero ego. Like, he's just such a
man. He's the best.
It's unbelievable.
Whereas if you talk over some guys, they might be like, hey.
This guy encouraged me.
Yeah.
He was encouraging me to get in there. He encouraged me to do more. He would encourage me to do interviews. You have, because sometimes as ex-players, you come out and you're like, I don't want to go in the opposing team's
you feel like
dressing
a
room.
clown a little bit.
I'm not going to walk in the room and talk to guys that, I've been battling for the last friggin' 10 years. Loved it. Once I started going in the rooms and talking to the guys, I mean, we're all the same. We all know. Like, it was a real eye opener for me, and that's kind of how I got my start. Out of the blue, though, like how you say, I was back here in Edmonton. I had a bunch of different things I was getting involved in. I was actually going through the fire department. I gotten through the aptitude, believe it or not, and I was onto the physical. And I just had lunch actually, or a coffee with Chris Joseph, who's on the fire department here in Edmonton, and we were talking about that and laughing about it because he post-career got into the fire department, is still working, which is great. But for me, I just wanted to try a bunch of different things. Didn't really know what I was going to do. Thought about coaching a little bit. I had done a little bit with Trent Yanni down in Norfolk my last full year, and really liked that interaction. with the players on the bench and just helping young guys trying to figure it out. But I was doing a few different things. Got a call from Rich Nairn, who was the director of public relations for the Coyotes at that time. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I go, "You got mail for me, don't you?" Because you know how when when you're a suitcase, mail kind of has to catch you.
You got bills.
He goes, "No, actually, we're breaking up our broadcast. We want to have a designated radio feed," and that's how I ended up going down doing an interview and a dress rehearsal with Heater, and that was the start.
Same guy who gave me my first job out of playing, Rich Nairn.
How did you end up, like, because you're from Ontario, but now you're an Edmonton guy. Jake was born and raised. How did you end up deciding this would be your home base?
My wife.
Okay.
So I came here in '91, and I would hang around here in the summer times because a few of the guys in the team, the older guys, had places here and families, and they would stay here in the summertime. A lot of guys actually stay here.
Summer's amazing here.
Summer people stay here after seasons and hang out here. And obviously with kids, your schedule changes because of school and all that. It revolves around them. But I met my wife here in, I believe, my third or fourth year. We started dating, and you know what? Rest is history. I became a converted Westerner, being from Ontario. Yeah.
Go ahead. All right, go ahead.
I went about that Phoenix squad. I mean, J.R. to Chuck, talking, and like Dallas Drake, that's a guy who, I mean, he doesn't hear his name a lot, but he's a funny bastard.
I just brought him up the other day when I was watching the Florida Panthers because Carter Verhaeghe reminds me of Dallas Drake a bit.
Okay.
You look at Carter Verhaeghe out of his gear and you're like, that's a surfer. There's no chance that guy can score 40 goals in the NHL. He's got calves the size of this mic pole right
like
here.
wits.
Wick calves.
It's unbelievable, though. That guy is just Johnny on the spot. He is clutch, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Dallas Drake was that guy. One of my most most liked humans on the planet. He, for a guy that was a $175, $180 sopping wet, would crush guys.
Yeah, he threw big hits.
He would crush guys with hits. And it was unbelievable. But so happy to see him win a Stanley Cup at the end of his career, too. He was a big bass fisherman, too, so I used to borrow his Ranger bass boat all the time and go fishing. So that's why I liked him, too.
What was JR like in that room?
You know what, JR? You know what's funny? And I know Styles. Styles is his nickname. Styles. And JR was amazing to me. You know, my wife and I have nothing but great things to say about JR, and he's an enigma. He's just this guy's high on life and just, he's wild and crazy. And I understand, like, he had some things that went on, but that guy's a super likable human being. Like, he is. And for me, we used to always joke, that guy loved the limelight, right? He loved it. We played against the St. Louis Blues my first year in Phoenix. When I got called back up at the end of that first year, that year where I was on 4 teams, we played St. Louis, and they had a powerhouse team. Pronger and McInnes on the back end were playing 35, 38 minutes, and they just had a really solid team, right? And we went 7 games. That's where I scored the 2 goals. Knuckle puck on Grant Fuhr. Got him pulled twice in one game.
Wow.
Get scored on by Debrusk. You're out of here.
Goals in one game. Yeah, so Jim Schoenfeld
They had him meet
came
with
in.
the psychologist. They pulled him off, sent him in the room. You okay?
So Jim Schoenfeld came in like after game 2 and said, listen, McInnes and Pronger are just getting out of the zone way too easy. So we had a meeting and said from now on, and McInnes put out like 5-6 guys in that series by breaking their toes and feet. It was unbelievable. 5 different guys had to leave the series because of his slap shot. But anyway, so he says, listen, we need to be a little payback here. No more dumping the puck in. Everything shot on Grant Fuhr. So he's going to have to stop it, deflect it somewhere. It's going to give us a couple more seconds to get a hit on McInnes or Pronger. Didn't work, by the way, but a little bit. But because they're still that good, they still figured out a way. But that's how I scored on Grant Fuhr. It was not like the first one was a pretty decent goal. It was a slapper. Noonan dropped to me. I just cranked it and it found its way in the net. But that one was, I'm coming over the red line, take the slap shot on net. It literally knuckle pucked and dropped 3 feet and got by him. And that's how it went. And I was on the bench. I was at the standing and getting into the bench when it went on the net. But that was just good coaching pickup by Schoenfeld. So, that's kind of the way, right? But that's I don't even know where we were going with that, the start of that conversation, but kind of
that's what we do here. We get off the rails.
Yeah, we get off the rails.
We just
I love guess where we just put a quarter in them. They go. It's awesome.
But yeah, that team was JR is who we were talking about.
Oh,
I just played the first 6 games of that series, and then game 7, JR. That was the year that he had his jaw broken by Hatcher, and his wrist broken by Madvichuk on the same shift. So, and I'm telling you, like I was standing on the bench, and Gord Ross was the medical trainer at that time, and JR came to the bench, and I was by that time down by the backup goalie, and on the bench, and I could see the separation in his jaw.
His teeth. I remember
it
that.
literally separated, and the bottom of his jaw was wide open, kind of like that Predator. Remember Predator movies where the Predator thing used to open up, and the jaw would open up? That was what Jared's jaw looked like. He goes out and plays the first minute and a half on the 5-on-3. And then leaves the game and was gone till he came back for game 7 of that round 1. And we were joking. This is typical JR, and I love the guy. I do. I love him. We were like, we should like lower him down from the rafters, because he would do it. He would do it. Like the guy from Nashville, the Predator. Yeah. He would come down from the rafters. We're like, we should lower JR down. The crowd would go nuts. It's at home.
He's got the white face paint like Sting.
He just got fired up, right? For the bigger the moment, you wanted to have that guy on the ice because he wanted to be there and he wanted to be the guy. And those are the guys that were the clutch players in playoffs. Like Claude Lemieux was on that team, not that year, was he the year after. And when that guy was on the ice in the clutch, that's who you wanted because he was going to put the puck in there, right?
We had JR on, and he was talking about that OT winner he scored against Toronto, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I live for the moment." He goes, "I was in there between periods, and I was envisioning it. I was
telling guys I'm scoring."
I was drawing it up in my head. I'm going to go upstairs on him, so he ended up pulling it off.
We had Keith Kachuk. I've said that on the air too. I've called Matthew Keith and
juggle them up.
Yeah, it's like Brady, Matthew, it's the Kachuk boys, right? But we had Keith on the team, and Keith was a fantastic player and kind of old school throwback. He cross-checked me in the face one night so hard that I thought it was going to be like that, permanently have a mark of the shaft of the stick on my face. But him and Jer were both real strong personalities, and people always, question that relationship. I know when I was there, but they pushed each other to be really, really good. But the funny rule coming on board when I first got to Phoenix, Dallas Drake, another Dally Drake story. So we're sitting there playing past the ace on the bus going from the hotel to the airport or something. And Dally goes, "Hey, have you heard the rules here yet?" I'm like, "Nope." He goes, "Rule number 1. Hey, Walt, what's that? Rule number 1, get Walt the puck." That's Keith Kachuk. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1.
That's fucking awesome.
Funny.
There's only one out there.
Yeah.
And then you had Talk in the mix too. What a team.
Talk, what a great guy. I saw him on with you guys the other day. I love that guy. He's doing a great job. Real nice run this year with Vancouver, obviously.
Talk about if a coach asked you to maybe fight somebody. That's you're like, okay.
Who's the guy? I've always said this about Talk, that he can relate to everybody. He scored 50 goals, played with Lemieux, played with Gretzky.
Incredible.
This guy has rubbed shoulders with the best guys in the game. But the other thing about Talk is we used to hang out with him all the time.
He's the best.
He's one of my best friends. I love that guy.
We've said that about 16 guys this pod, but he's the best.
Yeah. No, honestly.
There's a lot of best sons in
hockey.
But isn't that great? That's what it's all about, right? And you know why those guys stick around for a long time and why they're in the mix, because they are those types of people, right? That's the truth. It's a small world, this hockey world.
When you were on the team with Phoenix, you guys were at the old bar in downtown, correct?
Yeah. America West.
You guys were like the hottest ticket in town. So if anybody knows about hockey surviving in the desert and being able to flourish, it's you. Right, you saw it. You guys would pack the house, even though they had the tough spots in the upper deck. So, what would you think about the hockey returning, and how sad were you to see it go?
I was really sad, actually. Phoenix was very instrumental in my career in 2 ways, as a player and as a broadcaster. So, and I ended up doing the last game in there. I ended up doing the last game with the Oilers were in town for that last game of the season.
Oh, that's right.
So it just kind of worked out that way that I'm telecasting that game, right? Doing the game for Sportsnet. And I'll tell you what, it was an emotional night, Biz. It was an emotional night seeing Stan Wilson crying on the bench, hugging guys and high-fiving guys, a guy that came over from Winnipeg and was there right from day one.
Todd Walsh gave that night.
Todd Walsh, an amazing,
he's the
amazing, just an incredible address, and just really put it into real perspective. Walshy, one of the best in the business. Seeing my buddy Bob Heathouse, knowing that there's questions there whether or not he's going to have it. I mean, these are people that were really instrumental and good friends of mine. To see them in that disarray was very difficult. And I'll tell you, it was a hard broadcast. It was a hard one for me, because as much I didn't care about the win or loss or what was going on in the game, it was that thought of this is the last game here. Are they going to come back? Now, I know they're talking about that. Yes, I believe hockey can survive there. I think they could certainly get the excitement back up doing it the right way. That arena's got to be in the right spot, number one, location-wise. It's got to be all in, all hands on deck, making it a good organization and go forward. And if that happens, then awesome. I hope that it succeeds because it's an awesome place. I love Arizona. I know you still live there, and I've lived there off and on. I lived there off and on for 8 years, and I loved it down there. It was an amazing place.
It's funny you mentioned Brian Noonan because we had to do Rob Brown earlier. He was an old teamadism too. Yeah, Noonan's. But I want to bring up your son Jake. I mean, one of the most heartwarming clips I think the last few years when he got his first goal in Boston.
Yeah,
very emotional moment for you. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, you know what? It's pretty incredible, right? Because like Jake was a little bit of a late bloomer, right? So
was he?
Yeah, he was the smallest kid in his team, I think, for 4 or 5 years in a row.
Sometimes not on the A team and things like that.
He never made that travel team his first year. Always had to make it the second. So it's for him to see him grow his first year of junior after Mark Lamb was his head coach and general manager, and Swift Current was fantastic and really pushed him to be that kind of a player. And in his second year scored 42 goals and was drafted where he was. But it was a real fast ascent, for him in the improvement game. And
you saw the work that was going into it.
Yeah, but he was always, for me, he was always a real smart player, always a guy that, was tough and could take a beating because he was small, right? He was always taking runs. I actually had to tell him to stop hitting. This year's the first year he had over 100 hits in the league because I'm telling him he's got to hit now a little bit more, right?
He's like, you told me not to.
Yeah, but I did. I told him not to hit because every time he'd go run a guy, he was running right into an elbow. I'm not kidding you guys. When I say he was small, I mean really small.
Really?
So I'll tell you exactly how small he was. When he was drafted by the Swift Current Broncos, we had 5'2", 125 pounds on the sheet.
At what? 14?
That was my wife. My wife fudged the numbers. He was actually 4'11", 119.
At 14. Holy shit.
Which is why the fuck are they drafting those kids so young?
I don't like it either.
It's so stupid.
Well,
it's a year earlier, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. You have no idea what you have as a player at 14. Yeah, you know the guys that are good at that time, but how often do guys exceed that and go further, right?
So at 18, sometimes it's hard. Yes, let alone that young.
Yeah, but yeah, you know what? So he was a late bloomer. So for me, it was we had to kind of watch that journey go, and just to watch him. Played his first year down in Providence. Battled through that. Went into camp, made the team that year, and for us to all be there was remarkable. For them to have us in there because that wasn't a big thing, right? Like my parents, I never knew if I was in the lineup or not. So it was like having them come down. My very first game in Detroit, early in my first year, I got a did not play. I did not get registered for a game because back then, if you didn't get a shift, and that happened to me 3-4 times in my career.
Oh my!
I think that's still is that still a rule?
No.
Okay.
As long as you're on the game sheet, now you get a game, which is the right way to go, by the way. But if you didn't get a shift, you did not get a game credited.
How do you not get one shift? I always look at it. What the fuck is that?
You know what? Now that I think about it, though, I'm kind of happy because I was looking over there and it was Bob Probert and Joey. I'm like, this is going to be. Joey wasn't there anymore. But Joey wasn't there, but Bob was there. This is going to be bad.
You wanted 1-goal games back then.
I might not want my.
I don't want that shift.
Hey, now saying that, maybe the coach was protecting you.
Yeah, I don't want to see. That was Teddy too. I do not want to see. I do not want my parents to see me get beat up that bad by Bob Probert. So,
but back to Jake there. I'm guessing you'd say it probably helped him being smaller and not making teams and the adversity. I think a lot of times kids don't have much adversity, and then it's harder at 20 years old where he had dealt with stuff.
Yep. No question. He's persevered. He had to really buckle down. And you know what? I remember the one thing that really hit home. He came back. He got cut from a team, and he was pretty upset. And he had a good camp, but he just was like, the coach told me that I was just too small. And he goes,
can't do anything about it.
It's the one thing I can't do anything about.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I have no control of, right? And I'm like, and then people look at me, I'm a big guy, and they're like, he's going to be, but Mark Lamb was the guy, so he called me up, and Chopper was his nickname. I played with him my rookie year, we're really good friends. And he said to me, he was a small guy himself. He was a defenseman like you in junior, great offensive defenseman, played forward in the NHL and defense. But he said, I don't care how big he is. Does he compete? Can he play? And now the league's gotten to that. Listen, everybody loves size if it competes and plays well, but I'll take the little honey badger over the big guy if he's not going to play hard.
Yeah.
Right? And that was kind of the mentality for Jake. Marty St. Louis was always a guy that I told him to watch. Like this guy just, he buzzes around and he's just tenacious and he goes and listen, he grew and he sprouted and he developed, but being there for that game was awesome.
Yeah, he's a great
incredible.
kid, great personality.
He really is.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see that. And for him to score too, it was just like, because I don't get many opportunities to see him play live. So when I do, I hate it because I know I put more pressure on him. I'm putting more pressure on him every time I'm in the building because I'm like, he knows I'm here. And I just always tell him, listen, don't. Like, I just go play. Like, if you score, great, but you don't have to score.
Well, the interview you had with him before the game, that was one of the coolest moments. And for you, like, battling throughout your career, like, imagine years before knowing I'll be interviewing my son, me doing a game and him playing in it. Like,
it's wild. Yeah, it's
What did you say to him?
Something about push-ups.
So when he was younger, he used to build these like little coupons. He would give me coupons for like birthdays or Father's Day, and it'd be like, one free clean my room. So if I'd hand him the coupon, it was like, hey, go clean your room. And you can't argue. Like if I give you a coupon that you've made, you got to go do this, right? So then we kept them. My wife keeps everything. So she had these coupons and she's had them stuffed away and she brought them out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get him with one of these. So I only wish I would have picked the hat trick one. But so I picked, it was like goal and an assist or 30 push-ups. Right? That was, so I handed it to him in that interview and said, hey, listen, you remember these? I guess you didn't think I was going to be doing it in the NHL, but here it is.
Save these.
These don't, I looked all over this thing. There's no expiry date. So I'm going to, I can cash this coupon in. And then he goes out there and scores a goal and has an assist. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Great. Awesome.
Did he do the,
he was in a little bit of a slump too.
Did he do the push-ups pregame?
He didn't do any, he didn't have to. He scored and had an assist, right? So if he wouldn't have, he would have had to do push-ups. And he joked and said, I don't know if I can do 30 push-ups right now.
Well, he got in touch with us before we were interviewing you. We were just chatting how you're back playing golf. You played when you were younger and gave it up. And he said, you got to ask him. He's got a little rage on the golf course. Right? He gets a little angry.
I knew it. I knew he was going to have something there because I texted him. They said, what dirt did you give him?
He said he rages.
Yeah, I am a little intense on the golf course. I'm not going to lie. And it has nothing to do
Glad we didn't get you for a bagger this week.
It has nothing to do for anybody. It's just me, right? I've never broke 80 in my life. I know it's crazy, right? And I've been really close a few times. Like I'm starting to
bogey on 18.
I'm starting to threaten it almost every time, with the exception of an 8, 7, 6, and a 4 on my last 4 holes last round that dummied my chances.
No.
Yeah.
Those were your last 4 holes?
That's my last 4 holes.
Oh, so you were even.
Triple bogue on a 4, triple bogue on a 5. I stuck a par 3 to within 5 feet, 3 putted for the 4.
So it's in your head now.
Yeah, now it's in my head. So now it's like, I never really could execute. I got to learn to execute.
Well, this has been amazing.
I'm texting with Donor actually right now, and he's like, he goes, he won't say a negative word about anybody. What a guy. Yeah, that's
You're right.
Donor.
Yeah,
and you have to play with him.
There's a good human right there, right, Donor? Yeah, and that we had him on the air that night in the last game, and that was emotional too, because that if anybody has been the face of hockey in Arizona, in Phoenix, it's Shane Doan, right? So it was really nice of him to come on our telecast and give us some time. And I know he had his son playing on the ice, and I know what that's like. And I told him I don't want to break up that time, but awesome person, and just one of my guys that he was a beauty. That's for sure.
Whit said you kind of look like him in one of your photos.
Yeah, a couple of these pictures you guys kind of did right there a little bit. I can see that.
Couple dilfs cruising around.
This picture, you look like a complete killer in that with the shaved head.
So I went down to a number 1, right? When Jake was born, that was the haircut I had. That was like 96, right?
That looked animal.
Loved it. I loved my hair like that, right? My wife hated it. She's like, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. I'm
you
like,
look too crazy.
I feel like
as soon as I start blowing the feathers worse, it's going right down to number 1 again. Yeah, right.
I might need to do that.
I think we're going to have to do this again and again and again, boys. You got stories for days, Louie, but we thank you for coming on, sharing most of them, and also sharing about your sobriety. I think that's huge for our fan base, and we appreciate you.
All good.
Buddy,
thanks, guys.
Thanks, Louie.
You look
Thanks
great for 53, by the way.
Hey, thank you.
You're older than me. I feel like an old man next to him.
Thank you so much to Louie Debrusk. Thank you to all of you who listened. The tickets for our live show, December 29th in Chicago, leading up to the outdoor game, the Winter Classic at Wrigley Field, they're on sale now. There's still tickets. barstoolsports.com/events. Sunday, December 29th. No Bears game. The Hawks play after. Get some tickets. Come and join us. Some very special guests involved. We're going to have a blast. You can get that barstoolsports.com/events. And Thursday, Biz, we gained 1,000 on our YouTube channel. We're at 357. We had 1,000 last week. So that's nice to see. If you can subscribe to that, it helps us immensely make more content. This Sandbagger is very special. Thursday, noon. Subscribe to the YouTube. Go to the YouTube. Watch us. Try to get back on the right side of things. And thank you to all our guests today. Merles, Tuukka, Louie Debrusk. Awesome show. Biz, next week we got USA-Canada rosters. We can have some big-time discussion there. Maybe the Arm Dog comes on. You know, he'll have his opinion.
Love that. Love that. Lot going on, Chiclets Nation. You mentioned it. Subscribe to the YouTube. A lot of those subscribers were dialing into the Chiclets U, in which G said we have a few more big ones coming out. Michigan State. Last week we dropped the NHL alumni merchandise with all the fun little cartoon images. All proceeds going to the Alumni Association. Ovi's going to cost us 50 fucking grand this year donating to the Alumni Association the way that he's scoring goals. We've said it. Every goal that he scores, $1,000 towards the alumni. And then wherever he's at the point of the Winter Classic, we will be giving a check to the Alumni Association at that live show you just mentioned. We haven't announced who the guests will be yet, but we have a few special ones that we will trickle out before the show and kind of get the hype started. But so far, so good on numbers of tickets sold to that live show. And if you haven't picked up your ticket, do so now. And great pod. Everybody was buzzing. Pasha was being a dickhead as usual, stroking off his New Jersey Devils. So really everybody in the family in the mix. And that's pretty much all we got for this one. Be kind to your servers.
Be kind to your servers. Don't be high maintenance. We love you all. Have a great week.